countdown, whatever, and then yeah, real quick. Oh wait, give me that back. Yeah, real quick. Oh wait. Microphones look good, right?
Hello, hello, hello.
Audio's good. Okay, cool.
Sounding good.
So flip through cameras real quick. Make sure they're good.
Hello,
Waiting.
hello, hello.
What? Don't say that. Okay, cool.
Sounding good.
So flip through cameras real quick. Make sure all three look good. You're on studio still, right? Don't say that. What do you mean I'm echoing? Okay, cool.
Sounding good.
So flip through cameras real quick. Make sure all three look good. You're on studio still, right? Don't say that. What do you mean I'm echoing? Okay, cool.
Sounding good.
So flip through cameras real quick. Make sure all three look good. You're on studio still, right?
What? Yeah. This is Strider Bickler, and I endorse Donald J. Trump for his third re-election bid. Fourth actually. You need Nico Pack and you need Strider Biggler. This is the Biggler way. We're good. Thanks, bro. Good mics. SM58s. It's what we use, just not the Bluetooth ones. No, we don't have the Bluetooth ones. But we do have the SM58s. And we never use them. So we use those. We use the, oh yeah, we have to use the big soundboard and have power. So. Let's go. It's time. With Alex Stein. Okay. We ready?
Are we ready? Yeah. Give me
Sound
just a
better?
countdown and. Wow, hello, what's up, stream? We are here to do a few hours of debates with the wonderful Turning Point USA people in Tempe, Arizona. I believe is how it's pronounced, right?
Yeah, I'm actually not with Turning Point,
Well,
unfortunately.
some of you guys are, some of you guys
yeah,
aren't.
some
but
of us.
yeah. Real quick, do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you? Why do you? Yeah.
Strider Biggler, run a company, Off the Record USA. We do media, conservative media. You've debated some of our guys in the past, so good to finally meet you.
Who are what's the biggest one or two people I've debated in the past for you guys?
We've
Also
been
remember to
working
speak
with Riley Nemi, so
Okay, gotcha.
you've debated him. I just saw a clip of his today on your page. So
Oh boy.
it was pretty funny. So.
All right. Well, what's the first topic? What do you want to go over?
Dude, I'll let you take it. I don't really care. I'm
So
open to anything.
okay, so obviously the big thing that I'm debating right now is wait, real quick. You're switching cameras?
We good?
Okay. There you go.
we
motherfucker.
live?
That's
Are we
right.
live?
Yeah, we're live. No, we're live.
I'm
He's
just
not switching cameras.
I'm just
We're good.
kidding.
So obviously the biggest thing I'm arguing with people right now is I think that at this point, I think Kamala Harris probably would have been a better president in almost every size, shape, or form than Donald Trump is right now, measured against almost any policy. I feel like you probably disagree with that. So
Yeah, mostly.
how do you feel about the current war in Iran?
Not super pro war in Iran, unfortunately. I don't think you're gonna find many Gen Z people that are super pro war in Iran. We don't like to see it, so
Okay.
we probably agree on that.
Probably agree on that one. How do you feel about Doge's efforts and the balancing of the budget?
I think as a concept, I'm very pro what Doge does. It's funny that the Department of Government Efficiency is so inefficient in its efforts to get that done. But like, as it stands, if we were able to make it efficient, I'd be extremely pro Doge.
Okay. But it wasn't, so
But I don't think Kamala Harris would be better at that.
you think Kamala would have spent more money than Trump is right now?
She could have. Is there any way to prove that she?
So I feel like
Would've?
solidifying the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was it's been a huge money sink because we didn't pair that with any spending cuts. I think that was a big initiative that Trump had this last year as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think she would have spent there. And then I guess they're trying to borrow upwards of more than $200 billion now, additionally, for this current war in Iran. I would say that was probably a thing that wouldn't have been
You
Kamala
don't
Harris.
think you don't think Kamala Harris would have gotten involved in this war?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Biden didn't. And I think Israel probably wanted to about as much when Biden was president as when Trump is. But I think Trump is a little bit more easy to kind of lead around in terms of
You
doing.
think Trump's easy to? You think he's swayed easily? Easier than Kamala?
Absolutely, yes.
Why?
Because I every time Trump speaks, I feel like I'm hearing the last person that he spoke to, their words coming out of his mouth. So, for instance, he has meetings with Putin, and he starts talking about the arbitrariness between the border of the United States and Canada. That's not a very American talking point. That's a very Russian-esque, Putin-esque take on borders, about the arbitrariness of borders.
But how do you feel about Kamala Harris consistently switching her policy points on like fracking through the election? You don't think she changes to fit what people need her to be?
I mean, I think there have been slight changes through her policy platform, but I think it's okay to.
Slight? She was anti-fracking, pro-fracking.
Well, it's like anti fracking, new fracking licenses on certain federally owned grounds or whatever. It's not like she would have turned back the clock on all American energy production or whatever. Like people like to point out that Trump was big on energy production in the United States, but I mean, like under Biden, we became a net energy exporter for the first time in history. So it doesn't seem like the Democrats were slacking there at all. And then also this weird obsession that Trump has with being super hateful against any green energy. Like, I'm not saying that we need to abandon fossil fuel, but like his policy on solar panels and windmills is like
I
killing.
just think they're inefficient.
What do you mean by inefficient?
Not as efficient as gas, not as efficient as like nuclear.
Well, but I mean, we can have like a combination of energy things, right? So like in Southern California, solar can be way more efficient than fossil fuels. In places up north, maybe not as much. But I don't think Trump takes a very nuanced approach to it. He just seems to hate green energy because he thinks it's lame.
It kind of is a little lame.
Is it though?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Isn't it kind of lame to be dependent so much on the Middle East that now we're seeing gas prices
Yeah,
soar?
it's very.
Yeah. So I feel like it'd be less lame.
No Israel, no Iran,
Okay.
no Iraq, nothing. I don't want to be
Okay.
involved in any of that.
So do you think that Kamala would have been just as active in war in the Middle East right now as Trump is?
I think she could have been swayed into it.
By
I
who?
mean, we're talking about hypotheticals here,
Yeah.
but I don't think she's as strong-willed as Trump. I think she bends a little bit easier, and I think she would have been able to be convinced to join this war, same as.
What's the thing
as
that like Trump is strong-willed on?
I would say he's strong-willed on almost everything. His economic policy, even though the Supreme Court just struck down tariffs, I think for the most part he is pretty strong-willed economically.
What is it? Or what is it when you say strong-willed? I guess how do you define that? I guess.
Like he has his policy positions, and he typically sticks to them. There's not a lot of flip-flopping with him.
So I feel like so when I think of like econ stuff, like I've seen him reverse position on tariffs a ton. He got that taco nickname, right? Because when the
I know
bond interest rates were going to go up, and then we've seen him. They're now warmer to like they want to enforce illegal immigration deportation for farmers because farmers are complaining about the cost of stuff.
And I'm against that. I think we should.
Well, sure, but I'm saying I don't know if I would consider this strong-willed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but those are just things I disagree with him on. I don't think.
Well, but I think that he came in on one position, and then as the winds changed economically, he had to backtrack from all these things. I'm still not entirely sure what the goal of the tariffs are. I don't know if anybody knows what the goal of the tariffs are. They seem to be contradictory. On one sense, he wants to make deals with other countries, but then he says we don't need deals. We can make everything here in America.
I think broadly the goal is to bring manufacturing back to America.
Gotcha.
That takes time, though, and if we have the Supreme Court consistently stopping his efforts, it's never going to happen.
Maybe he should work with Congress to do it like he's supposed to. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but Congress is like dolefully inefficient. They can't get anything done.
Whose fault is that?
I think it's both sides' fault.
He's a Republican Congress.
You need votes from both sides to get things done.
Biden got votes from both sides. Why can't Trump?
Because we have way too many rhinos.
Okay, well that sounds like a you problem.
No,
so
I know, but Democrats aren't willing to bend on anything, and so nothing gets done.
I don't think that it can be the case that somehow the Democrats are always to blame, even when Republicans have majority government.
Okay, so what should the Republicans do in this situation to get things passed?
Anything. Trump doesn't do anything to work with Congress, right?
Yeah, because Congress doesn't work with him.
What does that mean?
How many shutdowns are we at right now?
4, I think.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
just this time, yeah.
Yeah.
Like just for this term. But I mean,
yeah.
this doesn't happen under other presidents. So is it just the Democrats happen to be super obstinate this time, or is there something else going on there?
I think it's largely Democrats being unwilling to work with the Republicans in Congress.
Okay,
I really
factually,
do think that.
it's not though. It's just Trump.
How?
Because Trump doesn't even make an effort to work with Congress. When is the last time you heard, like, how many times did Biden have personal conversations with people in Congress about trying to, oh God, the West Virginia Senator Manchin, like, you know, back and forth with Manchin, he had back and forth with McConnell, like he was friends. He's known a lot of these guys for a long time. Like Biden went to Congress and talked to people in Congress to get things done.
Do you think if Trump tried to do that, they'd play ball, they'd talk with him?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think so at
Well,
all.
but we don't know because he didn't even try.
Yeah, I mean,
so if you're not even going to try, but Trump, like, Trump came in as the great negotiator, deal maker. I don't know what deals he's
part
made.
of the deal.
Yeah, but he's the worst deal maker ever. So
Worst deal maker ever?
what are good deals that Trump has made for the U.S.?
I mean, just bringing manufacturing back.
It's not back. Manufacturing jobs are
Well-
down. We have net zero job creation, arguably.
Yeah,
We could say it takes
pretty bad.
Yeah, we could say it takes time to bring manufacturing back,
It
but
does
I mean,
take time.
but he's
so
not even doing it legislatively. He's doing it via executive action. So all of this could be undone in 3 years.
For some reason, I like vaguely remember during the 2024 election, Democrats saying, "Oh, there's usually a 4-year buffer on these things." So all of the woes of the Biden administration are actually the first Trump administration's fault. And now Trump's in Congress, or not in Congress. Sorry, Trump's the president, and all of a sudden, no, every single decision he's ever made is actually what is.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
causing these
rhetoric. We can
ills.
talk about the factuality of those statements, but I mean, Trump does this as well, right? How many
Sure.
times do we hear he's going to bring down inflation and make the prices go back, and then all of a sudden when he's an economist, he's like, well, you can never actually lower the cost of things, just the rate of change of the inflation. And so, I mean, I feel like he did that as well.
Yeah. I mean,
So I guess just backing up, I'm just trying to look at, like, a lot of the pain that we're feeling right now, I think, as Americans, is like self-inflicted for no reason. Like, I don't know why we have to be at war with Iran. I don't know where the crazy tariff policy came from. So when I look at Kamala Harris, I feel like none of these things would have happened under Kamala. I've got 4 years of Biden. She was the VP. I feel like it'd largely be a continuation of his stuff.
so economically, what would Kamala Harris have done better?
I think possibly not making permanent the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I think would have helped a lot for funding the government, so we wouldn't have to be borrowing such absurd amounts of money. Number one. Number two, like, the absurd amount of money spent on ICE is just crazy. Like, if you wanted to,
we have a big illegal immigrant problem in America.
yeah, but there are things we could do to solve that. But Trump
Such
is,
as? Do you think Kamala would have been better on immigration than Trump?
yes.
Why?
Because
How? she was already doing it. She was the border czar. What'd she get done?
She's the vice president. She can't do anything, technically, right?
'Kay.
But what we would have done is the Langford bill that was killed in the last year of Biden's term, we would have actually brought that back and passed it, which would have given us, like, a more permanent solution for dealing with asylum seekers and everybody at the border.
So funding wouldn't be a solution?
Funding could be a solution, yeah. But but ICE does not do, you know, asylum judge stuff. ICE does not fund border security. Like, all of the funding just went to ICE, which is driving down support for, you know, broad deportation stuff. So, like, Trump has taken one of the biggest issues that he was, you know, strong on, to now a lot of Americans are looking at ICE going from state to state, just bullying U.S. citizens and stuff. Now they're going to airports. Like, they're this, like, mob that can do anything.
We're out of TSA agents. They gotta go.
Well, maybe Republicans should try to fund maybe
Oh
the
my
government.
gosh! How many votes do they need to pass it right now?
They need some Democrats, but
They need
Democrats,
si-
they
they
just
need
shot down a
6
bill.
Democrats. Am I correct on that?
Sure. Well, Fetterman's a freebie. That's a free space, so you only need 5.
Yeah,
If you can't get 5 votes in the Senate, what's going on?
they're not cooperating. They're
Really?
not working.
It's
No.
just that. It's just that.
It-
Everything
it's
is the fault
largely-
of the
it's
Democrats,
largely
even when they're the
that.
minority. So if Trump doesn't have 60 votes in the Senate, Trump can never get anything done. Even
Kind of
funding the
hard when they
government.
don't play ball.
But if I look back, Republicans lost their speaker position in the House under Biden. They lost because they voted out their own McCarthy dude, and then they couldn't even, like, was that the Democrats' fault as well? Like, I think Republicans have an issue governing. I don't think they can govern very well, and I think Trump is a big part of that. And I don't think Kamala would have had that problem, because we don't do these. We actually have to govern as Democrats to bring the country back from the precipice of destruction that Republicans seem to always push us towards or hurdle us over the cliff of.
That's a bit dramatic.
Is it, though?
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
Well, when Obama came into office, we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we had the global financial crash, right? And then when Biden came into office, we were just coming off of the COVID, well, we were in the middle, the heat of COVID and all that horrible stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the last, like, 20 years of presidents.
Sure,
So I feel like it's not that dramatic.
But COVID wasn't the fault of the Republicans.
No, but
it was a
Trump's-
worldwide issue.
Sure, but Trump definitely didn't help, and I think he mismanaged a lot of the American trust, and I think he mismanaged a lot of the U.S. response to COVID because of how backwards he was in a lot of his statements. Like, he really wanted people to accept the vaccine, for instance, because he wanted credit for warp speed, but he'd spent so much time undermining Fauci and the NIH that it was impossible for Americans to even trust the vaccine. So
Yeah, well, Fauci was just not good.
why didn't Trump fire him then?
That's a good question. I don't know. He should have.
It seems like
he
he was
absolutely
he
should
was
have
just treating him as a fall guy. He didn't even know. He was just like, right? It's not real. My issue is that Trump can't govern. He's the president. He does everything out of the White House. You just saw Tulsi Gabbard go up and complain that she didn't really say it, directly, but basically like the Washington made this decision to go to war with Iran without the IC really didn't have input into that. The intelligence community. I don't think that would have been a problem under Kamala.
I think it still would have been. I don't think she'd be able to govern well either. I don't think she would have been better on any foreign policy position. I don't think she would have dealt with Israel any better than Trump has.
Who do you think dealt with Israel better, Trump or Biden? You know the answer is Biden,
Yeah.
right? It's Biden, right? Why would
that's
Kamala
my main difference from Trump.
Sure.
his
So, but
position.
Kamala probably wouldn't have been because, regardless of what you want to say about people on the left, they're more cucked or whatever when it comes to hating Israel and all that as well. Because we've got our own people on our side and loving the Palestinians and everything. I don't think Kamala would have made. There's no way that Kamala would have capitulated as much to Netanyahu. Because if she was willing to do that much, why wouldn't Biden have?
She's the vice president. You just said she can't do anything.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but she's part of his administration. I think that their policies.
Sure, so she could have been better on immigration.
No. What I'm saying is that I would expect to see Kamala more or less continue Biden-era policies, and Biden didn't capitulate to Netanyahu as much as Trump did.
So if you're saying she would have been better at governing, people were largely rejecting these Biden-era policies. We had an election where Kamala got cooked off of these policy positions. How is that better?
Well, I mean, I agree that they were voting against what they perceived to be as bad Biden policies.
Perceived, or they just were?
Well, looking now at the last year and a half of Trump, I would say they were perceived because Trump has been a disaster in every single way. Because Trump has failed to deliver on every single promise he made. The biggest ones were affordability.
Okay, you can say Trump did bad, but that doesn't change the fact that Biden's were also
Trump
bad. Trump being bad does not make Biden good.
Correct, but Trump being worse than Biden makes Biden better than Trump. And by extension, would have made Kamala better than Trump. And Trump has been about as bad as anybody could have imagined on almost every single issue.
Nah.
No?
No. He could be better. I'd like him to ramp
What's
up. I would like him to ramp up immigration or the deportations, but border secured. Has the border ever been this secured?
I don't know I don't know if I can trust the numbers that this administration even gives.
Oh, so the one good thing he does, you're like,
well,
I don't know if I can
curious.
trust the
Do you
source.
think
What would you trust?
Well, hold on. Do you think that we've had 0 illegal crossings in the past year?
I mean,
Do you think we've had
possibly.
0? Do you think we've had 0?
Maybe there's some that they didn't see, but
Do you think we've had 0 illegal crossings the past year?
probably pretty close.
So no.
Probably pretty close. Yeah, give or take.
So no.
Dude, we're talking about like a handful of people have
Like
probably made it
6?
over. Maybe, who knows?
So no, we haven't had 0. Trump says 0, doesn't he? Trump says we've had no illegal immigrants crossing. So that's a lie, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
Or
just
no,
don't know.
No, not a lie, but
What's a lie?
no, it's not.
If you say 0 and the number is
prove
not
it's
0,
not 0. Prove it's not 0.
I know 10 illegal immigrant friends who illegally immigrated 6 months ago just for the fun of it.
Just for the fun of it.
Yep.
And they just weren't caught.
Yep.
Okay, so once they get caught, they'll be
But
deported
they were
again.
seen though, so they were reported as an encounter, but then they ran away. I just can't believe that the number is actually 0. That just seems impossible to me.
I don't know what the number is. It's lower than under Kamala and Biden.
I'm sure it is. I believe that.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I
Is
think.
it not a good thing? Are you pro illegal immigration?
Am I pro a thing that's against the law? Generally, no. I'm not pro illegal immigration.
Okay.
I don't think many Democrats are pro illegal immigration.
Okay.
But I think that actually solving the problem, I think would be better than paying lip service to
So
it.
what's
like
actually
Trump
solving
has.
the problem?
Well, I think the border bill would have been nice because it would have provided funding for the asylum judges, so we could have worked through that asylum backlog. I think that fixing the asylum seeker system we had, because I think it was a little broken, especially when it got
Yeah, it was
overwhelmed by
horrible.
COVID.
Catch and release was a horrible. It was
Yeah, but it was
really
a
bad.
necessary byproduct of our asylum system, right? People would come in, they would claim asylum, and if you don't have the judiciary to
Send them back. They can wait in Mexico. They can wait in
what if
wherever
it's
they came
what if
from.
it's a legitimate asylum-seeking person, like a person who's actually come from an area where they're being heavily prosecuted and they can't afford to feed their family? Like, do you just send them across the border to die?
No, but that doesn't give them the free reign to come into this country, does it?
So then, do you send them back across the border to die?
No, but we as America can't take every single person who needs to come into this country. There has to be a system, and if we let people start skipping that line, why can't everybody skip the line?
I agree with you, which is why the system needs to be funded, which is what that border bill would have done. Trump didn't fund that system. He just shut it all down.
Yeah, because it was a horrible system. It needed to be completely rebooted.
Wouldn't it be nice if he did that instead of just shutting it down?
What's nice is just securing the border so we don't have these issues.
Yeah, but he hasn't even really secured the border. He's just done some things via executive order that could be undone by the next president via executive order. Like, wouldn't it be better to have an actual comprehensive immigration bill solution, like an actual real-life solution thing, rather than Trump ruling exclusively via executive power? Like anything.
But once again, we're getting back to it.
Yeah.
Would Congress work with him on that?
He's the
Would they?
president. It's his job.
I know. But if Congress isn't going to play ball, he's got to pass it through executive order.
Then make the case to the American public and tell them that Congress. It's not. Trump didn't even try. Trump literally told Congress not to vote on this border
It's also
bill.
just quicker to do it through executive order.
Yeah, breaking the rules usually is quicker.
How is an executive order breaking the rules?
Well, you're either trying to do more than you have the legal authority to do, or you're doing a half-assed job that's not
Wouldn't
really.
the executive order give him the legal authority to do that?
No,
No.
that's not how
No?
executive orders work. No.
No.
Executive
not?
orders are things that the president's just saying that this is what he wants to do as part of his administration's agenda, but it has to use pre-existing powers given to him by Congress or the Constitution. He can't just make his own law.
Yeah, but he can enact policy through executive order. That's
Kind,
what,
like
that's
he can
what
make
he's done through this
roughly
entire
a little bit,
administration.
but it's not strong. It won't stick. There's no more additional funding for the asylum judges. And also,
But then every time we try to fund, there's a big holdup in Congress, and we shut down our government.
well, he's not trying to fund a legitimate overhaul of the border. He's just trying to give $90 billion to ICE for some reason, which is an absurd amount of money.
Yeah, it is, but we have an absurd problem in this country of
Do we?
illegal immigrants. Yes.
I don't believe it. I don't believe you
don't
guys
believe
it.
that?
No.
You don't believe that?
No, because
Why
I think
not?
because I think if it was an actually huge problem, I think you guys would be infuriated at how lackluster Trump's approach has been to it.
I think a lot of people have been, but it's better than what Kamala would have done.
Then I disagree. I think they would have passed that border bill, which would have done everything Trump has done now, except it would have been solidified in legislation, and it would have prompted more. I think it would have prompted more funding for, like, more actual changes to the border, and then more long-term funding for dealing with it. Trump said that there were 30 million people that came into this country illegally.
Okay.
And I think, according to their numbers, like 2 million have left. So that's, if they do the same amount for the next 3
so what do
years,
you
that's
think-
8
what do you
million
think-
out of 30 million.
Yeah, what do you think Kamala's numbers would have been?
Well, I don't think 30 million came in illegally. I think that's just a total lie.
Okay, let's set it at 15. Let's say it was 15 million.
I think it was like,
I think
I've
that's
heard
the
anywhere
number.
from 3 to 8 in terms
3
of
to
like
8?
asylum seeking. Yeah.
Oh,
But even the
just
fact that you're
asylum,
willing,
okay,
but
yeah.
the fact that you're willing to go from 30 million to 15 million, isn't that like a big problem that the president of the United States is lying so much about the number? Isn't that kind of crazy?
Well, we don't know what the actual number is. It could
Does
be
he?
It could be 30 million. He might. He probably has better intelligence on it than us.
Yeah, but it seems like he gets his intelligence from Fox News.
No, I don't think so.
You sure?
You don't even.
I
think.
do
You
think
just
that.
said. You just said it was the last person he talked to. Wouldn't that be his cabinet?
No, but he doesn't talk to his cabinet. That was what Tulsi Gabbard was saying, was the decision to go
In
and
this
invade
one
Iran.
instance, he didn't talk to his cabinet.
I mean, when you look at the WhiteHouse.gov website and they're releasing new articles on things and they're sourcing like Fox News and stuff, it makes me think that, or OANN or the
One
Newsmax.
American News.
Yeah, it makes me feel like they don't seem to be relying on their intelligence too much.
I mean, but it is journalism, is it not?
Sure, but he's the president of the United States. He's got access to better information than all of us. Well,
Sure,
right.
What if they're not declassified? What if they can't or say where they got these from?
Sure. Well, they could. It's the president. He can
He
psychically
could.
declassify stuff. That was the Mar-a-Lago hidden documents argument, right? So I guess okay. So because we have to move through different topics and people and everything.
Yeah, that's
What? So I'm just curious. So I'm looking across these wide measures. I don't think Kamala would have capitulated as much to Israel. I don't think Biden did as much to Trump. Do you disagree with that? You think she would have given?
Oh, I'm just not pro-Israel at all.
No,
I'm
I
not
understand.
pro-American involvement in Israel. So
Sure.
yeah, I would say Biden probably was better on the Israel topic because he just did nothing, which is
No, he did. He restrained them, right?
Sure, but he was more focused on the Ukraine-Russia conflict during his
Sure.
presidency.
So I think Kamala would have been better there. I don't think Kamala would have tariffed the entire world like Trump has done.
Sure.
I think that
I
our
don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, that wasn't her position, so she wouldn't have done it.
okay. I don't think that we would have solidified the Trump tax cut. So I think the budget would be doing a little bit better. I think the Trump budget is just completely out of control.
I just think I think our government is broken. That's why I would like Doge to come in and actually be efficient.
Well,
Because
but
I think
the
there's
problem-
places we can cut.
There's
We
not.
can cut spend. There's no places we can cut.
Not with
spending.
Doge, no. We would have to actually make hard spending cuts, not discover imaginary efficiency and waste or whatever that we think is going to account for some huge reduction in spending.
So what department should do that?
All the departments do that, but this is a
No, they're clearly not.
this is a Congress question. Is in what do we want to fund? Do we want to increase revenue or do we want to cut spending in certain programs? But it's not going to be some magical waste, fraud, and abuse fairy that finds all this extra money to not spend.
There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. Do you?
You
do
say
think?
that? No.
You don't think there's that much?
No. If there was, why didn't Doge find any of it?
They have been finding.
They
it.
haven't.
They have been.
Their only cuts were getting rid of U.S. aid and
Nick Shirley goes to Minnesota.
finds nothing.
He didn't find nothing. He got
found
Tim
nothing.
Walz to drop out of the race.
Yeah, that's true because of propaganda, but he didn't find anything. Where are the cases?
Propaganda.
You understand? For half the Nick Shirley videos, this guy walks into managerial offices and seems to think that this is the same thing as a business and doesn't know the difference. and says like, why can't I sign my grandma up for hospice in this like one room office? It's just a managerial office for like a hospice at home company. This is like 50% of his new California video. It was 50% of his
I
Minnesota
haven't
video.
watched his new California video.
Okay, well in the Minnesota one it was the same. He was going to daycare centers at different times of the day. Sometimes when they were closed.
Yeah, and they're spelling learning wrong.
Sure, the sign was spelled wrong on one of them, but I mean, Hegseth literally incorrectly spelled. Was it the Department of Defense or whatever? Like, it was literally right in front of him on a placard. And Trump can barely name correct countries or anything. So I don't know if that's the position that the Republicans want to be making fun of right now. But okay, I don't know. I think Kamala would have been better on almost all these issues, but obviously you disagree. Any final? I'll give you the last word.
No, Kamala would not have been better. She would have bent to Israel, I think, just as hard as Trump would have. I think this was a bubbling conflict that was going to explode regardless of who the president was. I don't think Kamala Harris has the sway with leaders because, frankly, people aren't afraid of Kamala. I don't think they respect her like people maybe. I don't think it's the kind of respect that maybe we would want our president to have, but people are afraid of Trump. They're afraid of his power. Kamala didn't have that.
Okay. Hi, what's up?
Hi, Stephen.
How's it going?
Good. Your viewers are like, who the heck is this old lady?
Uh-oh. Amy,
Yeah.
we see you on Instagram.
Yes. I got
Oh,
reamed
speak
out.
right into the microphone because
I
you're
got-
real quiet, yeah.
I got reamed out this afternoon by tpusa.
Because you guys went to the offices and had your fun debates, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to be talking to the chapter
we
for
are,
the...
But then you started talking to me.
Oh.
So we're
Well,
gonna bring
because you
Sal
sat down in front
up.
of me, but go ahead, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna bring Sal up. Sal is the vice president of our National Ground Game chapter here at Arizona State, and the fine folks watching this live stream at home can click the QR code and help support our National Ground Game chapter here at Arizona State. Sal, he's nervous.
We'll be fine.
Here you go.
Hey, Steven.
Hey, what's up? How's it going, Sal?
It's going great.
Going great.
First time I've ever been in front of a camera.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
Hold the microphone right in front of your
Right
mouth,
here?
and then we should be good. Okay,
Okay,
you were
perfect.
going to break down the top 25 funding initiatives of Arizona. No, I'm just kidding. So you are the chapter VP
Yes.
of
yeah.
National Ground Game.
Yeah. We started the chapter about a month ago.
I'm kind of curious, what is like your overall feeling right now on campuses related to politics? Because you hear everything from people saying that it's all far left kids, and then you hear, Republicans are like Gen Z's, like has a
Sure.
huge like Republican resurgence. Yeah, I guess what is like the feeling for an average student? Like, what kind of politics do they see on campus?
Yeah. I mean, well, we started the chapter because we wanted to have people like you on campus. We thought that like events that bring spectacle are they're engaging and they bring pride to political movements. And we saw that with Charlie. Charlie came, I think, prior to the 2024 election. He came twice, which was both in my first semester at ASU. And so we just wanted to. We think that events like that are really beneficial, and especially at ASU. I can't speak for other campuses. I know U of A is a little more left leaning than ASU is, but amongst the different demographics I've seen broad Republican support. I remember when Charlie came, there was a lot of pride with that community, and we saw a lot of merch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of merch. People were reading Charlie Kirk's book too.
I've had people say that in Arizona for this campus and then the other, I wish I could remember the other.
U of A and NAU.
Yeah. That there's like it's like the Charlie Kirk stomping ground. That there, especially after his death, there were like tons of signs. And
Oh,
vigils,
yeah,
and there was just so much stuff going on.
It was crazy. I mean, this is tpusa's headquarters. This is where, we were. You know about the Erica Kirk video? That was
Which one?
the one most recently.
Oh.
From the tpusa.
That was me
chapter meeting.
filming. You didn't know
Yeah.
that? I was in a mask. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No.
Yes, we watched that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That was me and my chapter president. We went there to go talk to them to see if we could invite them to the debate event that got canceled later that night.
Nice.
So,
Our guys on the inside.
yeah.
They're having a fun event
Yeah.
right now with Jack Posobiec, right?
I know. I wish we could have went to talk to them, but apparently Brian talked to them this morning. So
Yeah, they found him outside the TPUSA headquarters apparently. So
Yeah. Looked cool. There was already a report on it, but
I've seen. Yeah, people are posting about it. You guys started a National Ground Game chapter.
Yeah.
What does that look like from a college perspective? If there are kids who are like, I don't know if I want to start one. I don't know how to do politics in my school. Like, what was that process like? I guess.
well, it's been kind of challenging for us. We started a month ago. This scheduling this event was kind of our first big thing. We helped schedule the studio for this event as well. It was hard at ASU because we had a lot of technical issues at first. There wasn't a lot of access, but
Mhm.
for kids on campus, I mean, I encourage them to, especially with National Ground Game. I think it's a really good organization, and I think speakers like you and other people who agree with the Democratic Party and are advocates for issues like that are
For
really beneficial.
ASU, how many people do you need to even start a chapter?
Well, we started with 5.
Mhm.
Right now we're boiled down to mainly our 3 officers because we haven't really done a lot of tabling events yet, but
Mhm.
but we hope to start things up hopefully soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like on college campuses when it comes to organizations, my outside perspective is you'll have
Okay.
like your right-leaning people,
Yeah.
and then you'll kind of have your far left people, and not many center left people. Does it feel like that here? Or is that not necessarily the case? Or
It's weird. On ASU campus, it's dominated by tpusa.
Yeah.
Mostly, especially outwardly, because we have. They're the only people that do really big tabling events. They're also the only people with a giant tent that
Okay.
says tpusa.
gotcha.
We have the only far left, I'd say. There's the Revolutionary Communists of America. I
Awesome,
think.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We have, and I think that's the only far left. We have Young Democrats. They just met with Mark Kelly the other day.
Cool. Okay.
They're not as loud as tpusa or Young Republicans. So, but that's how it goes at our campus. I know NAU and U of A are the more left-leaning campuses out of the 3 in the Arizona system. So, but like if you have any more questions about the inside view, but
No, I mean, I guess so. Starting one, I think you just need it's like a few people, and then you have to find like a sponsor.
yeah, well, at our school we have to find an advisor. Usually it's a professor or higher. We had a director of
Mhm.
I think it was the Arizona or ASU Public Institute of Politics,
Mhm.
something along those lines. It was really easy. So you just find a few of your friends, and they're really easy to communicate with. Amy and Z have been
Yeah.
really, really, really fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to chat about, or?
No, I think what you do is amazing. This I came to it was Adam Mockler and you at the event right outside of AmFest last year. It was really cool, and I think you guys. I'm sorry that the event got canceled and that
No,
the
it's all
day
good.
kind of went around, but it was fun.
Cool.
So thank you.
Well, awesome. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for sponsoring us and bringing us out here and starting a chapter and everything else.
Thanks for talking to me.
Yeah.
Steven.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's fine. Hey, what's up? What's up? It's going great. We're okay, Andrew? Better be.
Do I look good? Get my good side right here.
Okay. Make sure to hold the mic up to your mouth, and then otherwise, yeah. You have a particular. Oh, first introduce yourself.
I'm Nathan. I'm with Off the Record USA Media, and I am an influencer for them.
Gotcha. Awesome. Is there a specific Trump topic you wanted to talk about today?
I really loved you talking about and comparing Kamala Harris because obviously she was the candidate against Donald Trump. I think some of the main components of the campaign trails on both sides were economy because obviously affordability is a big issue for us voters. Immigration is a top issue as well, according to polling across CNN and Fox News. And if you want to talk about war, we were involved in the Ukraine and Russia war for a while now, even till this day. And I think voters were very afraid of to continue and prolong the war and also get involved with Iran, which I heard you discuss about, which I'd like to as well because I heavily disagree with your side and your standpoint.
Gotcha. So I guess starting off on the affordability thing, like I don't think I remember all 3 of them, but Kamala had 3 big components that she had outlined for economic stuff. One, I think, was like a $20,000 first-time homebuyer tax credit.
Correct.
The second one was some tax deduction for small businesses up to a certain threshold. And then I don't remember the third one had to do with the child tax credit or something different. But these were all things that ideally would have gone to some extent towards affordability. I feel like Trump's bids towards affordability have been kind of jokes. So like no interest on or no like you can deduct the interest that you pay on your car payment, which is I don't know how much.
Only if it's American-made vehicle.
Yeah, but this is like an insignificant amount of money, I would imagine, to the vast majority of people.
And the idea of that policy as well is to buy American, so American manufacturing would do better because like companies like Ford and Dodge, he's trying to push them to come back here.
Sure, but I feel like the needle
manufacturing earlier, according to some organizations and news sources, they do say in some areas of manufacturing have doubled to tripled. Obviously, some have gone down. Like chips and stuff like that. We do a lot of those in Taiwan and stuff, and we want to sort of bring that here. Obviously, they're struggling doing that, but there are some manufacturing sectors that are doubling and tripling. Vehicle manufacturing is one of them. He wanted to bring back manufacturing of vehicles in Detroit because Detroit kind of has nothing. They used to be the hotspot for vehicle manufacturing. I'm sure you know that. It's very well known. He wanted to do that. But there are companies like Ford vehicles, American-made vehicles that would be coming back here. So manufacturing coming back here, more jobs here for that. And again, us Americans, we would be buying Ford products because we get that stipend off of the interest rates, which they're very high.
Well, maybe, but at the end of the day, I don't think anybody's ever making a decision to buy a car based on a deduction of their interest payments on their car
I think
loan.
everybody's looking for deals right now. $5 off is enough for me to buy if it's
A different type of car.
If
no, there's
car
no world
prices
where it's
matter.
like I
Yes,
could get
it
a
does.
Mustang or I could get a Subaru or some other whatever car you would compare to a Mustang, but like because I can deduct and save $25 on my taxes, I'm gonna go with the Mustang.
I think it'd be slightly more than $25, but I think when you go buy a vehicle, we all know they like to add on little fees here and there. They add on a fee for pulling up the vehicle for you at the front of the building. If you can take off $500, I'll take that all day long. Anything I can take off the cost of a vehicle, especially from a dealership, because they gouge you insane. I think anything works like that.
I would agree with like line items on a car, but not on the interest rate, not on tax deductible. I don't even know if you get this with your ordinary filings or if you have to itemize for this. But like, there's just no shot where somebody's thinking that like because how much interest would you even pay on a car? Like in a year, like let's assume you're paying, we'll say $200 in per month. What is this, $2,400, and then you knock $2,400 off your taxable income. So maybe you save it'll maybe a couple $100 depending on what tax bracket.
You're
Like
throwing a speculation number. I mean, it's
I know, but I'm saying that. But imagine the average person going to buy a car. Like, are they really crunching the numbers at this? I don't think so. Or like no tax on tips. Like, why would we have tip workers not paying taxes or
no tax on tips and no tax on overtime?
Overtime, yeah.
Me personally, I when this was enlisted, I still have my taxes that are about to get done because I worked a lot of overtime in warehouse industries and stuff. That's going to physically affect me a lot. I'm going to be receiving a lot more taxes back according to Credit Karma and these systems that I'm doing my taxes through. So I myself am seeing something great through that. I'm not upper class whatsoever, so I'm seeing a beneficial thing from Donald Trump's policies. The no tax on tips, people think, oh, well, you get cash tips, that already matters. Well, also, it's taking from credit cards to actually not taxing that because credit cards are considered tippable items, and that's tracked. So the IRS is taking that from you, so now they aren't actually.
Sure. So I'm seeing a bunch of like kind of bones thrown, I guess, in ways that are like kind of maybe a little bit nice, but overall, like, I mean, like the inflation outlook keeps getting worse and worse. Like we never got even below 2%. We've got the cost of gasoline is now exploding for who knows how long due to the war in Iran. We were never able to lower the price on anything, obviously, because the prices won't come back down.
Yeah.
So all the cumulative effects are still felt. I feel like Trump, like if we want to make nuanced arguments about what the president can do regarding affordability and prices, that's fine. But none of those arguments were made during the election.
It's also not what he can do; what has he done? Because obviously we can't argue whether or not Kamala Harris would do good or bad because we can't see her actual policies enacted.
Sure,
but
but
we
if
can
she
say
wasn't
what her policies are on
Sure.
her campaign trail. One of them also was being price control, and we both know price control is not good. Supply goes down, demand is high. That's going to affect the economy very, very bad, and consumers like me and you are going to be grasping for straws for certain products.
I agree on that, but I'm not as worried for Democrats when they say things like that because I know those policies are stupid and they'll listen to their advisors and they won't enact them. Whereas on Trump, if it comes down to tariffing the entire planet, like that is a thing he'll do, which has downstream really negative effects on consumers. But Trump obviously won't listen to anybody around him, or he just surrounds himself with yes men. So now we have this disastrous econ policy. Whereas I don't think for Kamala we would have had the price control stuff. I don't think that would have ever.
So Trump's campaign policy was benefiting the working class. Kamala was also stealing Donald Trump's policies, like no tax on tips. She stole shortly after him, 3 months later after he announced it. So her policies are taking what Trump's ideas are and lying then?
No, I think that the particular one about like there was another one about like unrealized taxes, like capital gains taxes they were talking about. I don't think that these would have actually gone through just because I think they were so disastrous. But I think the general Democratic outlook on the economy, so not extending the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act to like things to help the budget a little bit more, or not like throwing us full force into a war in Iran.
And you think she wouldn't have done that?
No, I don't think so.
Why is that?
But I guess like before we can go to Iran, but like
Sure.
all of the I don't know how Republicans or Trump or anybody keep getting this credit for like balancing the budget when like the deficit and everything keeps getting larger and larger and larger, and they do nothing to curb any of it. But then they get credit for helping Americans because they are, giving like this like the no tax on overtime or tips thing. But like it's all just massive deficit spending. Where if a Democrat were to do the same thing, there'd be complaints about inflation and everything else.
How is that deficit deficit spending when it's just saving the American taxpayer money, which means they have more money to put back into the economy. I'm not saying that Donald Trump doesn't raise the deficit, because I think we all know here Republicans are just prone to raising the deficit. I think it's just a requirement for them now, it seems like.
Yeah.
Can we agree
Well,
on
when
that?
I say deficit spending, yeah, for sure. But when I say deficit spending, what I mean is that like the government is spending a certain amount of money, and now it's reducing its revenue, so it's going to have to borrow even more. So it's just more deficit spending. Like if you were to say tomorrow we're going to do 0% income taxes, you would have to. This is powered by deficit spending. You have to deficit spend even more to cover now all of your lost revenue. So like all of the distributions that Trump is doing to the American public via tax rebates or tax deductions or whatever, they're not being paired with any spending cuts. Like Doge was a monumental failure, and he hasn't cut the budget really anywhere. And
What do you when the American taxpayer receives more money? What do you think they do with that money? Do you think they just set it aside and they save it, or do you think they spend it?
I think they spend it.
What do you think they spend it on?
Anything, goods and services. Depends on the class, but
Right, it's going back into the economy. It's going back into state level economy as well.
yeah,
which
but that
helps
doesn't go
us
into the
thrive.
government budget, right?
Well, absolutely, it doesn't go in the budget, but I'm saying it still goes back into the economy, or it goes back to the government in some sort of way, shape, or form. So it's not just disappearing. It's not sitting in a bank account and losing value, diminishing every single year. It's going back. That's the main point I'm making.
Well, I understand that, but like if Democrats were to just say we're going to cut a $5,000 check to everybody, would you say the same thing?
No, well, that's different.
It's the same thing.
It's different when the government is directly handing you money, or it depends on how much you make.
No, it doesn't. It's the same
yes,
thing.
No, it depends on how much you make, because you look at the no tax and overtime, no tax and tips. You have to receive a certain amount of money per year. If you go past that that threshold, then you're not eligible to make that and receive that tax.
Yeah, I understand, but at the end of the day, like you can do it however you want, but at the end of the day, the government is receiving the deficit is measured in revenue against expense. And if you want to increase the expenses by giving everybody a check, or reduce the revenue by offering whatever arbitrary tax cuts, you're just increasing the deficit. You're just deficit spending with the government at the end of the day. Whether the Democrats want to give out money or whether the Republicans want to cut taxes, if you don't if you don't pair it with spending cuts, it's just deficit spending.
Do you think it's fair to say that we should give us, not us, sorry, us working class, when I say us, I mean working class people, lower income, do you think it's fair to say to give them more of a tax break than the big elites?
Not necessarily. I think everybody
Really?
should have to pay taxes in the country.
I'm saying the people who are working should get more of a tax break than the rich. You're saying the rich people should get more tax break than the poor class? The income makers, the workers?
Well, no, I'm in favor of progressive taxation. Like I think that the more money you make, you're in
So
a higher
yes,
income bracket.
you agree then?
I think I do, yeah.
Okay, so
Or-
the point I'm making is
Well,
that
but you say give them a break. I just mean the tax rate should be lower on the lower income level. Then as you get higher and higher, there's an additional, or there's a higher marginal tax rate.
already is for these specific policies. When you go no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, again, there's a threshold you have to meet. If you pass that and you're making a boatload of money, you can't receive that policy program for you to help you. It's for
Sure.
the lower class people, so they can get a break, can continue to work and save more money, while the upper class is already paying the most taxes according to the IRS. They already pay over 70% of taxes already, so they're
Sure.
paying the majority of it.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that regardless of the cute little tax exemptions that he's making for certain classes of worker, if you happen to be able to get overtime, if you happen to be able to work a tip position, then at the end of the day, this is just deficit spending. He's just spending more money and not taking any money in to match it. Like you can figure out how you want to distribute it via tax cuts to certain people or via cutting checks to people or whatever. But I mean, like the deficit has been a problem, right? Like Trump has been a disaster.
How do you think Kamala would have lowered the deficit according to her campaign policy? What does she say she wanted to do for it?
My hope would be that Democrats wouldn't have made permanent the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs
What did her
Act.
campaign say about it?
I don't know if they spoke specifically to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
No, the deficit. We both agree the Republicans raise the deficit all the time, but what did Kamala run on for the deficit spending?
I don't know if they spoke specifically about deficit spending.
Okay, so we don't know what she would have done then.
Well, but I mean, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from Trump is one of the hugest drivers of our like massively increasing deficit. Like it cut all the rates for how much money we could make from people via taxes in the U.S.
Sure, but again, she had no campaign. I mean, okay, we can both agree her campaign didn't start until later on, so maybe she didn't have enough time to get a policy put out there for
Well,
it.
do you think Democrats would have pushed to extend the Trump tax cuts as much as Trump did?
Probably not, but there's still some programs like tariffs that they probably would have extended.
They would not to the extent that Trump is doing.
Not to the
tariffs.
extent, but still continued some. Like Biden still continued.
Sure,
with
some of the ones
Donald
on
Trump
China.
tariffs.
Sure.
Yeah. But again, and we did bring up other topics, but it kind of led into economy as well. So
Yeah. Okay. So so you think the Iran push would have happened under Kamala, or you support it
100%.
under Trump?
100%.
Why do you think that?
And again, like I said before, I'm not debating whether or not it would be better or worse under Kamala. I'm just saying that it would have happened. Do you know what Kamala's campaign policy was on Israel? I'm sure you can assume.
I mean, I've heard there are like collections of snippets that people like to say, or what do you like? I've
Do
heard
you-
that like we have to have the most lethal military in the world, and we have to be strong in
not
Iran.
our
or-
military. The Israeli support her campaign policy. Do you know what it was?
I don't know. They're strong allies. What?
Strong allies, and it was also defending them physically with manpower. So again,
Sure.
if Israel's being attacked, October 7th, if Israel's being attacked, Kamala's not going to sit back and do nothing. She's going to get involved with the war, whether it means physically being there, troops on the ground, which I don't think she would do. That's very stupid. I don't think she would be advised to do that. But again, she talked about defending Israel was her campaign policy. So that's exactly what Donald Trump's doing, is claiming to doing. Marco Rubio is talking about defending Israel. This whole thing in Iran is about defending Israel and claiming also weapons of mass destruction, which they did in Afghanistan years ago. But they bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran is what Trump did first, and then now they're bombarding with bombs. I think Kamala Harris would have done virtually the same thing. Like I said, not better or worse. We can't gauge that, but she absolutely would have been involved because her own campaign policy said she would be defending Israel.
So I think that defense can look a lot of different ways. Like Biden defended Israel, but Biden also restrained Israel's military actions, especially in the Gaza Strip, at multiple points. And when Iran was threatening and shooting missiles or whatever at Israel, Biden was not like, let's go B-2 bomb all of their stuff. And then now, to the extent that we've got thousands of Marines headed to Iran, like I don't know if they would have taken those steps. I don't know why they wouldn't have just done it in their term. Like Biden, I don't think would have ever gotten to this point for Iran. I don't know why I would think Kamala Harris would ever get to this point. Like I think it's a pretty exceptional.
Again, we can't really gauge whether or not she would be better or worse, or she would be more excessive or less excessive. But can you concede and agree that she probably would be involved in Iran defending Israel in some way, shape, or form?
Well, yeah, but we're not defending Israel right now. We're launching a regime change war in Iran.
But you agree that but Kamala would have been involved in some way, shape, or form. We can't gauge how that.
Well, Biden was involved in some way, shape, or form, right? For the
would
defense.
Kamala be?
To some extent,
Would
yeah.
Kamala
of course.
be?
Yeah.
Okay, to some extent. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
but not invading Iran or not doing a regime change war in Iran.
No, of course. But
Like-
I'm just saying we don't know. She would have done something like that. We don't know what she would have been
Well, we
advised
can't
to do.
counterfactually know everything, right? But I mean,
Sure.
like, we can make guesses based on Trump has bombed like more countries in like a year or two than I think any president in all of U.S. history, just in the short couple of years, like 9 different countries that he's attacked.
Well,
And
I
then-
mean, we could bring up drone strikes in Obama and stuff like that. I
Yeah?
mean, you can bring up
The
anything
ones that
like
Trump
that.
obscured more of for the reporting related to drone strikes. But
Sure, I mean, how many U.S. civilians did he kill? How many civilians in general did he kill? How many hospitals did he blow up with children and women inside of there?
for Trump, well, we just bombed one in Iran that had like 170 school children or
How
whatever.
confirmed is that?
It's 100%.
Is it? I've seen.
Well, it's either you believe that the U.S. did it, which is I think what New York Times and most people are reporting, or you believe Trump when he says that somehow Iran stole a Tomahawk cruise missile and directed it at their own school children.
Well, again, but there's also the hands of saying could it have been Israel involved with that, or could it have been a misfire under Iran as well? It's not uncommon for these Middle Eastern countries to bomb their own people or gas them and say that somebody else did it. Right? That's not uncommon.
I think that's
That's
pretty
not uncommon.
uncommon in this way. This would be very uncommon, yeah.
I think these crazy people over there, these leaders, are willing to do anything to gain support from its own people to take
I
arms and
don't.
join
I
them.
think not for this one. No.
Why?
It just wouldn't make any sense for them to accidentally bomb their own school with 170 children. It obviously doesn't look like.
Why not?
It just doesn't make any sense. You just can't give me a plausible thing. So after Soleimani was assassinated and Iran wanted to counterattack, they accidentally shot down one of their own planes, a civilian airliner over Tehran. But it makes, like, I can conceive of the fact pattern there that their radar systems kind of suck and they mistargeted a civilian airliner and you can see the missiles like it was them 100%.
Yeah.
But the idea that, like Israel from an F-35 or they from their own country bombed a school that was literally right next to a whole bunch of other targets that the United States was attacking that day, it just doesn't make any sense that...
Wait, this is a good one. Is it uncommon that Israel bombs civilians?
In this way, yeah, I can't think of an example where they're just targeting a school and shooting and blowing up.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They bomb Christian Catholic churches in Gaza all the time. They bomb schools. And
Yeah, but this is like a part of a larger military campaign where, at the very least, whether you believe it or not, you can make the argument that there are people, that there are Hamas or whatever, that are people that do fight out of these buildings.
Yeah.
You know, Amnesty International, everybody said so.
Cowards, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think the same claims are generally made about Iran or the IRGC to bomb the school. It looked like it was a targeting error. This was a facility that was kind of close-ish to another military one, supposedly it had been used in the past as this. And then, like I said, I think most people are reporting that it was a U.S. strike. Just the idea that Israel would false flag one target out of so many that, like, we were already going to war with Iran. Why would we need to? Why would Israel need to false flag something for us to follow them in on? I'm not going to say.
You don't think they've done false flag operations to get us involved before? That's a very common occurrence with Israel.
What, like 9/11 or
No, I didn't say 9/11. Don't
like
make me out to be some conspiracy theorist.
what is the false? Without getting into this, there's no compelling reason for me to think that this was Israel. If that evidence pops up, I mean, I changed my mind on it.
How
but
about the entire Afghanistan war? You don't think it was a false flag operation? We have an actual occurrence where we had to be there to actually benefit ourselves?
What do you mean for? Wait, wouldn't this be 9/11 or what do you mean?
No. I'm not mentioning 9/11 alone. I'm mentioning Israel coming to the United States. Netanyahu came to Congress and he was telling us of these issues as to why we should join the war and join them. Do you know what they were?
For which are you talking about when you did Afghanistan and Iraq?
Yes. Do you know what they were?
No, which ones?
Weapons of mass destruction.
Sure, but I think Bush.
That's a false flag. He lied to us. He came to Congress and lied to our youth politicians and said, hey, if you guys don't join, you're next. They're going to be pointed at you, shooting missiles at you. And come to find out, we go bombard these countries, and now they hate us.
Well,
this
first,
is why we have an immigration
this is
problem.
not a come to find out. The United States has the strongest intelligence in the world. We knew that there weren't weapons of mass destruction there. It was Bush and Cheney that decided to set up a whole separate office to try to get unvetted information, to try to claim that maybe there was some there.
Where do we get most of our intelligence from in the Middle East? Who is the strong point? Who they help us?
I imagine we collaborate with a lot of people in the region. I imagine we
Name
collaborate
one.
with Israel and probably Saudi Arabia.
Israel,
and
thank
some-
you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we get most of our intelligence in the
But
Middle
you
East
don't.
from
But if you're
Israel.
good intelligence practice, it's not a single source of intelligence that you believe verbatim to start wars off of. This is why you collaborate it with other sources. This is why you validate it with your IC. We're not relying singularly on Israel just to take us to war in any place. It would be.
It's happening right now. It's happening around Iran. Why did the U.S. just come in and bomb? Months ago, we bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran, saying there's, again, Netanyahu again, decades later, they're very close to having nuclear weapons. Pretty good impression, I think. They're very close to nuclear weapons. They have these facilities, bomb them, and then they bomb them. What Tulsi Gabbard say about the facilities?
Well, that they were obliterated?
No, before that. Before the bombing happened, what did she say about them?
Well, I don't remember specifically.
She said there's no nuclear threat there, and then we bombed and said, yes, there is. We bombed them, and then just to come and find out
Wait. Are you
again,
saying she said this? Was this before she was the head of the DNI?
actively?
I would have to go back and check. I'm pretty sure most people, I think even nuclear international agencies were reporting that there was like, is it 400 kilograms of like 60% or whatever enriched uranium? I think consensus around the world was that was probably true. I don't
Again,
think
but we're talking about intelligence. We're talking about U.S. intelligence and Israeli intelligence. I believe the Israeli intelligence is what's dragging us in this war. You said we don't go based off of just one intelligence agency giving us information. We hop on board and join the war. Our own Tulsi Gabbard in our government said that there was no nuclear facilities there after we bombed them, and also just recently she came out and said that there is no threat in Iran, and yet we're still here.
She did not say that recently. That's not true.
Like a month ago, she said that.
No.
Actually, a week ago she said that.
She did not say that specifically. She explicitly said that it's not up to them to determine if there's an imminent threat, and then she confirmed that we had destroyed the nuclear facilities before.
The facilities. But so
Yes.
who's it up to then? It would be, let's say, possibly a strong intelligence, one of the best in the world, who's maybe right next.
I don't
door to
disagree that
Iran.
we're there right now because of
Israel?
because Netanyahu wants us there. That is my
So you agree?
position. Yes, but I don't think that a Democrat would have capitulated like Trump did. I think that's the issue.
Again, we can't gauge that, but we absolutely
can't, but I have, like, I
we
can look
both
at-
agreed
I
that
can look
Kamala
at-
would be there.
No, we.
Not her physically.
No, no,
She doesn't like to go to
no. It was
locations
the
like the
agreement of whether or
border.
not she would defend Israel against Iran. Like, I agree with that. But, like, this is, without getting lost in all of the mental gymnastics, like, who has taken all of the aggressive posturing towards Iran? We had the Republicans under Bush put Iran on the axis of evil. We had Donald Trump moving the embassy to Jerusalem and taking the fuck you position towards the Palestinians. We had Obama do the JCPOA, the nuclear deal with Iran. We had Trump come in and completely and totally tear it up and, trash them and say that we're going to destroy them or whatever. We had Biden in office who assisted Israel in defense against Iranian missile attacks, but was not bombing or attacking Iran. And now we brought Trump back, and now this is our second foray into attacking Iran. When you look at the history of like the presidents, Republican, Democrat, and now Republican again, and then you look at like all the actions even that Trump has taken, it's very obvious that Trump is incredibly aggressive on Iran in a way that Democrats have not been.
There haven't been threatening attacks on Israel like there has been under Donald Trump compared to Biden, and potentially if Kamala was in there, we don't know if these attacks would have happened, but if they did, I without a doubt would believe that Kamala Harris would say our strongest ally, which is what they all like to say, Israel's the strongest ally, that they were physically attacked on their soil, a massacre happened where they were slaughtered. Kamala Harris wouldn't sit back and just say, hey, I'll send you some money. Hey, when in one of her Indian or Hispanic accents she likes to throw on there, I think she would physically say, we're going in there with our Air Force or our Navy, powering positions. I think she would defend them just like we are now, if not possibly worse.
I mean, you can say that, but like explicitly, like people have been critical of Biden's like weak response to the Houthis. They said that he should have bombed them more. We didn't. We didn't provide them a whole bunch of like we're going to go and bomb the Gaza Strip with you when October 7th happened.
You're right. He did worse actually. He funded the terrorists instead of like Trump stopping funding towards the terrorists. Biden actually continued to fund them.
No,
some of this money, yes, because some of this money that was funding for Israel and Palestine, because he sent money to both. A lot of that money actually, in turn, went to Hamas for building certain missiles to shoot back at Israel.
Sure, but I mean, like the issue.
Sure. What do you mean? Sure. He funded
The
terrorists.
issue
You
is
can't
that
just say
no.
sure.
For one, Hamas is not shooting missiles. Number one. Number two, the Gaza.
Hamas isn't shooting missiles. Everybody, breaking news.
Well, they were rockets. They don't have like missile launching platforms in the Gaza Strip.
Okay, but
right? There's a substantial difference. Number one. Number two. Number three is Hamas was the government of the Gaza Strip, so they're going to be getting money and receiving aid. Technically, all money that goes into the Gaza Strip is going through Hamas.
What do you think they're going to do with that money?
Well, to some extent, you hope they take care of the people, but to another extent, they're also.
They're going to take care of the people. They steal the
What
food
is the
from them.
alternative? Do you completely starve the entire region and give them $0 and watch everybody die?
No, I say we bring in a strike force, take out Hamas instead of bombing women and children, and just sporadically throwing bombs in there, which Israel likes to do, and we fund them doing that with our
How do you just
taxpayer dollars.
take out Hamas with razor precision? They
I'm not
literally
saying
live
raise-
amongst the population. They literally are embedded in every single part of the governance and life of Hamas. Is not just a terrorist org. They were the government. They were the administrator of the Gaza Strip.
And they were voted in, unfortunately, and other people are stuck being entrenched in poverty, crime, and they're being killed by their own government, which they voted for, which I highly doubt they'd vote for them again willingly. The whole point I'm trying to make here is Israel, which we fund taxpayers' dollars to them. They're just a blanket of rockets and missiles at them. They throw down these pamphlets to the Palestinian people saying, hey, we're going to be bombing you in 15 hours. You need to leave. They can't just up and leave their lives like that. Some of them, unfortunately, can't do it in time, so they're bombed and killed. I think it's much better we send in a task force because Israel claims to have some of the best intelligence and military of the whole entire world. So I think it's fair to say that they can bring in strike forces to precision.
Sure, I understand. Okay, hold on, one issue at a
forces
time.
to take out these terrorists instead of bombing women and children. I think we can agree a strike force would be much more efficient for not bombing and
No,
killing
I
women
think
and
that's a
children.
fantasy. I don't think it's possible.
It's
never been demonstrated before.
You think missiles are better than a strike force to protect women
I think
and
that
children?
Hamas is enough in number and that it's sufficiently difficult to penetrate and figure out like what you need to do. Like there were some strike
They're
forces.
tinier than ISIS. What do you mean?
Yeah, but they're in just the Gaza Strip. It's a very small region. They're a lot more embedded in the population than ISIS was, across Iraq and Syria.
Well, it's not like we're invading Iraq or Iran where the mountains are a big struggle for us. Palestine and Gaza are basically a flat desert now because of how much they've bombed them. Have you seen the before and after pictures?
Yes.
So what's the problem? It's an open area. There's no defense where they're going to be stuck like we're fighting in
defense
Japan.
is that they live amongst the civilians.
Again, so bombing them is easier?
Well, it's easier, yeah. I'm just saying that the fantasy that we can just send a task force in and get rid of Hamas doesn't make any sense. I don't think that would have ever been a possibility.
How is it not a possibility?
Because it's a fantasy. What does that even mean?
How is that not a possibility?
Because you can't. There's
Why
no.
can't you?
Because there aren't superheroes in real life where 10 superhero guys go in and defeat 100 bad guys and then come back out and they're fine. The few times there were
What do you mean?
targeted
We
strike
did in
force
Venezuela.
operations.
We dropped in Venezuela, and how many U.S. soldiers were dead? How many U.S. soldiers were
it's
dead
a-
when we dropped in
it's-
Venezuela? We
that's a-
dropped in their capital, literally kidnapped their president. and we
Compare
did
the
not have a
size
single
of
US soldier dead.
Venezuela to the Gaza Strip, number one. Number two, that was only removing
You
a
just
single.
said Gaza was small, so is Venezuela. We propped in there like it was nothing. It was a Call of
Venezuela
Duty.
is
It
a
was done.
is a country. The Gaza Strip
So it's
is
bigger than Gaza.
Yes.
So we invaded a country that's bigger than Gaza, and we had no deaths. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, but when I say how small or big it is, I'm talking about the population density. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like Maduro was living in a skyscraper with 10,000 other civilians right next to him. And for Maduro, that was a single target that, because Venezuela is operating as a kind of a real country, when you take out the leader like that, it kind of does a lot to them. Whereas for Hamas, I'm pretty sure most of their leadership was over in Qatar anyway.
Yeah. The leaders are cowards. They take all these billions of dollars and they don't even live in the same country that they claim to support.
Regardless of feelings on how Israel persecuted that war, Biden did offer some restraint to them. Trump has offered none. Do you agree with that or no?
Restraint to who?
Biden offered restraint to Israel, and Trump has given no restraint. He said they can basically do whatever they want.
No, because remember on live television he said he cussed about Israel with what they're doing because they weren't listening to him.
He goes on. He does angry truths, but in practice, nothing happens.
I mean, again, yes, but again, you can't.
Biden told when Netanyahu wanted to do their first big push into Rafah, Biden said you have to wait a week and you need to evacuate all 1 million civilians. Trump wouldn't have made that same call. Trump has never told Israel not to do it, but they've gotten free reign to do basically whatever they want in Syria and Lebanon, bombing Beirut, bombing anybody in the Gaza
Do
Strip.
they need our permission?
I think probably.
You think probably?
If the U.S. is
possibly,
not,
maybe?
if the U.S. is not going to cooperate with you or is going to punish you or chastise you for doing something, I think you're probably less likely to do it if you're Israel.
I find that funny because I think just like a couple weeks ago, we actually bombed first, and Israel was upset that we didn't tell them. Israel keeps contacting Marco Rubio and our government saying, "What's going on? What are you guys doing? You guys are bombing first." They are being left out of the loop, so it seems
what?
like
Bombing
the
first?
intelligence of what we're doing in our war with Iran here. They're being left virtually out of the loop in some scenarios, and they're upset with that.
I thought that whole
Netanyahu's
first huge attack was coordinated between Israel and the United
The
States.
first huge attack, yes,
Yeah.
but this whole intel, they're being left out of our own intel, and they're complaining that they're not being involved, meaning that we're not actually maybe as close as you thought when it comes to this conflict, and that it's not a decision for Israel to make in accordance with us. That
No,
they
I
need our
can
permission.
agree that Israel's probably being left out on a lot of these talks.
I'm glad you could.
But I don't think that that's because of a deliberate policy choice that Trump is making to exclude Israelis from the conversation. I think
They
it's
just forgot.
they're incompetent.
You think they just are just so stupid that they're not going to coordinate with Israel?
the same
have.
the
What do you mean?
same
They
administration
did.
that hold on
You
the same
admit yourself they
administration and
did.
leadership the same administration and leadership that couldn't have fathomed that Iran would start bombing the Strait of Hormuz and would start cutting off supply of oil to the world. Yeah, I do think they're that stupid. Do you disagree?
I don't think it's stupidity or and lack of brain cells. I think it's because they continue to bomb with Israel here, attacking Iran. I think there's no way to gauge exactly what they're going to do because they're looking at them less of a threat than they actually are. Because this war shouldn't have happened in the first place. I hope we can both agree with that.
That Trump has been driving us towards for 10 years, right?
It's really,
Yes.
really. I think every U.S. president we've had in the past couple decades has been driving us to war with Iran. They've actually programmed us to want war in the Middle East, according with even Bush, for
Israel
example.
was
they had
super
campaigns about this.
That's fine. Israel was super ass-pained when Obama signed that nuclear deal with Iran. It was one of the biggest betrayals that Israel felt when it came to U.S. presidents. So to look at an action like that from Obama and then compare that to Trump, who's literally on his knees, shipping around the embassy, like championing the Abraham Accords, like capitulating to Israel in every single possible way. Like, I just don't see I think
That's
there's no
more
way.
about solving peace in the Middle East. Like I said before, Bibi Netanyahu, the wonderful leader, our current president, Bibi Netanyahu, he was going since the 90s to Congress, mentioning the Middle East. And every time you mention the Middle East, because he said, we got to take out Afghanistan and Syria, these are big targets, he said, Iran. Iran is the big king of it all. He mentioned Iran since the beginning of the 90s. So this isn't just a new thing. Trump's all about the Iran war.
Yeah.
This has been a campaign since the 90s under every single U.S. president we've had since the 90s.
But Obama is not attacking Iran. Obama is signing a nuclear deal with them.
He was attacking
even
all the
when
other Middle Eastern countries.
even
It's not just
sure,
Iran.
That's fine.
Iran-
But we're talking about Iran. We're talking about Iran right now. And when
Who
even
funds
when
all of these? Who
even
funds
when
all of these?
even when Iran was attacking Israel, we didn't invade under Biden when there was that first huge missile attack or whatever that a bunch of people helped with intercepting. We didn't go and invade Iran afterwards.
When we bombed and did drone strikes in Afghanistan and invaded boots on the ground, when we did Iran, obviously just now, but all these Middle Eastern countries we've attacked, who funds all of these? Iran is the big king of all of this. They're funding all of these proxies, right? Right?
To some extent, yeah,
right,
through the
right.
Middle East.
So
yeah.
any proxy we're going after, which Obama did, Biden did to some extent, lesser than both, but we've all attacked the Middle East, which is all to hurt Iran and to diminish their power.
That's fine, but now you brought it to the whole Middle East. I wouldn't disagree with you there, but there are stages to conflict. We have
Right.
the regime change
This has been a build-up.
fight
This
that
has
we're
been a-
doing.
this has been a build-up
It's only
to
built
Iran.
up under Trump is the one that got it.
No. This has been since
So
the
what
90s.
what is the comparing action that Trump has taken in either his first or second term towards Iran that Biden or Obama did?
The only thing Trump did in his first term against Iran was stopping to give them, and it froze funding, right? Trump froze funding to Iran.
And
in
cut
his
out the
first
nuclear
administration
deal.
And cut off the nuclear deal. Other than that, Donald Trump did nothing to Iran. He did none of these strikes he's doing now. Like I said, this has been a build-up to Iran. All of these countries are basically, think of it as a
Well,
big
but
thing.
the big thing was
wait,
Iran
wait,
getting
wait,
nuclear
wait, wait.
weapons,
Let-
right?
let-
So why not
let me
cutting
get
up
to
that
my
deal?
point.
Does not that
Let me
put
get
us
to my
on a
point,
time?
please, Steven, let me get to my point. The whole idea was this is a build-up to Iran. Think of it as a company. Iran's at the very top. They own the company. They're trying to take this company down. They're trying to start the smaller base level of the company and build their way up. They've gone for Afghanistan. They've gone for Iraq. They've gone now going up to Iran. It's been a build-up to kick out Iran and take power in the Middle East because there's a huge economic impact on all of us if we have control there. So it's a build-up to Iran. We're now at the build-up, the very top of this. We're now physically striking Iran. And they're not going to stop until we get a successful regime change or they bomb the hell out of them where they stop. That's what it's going to be, and it's been a build-up. Just because Trump is president now, I think if Kamala was in at the same time, she absolutely would have done the same thing because this has been a build-up for decades.
If Democrats would have done the same thing, then why didn't Biden do it when Iran tried to bomb when they were shooting missiles and stuff at Israel?
Again, it was a build-up. They're taking.
No. Why didn't Biden go? You think Netanyahu probably wanted to,
They
right?
went after proxies at the same time. I'm
But
saying
the proxies are different. It's not. It's a proxy.
Positioning. It's been a build-up. Iran is now. Biden can't be now. If he was now, it would be him. If it wasn't.
But
Kamala, if it wasn't
why
Trump,
didn't Biden do it?
Because
when he was
it's
president?
now. It's a build-up.
but I'm asking,
Biden 4 years
why
ago isn't Biden
didn't he-
now.
why-
Biden 4 years ago isn't the plan of now. I'm saying
There's
it's
no,
been a
which was
build-up.
unfalsifiable.
How is it? They've been
Do you
building
think
up
that
since
if
the
it-
90s,
do you
right?
think
They've
that
been
if-
building up this war since the 90s?
Not really. No, I don't think so.
they have,
No, I don't really think so.
What do you mean? They started in the 90s.
Netanyahu begging since the 90s does not mean we've been building towards war since the 90s.
When did the Afghanistan war start?
The one we did after 9/11? I don't know. Was it 2003?
The early 90s, 2003, or the early 2000s, but the buildup of the war in the Middle East has been the start, verbalizing it in the 90s, pre-programming us to enter this war.
So you think it doesn't matter
started
who the
early
president is?
2000.
We're always going to be
Absolutely,
following.
absolutely. If Kamala was here, if Biden was here now, it would have been now. It doesn't matter. It's Trump, Pence, Rubio.
Do you think that if Trump was
Nick
if Trump
Fuentes?
would have won his second term, and it would have been Trump when Israel got bombed, do you think we would have attacked Iran then?
Not necessarily, because again, that would be Biden in office, right?
No, but I'm asking if it would have been Trump instead of Biden. Do you think he would have attacked them then?
No. This is a pre-programmed and full campaign that's been started since the 90s, going to now. Like
What
I-
piece of
my-
what,
wait,
could-
wait,
what-
wait,
what piece of evidence could possibly persuade you out of this position?
It's not a persuasion. You can't persuade me out of it. I'm telling you, this is what it is. Destiny.
Why did Obama
Destiny,
sign?
it's
Wait,
from
why
the
did Obama?
90s
Why
to
did Obama
now.
make the JCPOA if this was been the plan the whole
what?
time? The Iranian nuclear deal to make it so that they had to let in inspectors so that they weren't pursuing a nuclear weapons program. Why would Obama make this deal if it wasn't? If this was like all the plan?
Because they want to put Iran on the map, give them an idea, and again, programming us to even think about this, give it to them, take it away. So that starts off with a negative. We're slowly building up to it. That's why I'm telling you, it could be Fuentes, it could be you if you're president, it could be me. If we were president in this term, it would be happening.
So even
now.
when we're trying to thaw relations with Iran, we're really just thawing them to bring them to a higher level
We're not-
of
you think
salience to the American
you
public.
think we're thawing them right now?
No, I don't. But
That's-
under Obama, I think we were. I think that's why
Because it
Israel's
wasn't
so upset.
time yet. It wasn't time yet. That's what I'm saying. It was a slow buildup. We take out
So
the
it's an
proxies.
unfalsifiable position. Of
No, it
course we're
isn't.
fighting the proxies. The proxies are fighting us. Yeah, of course.
We've been fighting the proxies first. Who funds the proxies? Iran. So we're taking away from their money. We froze their money. So now they're putting money that they aren't
But
getting
then
from us
Obama
no more.
unfroze the money. But it seems like you're thinking they unfroze the money
no.
just to make us.
Trump froze the money. So Obama unfroze it. They're being funded. We're fighting the proxies. They're profiting. Trump freezes it. We're still fighting the proxies. Not receiving money from us. It's a slow buildup. Iran's struggling from this slightly economically. Now it's building up to the point where now they're attacking Israel. And now Iran is on the map. Iran is the target. That is now. Iran is the target. If Iran bombed Israel, if October 7th happened, I guarantee you, like I said before, Kamala would be in there just as bad as Trump, maybe even worse.
Okay. But I have 4 years of Biden to show that there were no direct attacks on Iran when Biden was in office, and I don't
It
think
was a
that.
buildup. It's a slow buildup. We can't just hop on the war train. It's got to be a campaign just like Bush did. It was a campaign to start the war. It was a campaign to get
We
us
hopped on the
involved.
war train. I feel like pretty soon for the 9/11 stuff. I feel like we were all ready to go.
There was a tragedy that joined us. There's no tragedy now. They have to build up to it. They can't just convince us with nothing. They got to convince us with tragedy.
I understand the perspective. It's just an unfalsifiable theory. And then even the times when Obama's thawing relations with Iran, apparently that's just part of the overall plan. So no matter what,
We
it's
just
gonna
got
be-
out of war. No one wants to hop back in that. No one wants to see their sons.
No one
and
wants to hop
daughters
into
go
it
back.
now, but Trump apparently wants to for
They're
reasons
building up
unknown.
to it, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay. I think we have to move on soon.
That's
Do you have
all
any
right.
final thoughts or words for us?
I appreciate what you guys are doing here. I appreciate you having me. I'm very privileged to speak to you, and this is a dream of mine, so I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thanks for the chat. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
I think Brian's going to come up after this one, too, okay?
Brian?
Yeah.
You want him to just come up?
My throat is
Okay.
dying.
Okay.
It's okay.
Gotcha. What are we talking about? The chapters. Yes. So
Okay. Which one?
the ASU chapter.
Okay.
So all the money that people are donating today goes to the ASU chapter, and that helps them to invest in their local elections.
Okay.
So QR code, audience, all the money that you're donating goes to the chapter.
Gotcha.
That's all I came up here to.
That's it.
Well, what am I supposed to say?
Why do you think the DNC tried to rob the election?
Oh,
No, I'm just
here
kidding.
we
I'm just
go.
kidding. Okay. All right.
Canceled.
Cool.
I gotta stay your ally of the year, so don't
Yeah,
do
we'll
this.
see
to me.
about that. Okay.
Oh, phoo.
They don't like to vote for him twice in a row. Okay.
They don't?
I don't actually know. Maybe
Oh,
they do.
fuck.
But okay.
And make an exception for me.
We'll see.
Okay. Thanks, guys. You said Brian's coming up?
Yeah. Do you want? Is he out here? What? All right. He can come up after this one then.
Hey, Steven, how are you going?
Hey, I'm going great. How are you going?
I'm going good.
Good. Hold the mic right up to your mouth.
Wait, what'd you say?
Hold the mic up to your
Okay,
mouth. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah.
I am
Even more.
Gotcha, like this.
Yeah, like 3 inches away.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you
Well,
gotta be close. Okay, go.
For the audience watching at home, I'm Jackson Heeb. I'm a 19-year-old political influencer. I'm a Turning Point member, college Republican member, all the little Republican clubs, and I have a lot of disagreements with Trump, so that's a little bit of a rough topic for me, but I have some other stuff that I'd be happy to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
So I guess my question for you is, as a Christian, do you believe that I should be advocating for policies that incorporate Christian morality?
To some extent, I think that there are. I think that your religion can inform your morality to some extent, and I think there is some morality that is okay to enforce on others. There are some crimes against humanity that are hold us like
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, there you go, yeah, that are so bad that we all kind of like agree to come together and say these things are not okay. I don't think there's like legitimate disagreement on both sides. So, for instance, when it comes to like stealing or when it comes to murder, the unjustified killing of somebody, right? Like these are things that we all agree there should be no carve-outs. These are just bad things. I think that there are things that are clearly outside of what should be legally mandated. So, for instance, like legally mandating that everybody be Christian or legally mandating that everybody has to go to church on Sunday. I think we probably both agree that
Yeah,
this
I
is not
definitely
okay.
wouldn't advocate for mandated belief, but
Yeah.
I guess one one of the areas that I see a lot of confusion is a lot of the time whenever I talk to people who are, I guess, more in favor of secular government, a big complaint arises where it's sort of like my belief is based off of I guess, a reality, while yours is based off of a fictitious religion. And as someone who sort of has an anti-realist backing, I kind of see it that these things are equivalent.
So-
I guess the better question is, where do you draw the line? Because obviously I wouldn't advocate for mandated belief. I think that goes against my religion. But where do you draw the line on what policies would be considered moral or immoral to advocate for based off of a religious predisposition?
I guess it would have to be ones. I guess my language is a little wishy-washy, but it would have to be ones where I feel like there isn't like legitimate disagreement on both sides. Are things that it's okay to advocate against, like to codify. So things like murder or stealing or arson or whatever. Things where I think there's like legitimate room for disagreement. I think that should probably be left to, I guess, individuals to decide. But we would probably have to move policy by policy to figure out exactly. What I guess I would think
Well,
about.
I
Yeah.
guess
Do you want to
though
bring up a couple like examples or whatever? We can kind of talk through them.
More so just based off of like the vague construct of it. Because I think if you look at a population like America, where currently I believe around 60% of the population is Christian, I do believe that it's worth taking into account these sort of Christian morality basis. So for good examples, abortion. I believe that if most Americans who are Christian believe in this scenario, it seems as though they don't. But hypothetically, if they did mostly believe in abortion restriction, I think it would make sense and be ethically sound for them to implement that restriction.
Still closer.
Still? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's if you can
Oh,
see
I
like
do?
where my
Oh, I
mouth is for this,
apologize,
I'm
yeah.
like right up to this.
I'll kiss
but-
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I feel like abortion is probably the hairiest of all the issues, but I still feel like abortion is an issue where I think there are legitimate disagreements on both sides to this, like up to a certain point. So I feel like that's one that's best left. If a Christian feels like it's an unethical thing to do, then a Christian shouldn't have an abortion. But I don't know if I think that that's a legitimate thing to mandate to other people, just because I think it can be. I think there are legitimate arguments on both sides of this, and the costs are quite high if you quote unquote get it wrong. So I feel like it's up to an individual to figure this out. Where if you get it wrong on the pro-choice side, I guess you're murdering a baby. If you get it wrong on the pro-life side, you're turning a woman into an incubator.
I guess you talk about the idea of like genuine arguments against it, and I see it as sort of like it's very hard to draw a line for like a genuine philosophical argument against something and for something when we don't really have a construct that we can reach to as like this is a first principle that builds our argument around it. So like a good example is, I mean, any belief is as arbitrary as another if we don't have any like concrete moral first principles we can all agree on. So I find it difficult to say like, okay, well, this is a good argument, this is a bad argument. It could be that if someone believes that the Bible dictates that through like divine command theory that a child shouldn't be aborted, or I guess, child's obviously intuition pump language, but a fetus shouldn't be aborted, it seems as though that would be a reasonable route for them to take.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand the perspectives of people who are, especially consulting scripture for figuring out what they think their morality should be. I don't think for abortion, I don't think scripture is going to help that much in terms of figuring out, one, if you even think abortion is legal or not, versus two, if you can enforce your will on other people in via government. I don't know if you would get that from Christianity so much. But I guess when I look broadly speaking at the American Liberal Project, like one of the reasons why this country's been so successful is because we can incorporate people of different religious or moral backgrounds into the country, and then we can broadly agree on some things that are just like need to be codified into some kind of law against them. And then those are the kind of these fundamental basic things that we all agree. But then when it comes to issues that are more kind of on the outside, so maybe like gay marriage, I know people have different positions on that, or abortion is probably like the hairiest of those, or maybe like veganism. Like these are things where people have arguments on both sides. I don't feel like that's an appropriate thing that you should command to other people via legislation. I guess I can understand you saying that if you're coming from a secular or an atheist background, how do you even begin to build that foundation up? I guess that's a more of a philosophy argument. But I mean, I would have my arguments for that, and I'm sure other people would have their arguments for that.
I guess I'd be open to having that conversation.
I mean, I guess in my world, I'm looking at a lot of kind of like human intuitions. I think there are things that we kind of automatically agree are good or bad. So like cutting somebody's head off, or torturing somebody, or starving somebody, or depriving somebody of water. Like these are things that produce like really horrible bad feelings in the body. So they're like some very basic things that we can say we probably shouldn't be able to do these to other people without their participation or and consent with these particular things. And then once you become more and more abstracted from those things, you get away from like the legislative criminal territory and more in kind of like into the cultural territory. So like lying or cheating on a partner, these are things that a lot of people agree are bad, but not like so bad that it should be like illegal to tell a lie to your parents or something like that, or should be illegal to lie to somebody.
Okay, I guess one of the areas where because I can agree, and like obviously policy should be made like normatively, right? But in that area though, we can say like, okay, if we're talking about like normative policy decision making, if most of the people in America are Christian, then doesn't it feel as though like under normative policy making that should be just by virtue of being a blanket majority where a large amount of our policy comes from?
No, because we have to do an interesting thing in the U.S. where we have to balance both, like what the population wants, but also protect kind of minority opinion. Like we wouldn't say that every time the population hits like 51% of something, if it was like 49% black people and 51% white people, that the 51% people should be able to vote away all the rights of the 49%, right? We have some basic protections for some sort of rights here that the majority can't simply attack or vote away without a substantial change to our laws or our constitution.
Yeah, but I guess you wouldn't call it immoral to push for those policies just because there's only a 51% chance, though, or a 51% belief rate, right? It seems to me as though like the Christian belief policies are just as equally unsubstantiable as any other belief policy. Because for me, at least, I see it that no real foundational reality can be adequately proven greater than another.
I think that for what you're saying, I think it would probably come down to your personal feelings on the fact of the matter about some of these things. So, like for abortion, I strongly feel like there is a fact of the matter that can be debated on, and I think there are obviously I'm on the pro-choice side, so I feel like the arguments are stronger on that side. And the idea that somebody could legislate or dictate away that to just because a majority of people are Christians, I don't think that makes for a good liberal cohesive society. I think if we were more like a theocratic society or something, I think you can make that argument. But I think in a society that doesn't like declare for a particular religion, I don't think religious people should be able to enforce their morality so strongly on people that even on contentious issues they get to have the final say and they can dictate another person's life to them like that.
So I guess I feel as if we do this all the time with different issues. You know, as you were talking about before, how a lot of our morality comes from our base, I guess, assume normative first principles. I think that for the majority of Christians, Christianity would apply to being one of those. A lot of them have a sort of, unsubstantiated but very true feeling of faith, and through that they exercise their beliefs on abortion. I guess I could say I feel as though all the time we try to push for beliefs that most people don't have. Or I mean, not most people don't have, but that we sort of have through an unsubstantiated means. So I guess I have a hard time drawing the line between, like, for example, legislating abortion versus legislating murder, since it seems as though these are both drawn through first principles. Christianity is just another first principle for many Christians.
I guess I would have a hard time, like, aside from abortion, like, what are other laws, criminal laws that we have on the books that we feel like are not able to be secularly arrived at or arrived at through, like, a multitude of different religious beliefs?
I mean, I would argue that any other law or anything other than Christianity is just ethical emotivism. So I say we can't really substantiate those accurately. But a good example would be like gay marriage laws, for example. I'm personally split on the issue due to the scripture, but for me at least, I find that's a really good example of like an area where people who are of some sense of Christianity could legislate and some sense could not.
Yeah, but so I'm trying to find out, besides like abortion, like, is there some law where it's like we've got a law that if you weren't religious, because despite the fact that the majority of the country is religious and has been religious, I feel like most of our laws are almost all of our criminal laws that I can think of are things that secular people could easily arrive at as well. That, like, I don't know if there's two sides to the, arson, or two sides to murder, or two sides to stealing.
I mean, I would say it's equally arbitrary as any other policy. I don't see a logical way in which you can arrive at it with no true first principles. Because if at the foundation of your reality is all just kind of like felt out, this feels wrong, this feels bad, then how can we truly say, okay, well, this is, I guess, a more arrivable or less arrivable conclusion? I see that the policy to allow for murder or not allow for murder are equally arbitrary.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to argue against your position because to restate your argument, if you're coming at it from a Christian perspective, in your world, you think that there are a set of moral principles, and these emerge from Scripture, basically, and that these are the particular things that you advocate for that are right or wrong. So when you look at things like murder or stealing, like, you've got a foundation from which you say that stealing is wrong, murder is wrong. Maybe you feel like arguments about abortion come from Scripture as well, so you would argue for those things as well. But every single policy position you argue from is coming eventually, or ultimately is rooted in some kind of Scripture argument. Whereas for other people in society, they have to have things that are rooted in their own worldview that they're pushing for, but there's no reason why when I say something like abortion is a contentious topic, and then your response to that is, well, you can say abortion is contentious, but in my world, you've got a first principles derivation for all of your policy positions ultimately, so abortion is going to be just as contentious as murder could be, which is just as contentious as rape or arson or anything else, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it all is like a first principles argument, basically, right?
More so, their contention is equally valid.
Yeah.
Because I can say, like,
that's what I mean, yeah.
It's very easy to say, like, okay, well, obviously murder's wrong and obviously abortion's really contentious, but I find that really hard to say when, to me, they're both equally very contentious. Because the first principles for everyone are all equally arbitrary. It's very easy to say, and I was an atheist most of my life, it's very easy to say, like, okay, well, Christianity is very arbitrary, but my belief that murder is wrong is not. I see it as though, as a universal anti-realist, that all of our first principles are inherently, in some ways, arbitrary.
Sure, I understand what you're saying there. I can't. I don't know how I can argue that from your perspective, though. From my perspective, I would obviously, as an atheist, I don't believe in any kind of God. I mean, I would look at the collection of all the different moral systems that people have invented, will invent, and you say that like some moral positions are going to be arbitrary. Perhaps like the formal, the formal declaration of those systems, like how we actually say it or something. I mean, maybe you can, like how we logically justify it. Maybe I don't know, but like. I would say that if you have like a collection of biological beings and all of these people are coming from more or less the same fundamental biological, conditions, that like it's not a coincidence that if you take 1 million people, like almost all of them are going to hate starving to death. Like that's not a coincidence, right? And if you take all of these people, it's not going to be a coincidence that all of them seem to favor societies where they can trust their neighbor and they don't steal from their neighbor, or they don't kill their children, or they don't eat, their grandparents or whatever, right? So we can say that from a written perspective, the logical justification of one thing might be arbitrary or not arbitrary, but I don't think the fact that so many different people have kind of agreed on certain moral principles, I would say that intuitively all of these kind of emerge from humans in a pretty predictable way because of our biological foundation. Now, you would say you would have a different argument in how you would approach this from Scripture, but like how you would approach it from Scripture, I would just incorporate into my broader kind of intuitive argument, but you wouldn't obviously agree with that, I understand, so I don't know how to break through
I guess
on
it's
that.
somewhat of an impasse, yeah.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Go for it.
So obviously I have a lot of disagreements with Trump's rhetorical stances. Do you think there's any way to turn down the heat in America, and if so, how?
Well, Trump could do it.
Well, I'm saying post-Trump, what do you think what's the right way for, assuming we get a Democrat in 28 or possibly a Republican in 28, what is the right way to move forward from that?
This is a really rough one that, I've been debating a lot with other people on the left. But like, and it sounds more aggressive initially, but I think the problem is on the Republican side, the Republicans feel like there's never any kind of payback for any of the unhinged things that they do in office. So when Republicans, I can think of 3 huge examples off the top of my head. When the immunity ruling came down for Trump, there wasn't a single Republican, despite how much they talk about how dangerous Democrats are, nobody was really scared about Biden doing crazy stuff with criminal immunity. Whereas for Trump, I think a lot of people were genuinely afraid of what Trump would do because of how much he stretches executive action. When you look at, and then for 2 other examples, there are 2 things that Republicans have been a little bit reluctant to push really far on. One is like Supreme Court packing, and then the other is destroying the filibuster. But I think the reason why is because, one, they already own the Supreme Court, right? 6-3 for who knows how long. So they don't have much to gain there. But if they were to engage in any kind of court packing behavior, they know the Democrats would do it, and then it would be over. And then when it comes to eliminating the filibuster, since Democrats seem to like passing legislation more than Republicans do, if they were to get rid of the filibuster, they know they would have huge repercussions for that in the future. But like on every other area, it seems like Democrats are either unable or unwilling, sometimes to their credit, sometimes to their detriment, to push as far as Trump has. And so Republicans just are shameless when it comes to telling lies to the media, when it comes to just flagrant abuses of the presidential powers, when it just in all of these different ways. I mean, we can run down from one policy to the next. It feels like Republicans are just, they're fearless. They feel like they can do whatever crazy stuff they want, and there's never going to be any kind of repercussion for any of the stuff they do. Yeah?
I guess for me at least, and a lot of this I do believe is caused by failures of the GOP, I see this pendulum building, where, obviously Trump does a lot of stuff that I disagree with, and then in retaliation, the left does a lot of crazy stuff, and then in retaliation, we get a crazier Republican, crazier leftist. Do you think that it would be, I guess I sort of see the idea where it's, pushed to the levels that they're pushing, but I feel as though that starts a death spiral into the actual death of our democracy.
So people say this a lot, but I don't agree. I think the death spiral is doing nothing. Because I think that if the other side felt like, well, if we do some crazy stuff, they're going to do it as well, then they just wouldn't do the crazy stuff, and I think it all stops. But I think right now the reason why the Republicans are so fearless is because they feel like the next Democrat that comes in office isn't going to do much. And I would point to, as much as I thought his president was a success on a lot of different levels, Biden was like an incredibly tame president that allowed for so much unhinged Republican behavior, and Democrats got absolutely no credit for it. Like, there would be no special counsel investigating Donald Trump in Donald Trump's presidency. Whereas under Biden, how many different investigations, they investigated him. There was the whole Her report related to the documents. There was endless investigations into Hunter Biden. Merrick Garland took 2 years to appoint, Jack Smith. Like, these are things that Democrats did, that Biden and Garland did, to be seen as good stewards of democracy and to not be politically partisan, but we got absolutely no credit for it. And then Trump comes in and starts fabricating indictments and failing to get indictments from grand juries because he's so hungry to go after his political opponents. What was the point there in Democrats being nice?
Yeah, I can see the alternative there, but I think a lot of that is a uniquely Trump problem. Trump obviously has this really powerful constituency behind him that loves him and worships him in a way. I think in a lot of ways, if you had a Democrat in who was tame, was normal, and especially after the current regime we're seeing that is very intense, and I mean, you've seen the polls, it's turning off a lot of Republican voters. I supported Trump going into 24. I currently don't. I feel as though people like me, if we saw a Democrat get into office who was more by the books, more tame, and didn't carry those same problems, that would build so much trust and political capital in the DNC that the GOP would just purely lose out on. I really think that carrying it on is going to damage it far more in the long run, and I think it is a Trump-unique problem.
I disagree. I feel like we've been heading in this direction for decades. I think it's a mistake to assume that Trump was a random accident in the Republican Party, rather than this is kind of the thing that Republicans have been building towards for a long time. I think Republicans have had questionable relationships with fact and truth. I think that Republicans have spent a long time undermining, outwardly, they would undermine a lot of the institutions, although inwardly they would still kind of engage with them. So like higher education has been under attack by Republicans forever, but most of these guys, went to Yale or sent their kids to Ivy League schools. But now it's gotten to the point to where the voter base doesn't realize that they were kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth, and now they support the undermining of all these institutions. Like I feel like Republicans have just been moving us in this direction over and over and over and over and over again. And then to say that like Trump was just a random accident, like when I look at Trump, like I can easily think back to like QAnon and everything, and as crazy as all the Q people were, like I can think back to like the Tea Party people, and I feel like you can draw lines from all of these different movements leading from A to B to C to D to now we have Trump. So I just don't. I feel like it's not. I feel like it's not an accident. Do you think that Trump could have easily occurred on either side, or?
That's very hard for me to say.
Sure.
I mean, whenever in 2016, I think I was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard because I really can't speak on like past Republican, I guess, campaigns before that. It's one of my lower areas of education. But I guess for me at least, like, what do you think would happen if in 2028 you guys get a harder left candidate who implements really strong left policies, does abuse the system more so in a way that is similar to Trump? Do you see it that I guess that would be 32. I mean, what do you think the outcome would be from that?
I mean, I don't want him to abuse the same in the way that Trump has in order to like do new stuff. Like I think we should adhere to the system. I just think we need to find a way to hold the current administration accountable in order to make it so I don't know, they're either not allowed to run for office again or some kind of criminal stuff gets done related to what they're doing. But I think the issue right now is that because there have been no consequences for anything, like most Americans don't even have negative associations with some of the things that have happened. Like I think like 75 or 80% of the Republican Party right now believes that the 2020 election was rigged, and I think that's largely because there was just no strong response to any of these claims. Or a lot of people think that Hunter Biden was cutting checks to his dad when he was vice president. Or like all of these things are things that have gone largely unchecked by the Democratic Party, and by trying to be the bigger man and move on, like I think Biden tried to be the bigger man and move on, he was still cast as this like evil figure by conservatives. It didn't seem like it did anything. It didn't seem like it helped at all.
I guess for me, the part where I have a problem with is you talk about like, finding a way to punish them. And obviously if, we have the immunity ruling, and if these are federal crimes, they would be if they were committed, I don't know all of the accusations, but assuming these are federal crimes, assuming they would be pardoned out and there would be the immunity ruling, how could it be done legally and ethically that we could get any real recourse from this administration, assuming they do what you allege?
I mean, if you decide you want to do it legally, you can kind of do anything if you're willing to be creative with the law. Like we already saw Republicans do that. Like the reason why they were trying to make this auto pen argument with Biden was to invalidate all
I guess
of his
though, like,
pardons, right?
Can you do like, is it wrong just because Republicans are doing it, or is it just wrong? Because for me, like, I'm a deontologist. I believe that if something is wrong, it's wrong from both sides or both angles. It feels unfortunate to me that as a conservative, we look at the bad things that our party has done in some ways, and then people's response is we need to match this, or if they're doing it, we have to do it too. It feels like a short-sighted thing, because then obviously you're building the culture, and policy is downstream in many ways from culture. You're building a culture that bakes in this type of policy decision.
Well, I mean, I think fundamentally actions are different when they're done spontaneously or for a selfish purpose versus when they're done in response to another thing, right? Like if somebody, if I walk up to you to punch you in the face and then you punch me in the face before I punch you in the face, we're not really doing the same thing, right? Like if you're doing something in response to what I'm doing versus me just doing it spontaneously. So
See, I would argue though, unless it's for defense of yourself, I'd argue it's still immoral.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You would punch me as a defensive thing, not because you just want to.
But in this case, though, they're out of office. It wouldn't be defensive.
Well, I think it would be defensive, such that you'd be establishing a record to let people know, like, this is a thing that won't be tolerated in the future, and then it sets the behavior in the future. Because I don't think Republicans would be acting the way they are now if they thought there was some kind of electoral or criminal consequences for them down the road. Like, I think they're only acting the way they are now is because they think that they're going to be completely they're not going to be held accountable for literally anything that happens. I think that's the default operating
I'm
thing.
seeing a way different culture be created by this hypothetical. It feels to me as though we're creating a culture where everyone who gets into office bends the law, uses it to their will to punish the previous oppositional party until eventually we arrive at like an actual crazy takeover.
Well, so here's the question: did 4 years under Biden help or hurt put us back on track? And do you think that Biden was an aggressive, attacking, hateful president?
It's hard to say. I mean, obviously,
Wait, well, one at a time. Do you think that was Biden about as nice as you could be in terms of a president? Like, he allowed himself and his son to be investigated. There was a special counsel report for her that was made about his own.
I think Biden's temperament was far better than Donald Trump's. Absolutely.
Sure.
And I guess you look at it though, and you look at the results. If you look at how inflamed people were on January 6th and how intensely people felt about Donald Trump at the time, I think actually if you evaluate that compared to 2024, it has mellowed out. I think the results of it actually was a de-escalation. I think that if Biden got in, Biden was intense, Biden was vitriolic.
Oh, sure.
And
So
then
to some
Trump got
extent-
in and he was doing these
Yeah.
indictments, we would say, heck yeah, and then we'd see what would happen in 28. It seems like
some
a crazy
extent-
escalation cycle.
To some extent, I agree with you, but I think that de-escalation is a little bit of a part of the problem. In that, how could Trump win that election again? It seems like that would be a failure on Biden's part.
But I guess with all of this incumbency advantage, the pendulum has to swing back. And so
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think we're
de-escalation
going to
is the greatest
survive.
part, 'cause I
We're
think
not
we
going to
have to de-escalate.
survive a lot of these pendulum swings. I don't know if we'll survive the next 3 years.
Exactly. I think that's why. If
But
we
then- but
have
then my
somebody get in
question
office,
is-
they have to turn on the temperature. It's
But
so
we
important.
got Trump 2 after Biden. So if we put in Biden 2 after Trump 2, why would we not just get Trump 3? Why would we not get a continuation of that kind of thing? Not actually Biden, but in a similar person to Biden.
I think the way that we get Trump 3, or what people see as Trump, I think Trump is not a great candidate, but I think he's in some ways overhated by some people. I think the way that we get the true candidate who is an absolute evil conservative is if we get a candidate in office in 28 who people vote in thinking they're going to turn down the temperature, and then they turn the heat up insanely, because that's how the pendulum goes.
But
You
Biden
see-
turned the heat down, didn't he?
Biden turned the heat down, and I think that led to a more mellow Trump 24 than we would have had if Trump
You
won in
think the Trump
2020.
24 right now is mellow?
Way more mellow than 2020? I mean, you believe it was an insurrection.
Yeah, of course.
Do you believe what Trump's doing right now is comparable to what you believe was an insurrection on January 6th?
I think he's done things that are way worse than that by this point already. I think the SAVE Act would be an example of that. I think that him calling for executions of sitting congressmen, I think is an example of that. I think that multiple unilateral wars and invasion, I think it might be worse than that. The tariffs against the entire planet, the attacking the institutions of the courts over and over again, saying that they don't care about the Supreme Court rulings.
I guess to avoid going down a bit of a rabbit hole, I think it's easy to look at it and say that in 2020 you had people willing to break into the Capitol, people who truly thought the election was stolen, and now we have people who in many ways are misled on what's actually happening in the government. I disagree with a couple of the claims made there, but just for the sake of expediency, I really do believe that Biden's efforts of cooling it down actually worked in some ways. And I think that if we turn up the temperature, that's how you see an actual totalitarian regime.
I
That's
just
how
don't
you see a
understand how
true
we can
takeover.
say if we felt like 2020 was an insurrection, which I do, and then we had 4 years of Biden, and then the guy who tried to insurrect the government gets into office again. I just don't understand how that's at all a victory on the Democratic
Well, it's only
side.
a victory because most people didn't believe it was an insurrection.
Yeah, but I think that's because Biden was so soft on it.
Well, maybe you can argue on that specific policy, but in terms of overall, you're talking about bending the law to get punishment for people who are currently legally inadmissible. I think if you're looking at it, I can clearly see a trend building up here. And I feel like, especially if you're arguing, Trump needs to turn down the temperature, that's important. Assuming that people are going to get in office immediately after and dial it up, it feels hypocritical.
Sure. Okay. Let me final question. Or I'm going to ask a final question.
course,
You can
yeah.
respond. So my issue is just that we had Trump 1. First of all, we had 8 years of Obama, who I think was the chillest person for both sides, even though Republicans found a way to get mad at him. Then we got Trump 1, which after Obama I thought was kind of crazy. And then after Trump, we got Biden, who was insanely chill, allowed multiple investigations into himself, his own family, wasn't attacking Republicans, managed to pass a lot of joint legislation. Then we get Trump 2, who I think has been way more insane than Trump 1. So I don't know why we would try another chill. It seems like we had a chill. Who is the crazy person between Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and now we're on the second Trump term. Let's say that the next guy who comes into office is a Democrat, and let's say that he's super chill and passive and lets whatever happens happens. Why would I not expect an even crazier, another Trump-like candidate after that, when it seems like that would happen
I guess
under
for me,
Obama and Biden? Go, you can have this last.
I think that many people don't recognize temperament while it's in office. I think that a lot of people, they recognize the temperament of the previous administration when they have the next administration in with a less preferable temperament. So I think a lot of the reason why we got Biden is because people went from Obama to Trump. I think people had Trump and they look back to Obama, and they're so short-sighted that whenever they had Biden again, they didn't care for the temperament. I personally do care for the temperament. I think that right now many Americans are feeling that. I think Americans want to return back to that Biden-era temperament. And I think that if that is brought by the left, that will help you guys and help us in general by actually fixing this problem. Instead of inflaming it and continuing this big pendulum swing, I see it going disastrous for this nation.
But thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? What's your name?
Carson, what's yours?
Brian, nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you, Brian.
All right, Carson, I'm not as nice as Steven.
That's
He's
okay.
a really nice guy. I'm a little louder. Hope that's okay.
That's okay. I saw your story this morning wearing the Trump hat. You know, I figured I'd wear a seal that Kamala Harris would never wear, actually, to this today.
Well, I don't. Is that a cheap shot to Kamala? I don't understand.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. All right. You're a Trump supporter, right?
Yeah.
You
pro
happy
Trump.
with the Iran war? Is that a good thing?
No, I'm
Okay,
actually
good.
not. Yeah.
You happy with the president of the United States that says he's happy that somebody is dead? Mueller, who just passed away a few days ago, is a decorated Purple Heart recipient. Donald Trump, our president of the United States, goes on social media. And the reason why I'm raising my voice is because this really pisses me off. And I don't think there's anything funny about somebody who dies, who serves this country, and then the president of the United States goes on social media and says, quote, "I'm glad he's dead."
Well, Brian, would you show the grace to someone who wanted to prosecute you?
If somebody wanted,
Would you
by
have
the way,
the maturity to
sure,
do
I'll
that?
answer that. I'll answer that. So first of all, he wasn't prosecuted. There were no charges filed. There was an investigation. So you're categorically false on that.
So if someone investigated you, you would show the grace?
Number two,
Okay.
never in my life have I ever said, "I'm glad that person's dead." Okay? Now, I certainly didn't do that with Charlie Kirk. That was horrible what happened to him. And I'm just surprised that you can't just say, as a Trump supporter, "You know what, man? That was wrong." The president of the United States probably shouldn't say it's good that somebody's dead because he tried to convict me of a crime. We have a process in this country. You can disagree with it, but we have a process.
Okay, let's play this game. Do you think Hunter Biden's antics in the White House detrimented anybody else?
What
our
antics?
country?
He wasn't in the administration. It's a good pivot that you just did. I think it's insane that you Trump supporters, with all due respect, can't just say
Because I'm 15 IQ, right?
it does. I never said you had a 15 IQ. Don't put
You
words
said
in my
Trump
mouth.
supporters
You're-
this morning
yes,
with the hat on.
I did.
All Trump supporters have
No.
15 IQ.
No, I never said that, and you're lying.
Let's
See-
roll the tape.
Okay, yeah, let's roll the tape. So this is important, everybody. Everybody watching right now, this is what so many people like this young man does. He misquotes people. Here's
Brian
what
likes to stereotype as well.
Here's what I did say. Do you want to listen? Get the MAGA wax out of your ears and pay attention, okay? Because I will teach you.
I have
how
a
to
little
listen.
less wax
Okay,
than you do in
okay,
your ears.
Okay,
I
but
can see
have
it from here.
But I have a higher IQ, and I don't lie like you just did. What I did say.
Because I have 15 IQ,
what
right?
What I did say was that his base of supporters, I believe, are ill-informed and uneducated, like you. And I will tell you why I say that.
I've known
okay?
you for 2 seconds. How do you know I'm ill-informed and dumb?
Okay, well, first of all, you've already said things about me and misquoted things about me that I didn't say. You're off to a really bad start. Number two, it's called compassion, which I'm not sure you have. Just because your excuse is the president of the United States says, "I'm glad somebody's dead," and your retort to that is, "Well, he tried to prosecute him." So because every prosecutor out there tries to prosecute people, and if you don't like it, you think it's okay to be glad that somebody's dead?
I mean, you're
That's
lecturing me on
absurd.
compassion when
Yeah.
all you're doing is attacking my character when I don't
You're
even
not
know
dead.
you.
You're
when
not
I don't
dead.
even know you.
Well, let me be very clear on this.
Okay.
Anybody out there that thinks it's okay, and I'm going to make a big generalization, anybody out there that thinks it's okay
We're gonna assume.
for the president of the United States, like you, to think it's okay to say, "I'm glad he's dead," and instead of your response being, "You know what? That's wrong," just like I would say, anybody who mocked Charlie Kirk's death, anybody who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, it's despicable. It's wrong. But here's the difference. These are idiots.
about the team
hold
you
on,
associate
hold on,
yourself
hold
with?
on, hold on. Let me answer, and then I'll.
like to flip off
Let me
signs of
answer.
him.
I didn't flip off anybody.
I didn't say you did.
Okay, so be quiet and let me finish and stop interrupting me, okay? Anybody who did that, anybody who mocked Charlie Kirk's
So
death,
disavow your team right now.
are you going to
They're
let
here.
me? Are you going to let
Disavow
me finish?
your team right now.
Are you going to let me
They're
finish?
right here.
I'll answer your question if you stop interrupting me and being rude. Okay? Thank you. And then
you
I'll
talk a
answer.
lot.
And then I'll answer. Well, because everything you say is wrong. So anybody who mocked Charlie Kirk's death, even though these are people on social media, a lot of idiots with like 10 followers, they're wrong. And I called that out. Just like I would call out Donald Trump for saying, "I'm glad he's dead." You're not capable of doing that. Also, in front of Jack Posobiec today, I said that was wrong. Flipping off his sign was wrong. And guess what? Here's the difference between people like us and people like you. The person who did that admitted it and took it down.
Let's not spit, Brian. Let's not spit on the table.
So now I ask you again, is it wrong for the president, and I've answered all of your questions directly, is it wrong for the President of the United States to say he's glad that Robert Mueller is dead? Yes or no?
Wow, I finally get a chance to answer. Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's wrong. Same with Rob Reiner. I think as a Christian, you have to disavow that with 100% authority. Thank you for letting me answer.
So why couldn't you just say that to begin with, and why did you pivot?
Because you kind of threw me into a little box there because you like to preface what I was going to say, and you just kept talking and talking.
If you had just said that from the beginning, I would have said thank you, I appreciate that, and we would have moved on. Instead, you
I highly doubt that because you just keep talking
Instead,
and talking.
you pivoted into something else. Thank you for answering that question. Now, you made a statement about Kamala. Do you want to ask me something about Kamala? Because I don't think this country would be down the shitter, which is what it's in right now, if Kamala had won. And I can give you multiple reasons why. But I'd like you to, ask me something if you think I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, do you think Kamala would even be in the war in Iran?
Absolutely not. First of all, Kamala didn't even want to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu.
She took millions of dollars from AIPAC.
I'm answering your question, right? Couple of things. First of all, Vladimir Putin plays Donald Trump like a puppet, just like Benjamin Netanyahu. If you think that's funny, tell me tell me why I'm wrong on this.
A puppet? Biden was a puppet.
Okay. Well, Biden
getting owned by Kamala.
So Biden's not the president right now, even though I'll still answer your questions about Biden. I'm focused on what's going on in this country right now, not what's happened in the past. Right now, gas prices are through the roof. He did not lower prices on day one when it comes to inflation. In fact, the only thing that's really lowered is eggs. Everything else is up. He said he would end the war within 24 hours. Did he not?
My cortisol is pretty low right now, so those are an all-time low. I would say the only thing that's an all-time high is your cortisol level right now because you're getting very angry at answering a question about Kamala Harris when
I'll
she
answer
lost.
anything. I'll answer anything. I'm sorry. It's called passion. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So Kamala did lose, and guess what she did? Something that the guy who you still support, the 34-count felon, liable sexual abuser, who's named thousands of times in the Epstein file.
Allegedly.
No, he was found liable for sexual abuse. That's not allegedly. He was found
Well, is he in prison
liable.
for it?
So he wasn't convicted criminally, but that's not what I said. You need to pay
that's
attention.
pretty important.
Is he a liable sexual abuser? Yes or no?
No.
Well, then what's the point of even having this debate? The earth isn't flat. Donald Trump was found liable of sexual abuse in a court, okay? If you don't know that, that's not my fault. This is why I put you in the category of extremely ill-informed. How do you not know this? He was found liable in a court by a jury of his peers. This isn't an opinion, dude. This is a fact.
I mean, most Americans feel like me in this situation, getting ridiculed by Ivy League people who just have no idea what they're talking about with horrible style, by the way.
Okay, so first of all, you can do ad hominem attacks on my quote-unquote style. Trust me, I don't wake up in the morning and worry about what a 21-year-old mushroom gobbler thinks about my appearance, okay? So now let's get back to the actual
You worry
debate.
about your appearance
Okay.
because you wear a 47 hat and mock the President of the United States. So you
I didn't mock
clearly
the president.
care about yourself.
I didn't mock the president about his appearance. What I'm doing is I'm giving you facts. You just said Donald Trump is not a liable sexual abuser. Would you like to? I'll give you another opportunity to answer because this is not making you look good.
Well, my original question, you said you'd answer my question and you didn't because you just pivoted,
But
right? So let's get
Donald
back
Trump
to the
isn't
point.
a liable sexual abuser, though. He's not.
I don't. That's
You
not
don't
the
know.
question.
You
I
don't
was
know.
asking.
Okay. Go ahead. And ask the question.
Well, and he's not in prison, so I would
Didn't
say
say
no.
criminal. Liable doesn't mean criminally, but go ahead. Go ahead.
It was in a civil court.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
Was
And
it
I'm
in a
sorry
civil
you don't
court?
like my hat. It hurts my feelings.
Was it in a civil court?
He was found, I'll repeat it now for the 6th time, okay? He was found liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. 25 women have come forward.
I love how you lecture on compassion and then you degrade me at every answer. That's not compassion at all. For the
How did I
sixth
just
time.
degrade you
For
by
the
answer-
sixth time.
Well, yeah, because I've said it 6 times and you still don't understand what liable means. I never said he was found criminally negligent. I never said he was convicted. I never said he was going to jail.
Usually when you are liable of something, there's repercussions with it, right? What were
Yeah,
the repercussions
money.
with it?
Money. Are you unaware of all the money he
How
had to
much
pay her?
money was it? How much money?
Millions of dollars.
Oh, because it was a civil court. It wasn't a criminal case, right?
I never said it was criminal. This is why I keep repeating things to you. I never said it was criminal. I said liable. Liable, meaning he had to pay her a lot of money, just like he had to pay off the people for Trump University, that scam. There are 25 women that have come forward that have said Donald Trump has either sexually abused them or raped them, including his ex-wife in a deposition under oath. He's named more times in the Epstein files than Jesus Christ is named in the Bible. That's the guy that you support.
You know, I don't know how that answered my question of how Kamala would be a better leader.
Kamala would be a better leader because we would not be in Iran. Kamala would be a better leader because she would have lowered the tax bracket for middle-class families and those making under $400,000 a year. It was her policy of what she wanted to do.
Wasn't Biden supposed to do that already,
well,
though?
You asked me about Kamala. Are we going to talk about Kamala, or now you're going to go to Biden? By the way, as the vice president, you're not a policymaker. I'm also going to educate you on that. So going back to Kamala Harris, you asked me how would the country be better. You know why we wouldn't be at war in Iran? She didn't even want to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you know why? Because she knows how corrupt he is. But Donald Trump does everything that Netanyahu tells him to do. Now, you laughed at me when I said Vladimir Putin.
You are pretty funny.
You laughed at me. Well, thank you. I'm glad I can entertain you. You think I don't think war is funny, by the way, and I don't think when our soldiers.
No, I absolutely don't either, and
good.
I wasn't
I'm
saying
glad,
that, right?
I'm
it's
glad we
more
were
of
on
the
that.
character in front of
I
me,
know,
right?
But
yeah.
But I'm talking about a war, and you're just saying.
No,
you're
so
funny.
how many millions of dollars did Kamala take from APAC, right? You're saying she's not bought out by Israel at all, right?
So,
how much was it? Do you know the number?
When did I say she was not bought out by Israel?
You said she wouldn't go into the war in Iran, and she would be essentially alluding that she wouldn't support Israel.
So you asked me why you think the country would be in a better position if
it's $45 million, by the way.
Is that what you asked me?
It's $45 million.
So you want to talk about corruption? I'm glad you brought that up, my friend. I'm glad you brought that up.
$45 million
How much
Kamala
money,
Harris received from APAC. So you're
gotcha.
saying she wouldn't
talk about that.
You're saying she wouldn't talk to Netanyahu, but
Well,
clearly
she
she was able
it.
to take money from their PAC.
I'm not saying it. So if you care about corruption, which you claim you do, right, and you're claiming that Kamala basically stole $45 million, I'm wondering, how do you feel about Donald Trump making billions of dollars off of his crypto? Do you have a problem with that at all?
Well, Donald Trump took $200 million from APAC, so I'm not saying he's any less corrupt.
Who do you think
from
is more
getting
corrupt?
From a foreign
let's
lobby.
ask you. Who do you think has made more money and is more corrupt, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
Is corruption just tied with money, or can
Please
it
answer
be,
my
can it
question.
be unsolicited acts?
Please answer
because
my
Kamala
question.
Harris
Please
was
answer
a
my-
horrible, corrupt
Okay.
politician.
Yep.
By the way.
So Kamala is a horrible, corrupt politician.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yet the guy who accepts a $400 million jet from terrorists, the guy who has a
You're saying the whole country of Qatar is terrorists? That's pretty racist, Brian.
Okay, I'm not racist at all. In fact, the guy
That sounds pretty racist if you're saying he accepted it from terrorists.
You can make
terrorists have $400 billion?
Okay, so let me ask you. The government.
That's unbelievable.
The government that killed Khashoggi, okay, the government that we know killed Khashoggi, okay, gave Donald Trump a $400 million gift, a $5.5 billion resort. He has literally made billions of dollars off of this crypto scandal, which I'm not sure that you're aware of. But yet you want to call Kamala the person who
Big
was...
fan of Trump coin. Big fan of Trump coin.
I bet you are. You probably have his Trump Bibles too, right? Let
No,
me ask you a
absolutely
question.
not.
Does January 6th happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie?
You should buy a Bible.
Does January 6th happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election and say it's stolen? Because I could imagine you probably think he won the election too, right? Who won the 2020 election? Free and fair?
Joe Biden.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to hear you say free and fair. Is that fair to say?
Is every election free and fair? Answer that question.
Yes, I agree.
100%?
Every president.
No error rate.
I didn't say that. There's always going to be a small level of fraud in every election. I think we both could agree on that. But
how small does that tend to usually be?
not enough to overturn the outcome of a free and fair election, which is what I just said. So why does Donald Trump keep lying about it?
No, it absolutely could. Look at the 2000 election with Bush and Gore, right? That was a very small margin race there.
But you know what Al Gore did?
What if there were machines that had the margin rate of failure that they did in 2020? That would have been overturned.
So I'm glad you
So
brought
absolutely it can change a free and fair
in
election.
the future. Could it happen? Absolutely, it could, sure. But what I'm talking about, right, and what we're talking about is the past. I think we both...
You don't have any faith in this current government, but yet you have faith in the elections that they're gonna sanction?
Okay, so first of all, we were talking about the 2020 election, and I asked you a question, which
I'm
you
using prior information
you
said because I don't have a memory of a goldfish.
I asked you... I didn't say that. You keep putting words in my mouth. So I asked you who won the election. You said Joe Biden, which I appreciate. And then I said, does January 6th happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie?
So I'll answer that because you didn't give me time. So you're saying if Donald Trump didn't have any rhetoric, that his supporters wouldn't have went to a rally that was completely separate on the National Mall and then go to the Capitol afterwards? Or are we also going to bring into the equation the fake electorate scandal as well?
Which did happen, but the question that I was trying to ask you was, if
I
you
just
didn't,
need to pinpoint it.
okay, fair enough. A couple months before January 6th, he kept saying the election was rigged, it was stolen, which obviously it wasn't. Those people who showed up were saying, hang Mike Pence, and they were there.
All of them?
No, I never said all of them, but there were 1,500 people that were arrested. Half of those people were violent criminals. As you know, some of those people beat police officers, and Donald Trump pardoned those people, and he called them patriots and hostages. So I hope you would agree with me that if you beat a
Would
cop,
you call it an insurrection?
I don't. Okay, I'll answer that in a second. But could you answer my? I promise I'll answer your question. But could you please answer mine first? If two questions. First of all, you're not a hostage or a patriot, or are you? If you beat a cop on January 6th, are you a patriot if you beat a cop?
That's a straw man question. Come on.
It's
What are you doing?
No, I'll tell you exactly what
What are
I'm
you
doing.
doing?
I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing. Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 people. Half of those people convicted violent criminals. Some of those people beat cops. Donald Trump didn't say the nonviolent criminals. He said they were all, quote unquote, hostages and patriots. This is your president that you support. Are you a hostage or a patriot if you beat a cop on January 6th? It's a very easy question to answer. Will you please answer it?
Yeah, absolutely. But the first thing that we have to talk about in this entire ordeal is you said they were yelling to hang Mike Pence,
I said
right?
some of them were.
Some
and
of them.
Why won't you answer my question?
So only some of them beat up police officers,
Agree.
right?
Agree.
So would you say that's a clerical error by the president there?
A
Because
clerical error?
yeah,
He's
by
had a lot
saying
of time.
all of them, by saying all of them,
No, I wouldn't. Because
Okay.
he categorized.
why not? Biden had a lot of
Okay,
clerical
hold on,
errors.
hold on. Let's focus on Trump. Okay, let's not go back to Biden for a moment. He never said something very different. He hung to that statement, which was they are all hostages and patriots. By the way, some of those people, child molesters, they're back in jail. Okay, some of those people are very bad people. I've interviewed Enrique Tarrio, who's a scumbag. Okay,
How about the only person that was shot in the Capitol
the only person that was shot in the Capitol
and killed?
You want
Ashley Babbitt?
So we're going to pivot now to Ashley Babbitt,
no.
which I
the
will.
police officers.
Which I will. So
Okay.
here's something that the DOJ did in that investigation.
Which did
that-
you trust the
hold on,
Trump
let me-
DOJ?
You got to let me finish my sentence. Here's what the DOJ did in that investigation that they are not doing in the Renee Good situation. It's called a full
Hey,
investigation.
let's bring it back to January 6th, though.
Absolutely. But you're
Why are
at
we talking about Renee Good?
because you're talking about Ashley Babbitt and an investigation. And let me tell you something, my friend, if you want to get my opinion on Ashley Babbitt. The woman, it's very sad. She served the country, but guess what? She did it to herself. Why do I say that? First of all, she was breaking the law. She shouldn't have been there. Number
Where's the
two.
compassion.
Number two.
I thought you wouldn't
Okay,
wish
so
dead
first
people
of all,
to die.
so
I thought
first
you
of all,
wouldn't wish dead
so
people
first
to
of all,
die.
don't be a
Robert Mueller?
Don't be a scumbag.
I'm the scumbag?
What did I just say?
You just said you wouldn't
What
wish
did I
people to
just
die.
say? Let
You
me
just-
be quiet. What did I just say? I said it's the first thing out of my mouth, which you didn't say about Robert Mueller, okay, dude? The first thing out of my mouth was, it's very sad, and I wish it didn't happen, and I respect her service to the country. That's the first thing I said, so don't play that stupid game with me.
And then say
Number
she
two,
deserved it
no,
and it was her fault.
I said, I didn't say she deserved it. I said, unfortunately, she did it to herself. And I'm trying to give you
What's
reasons.
the difference, bro?
I'm trying to give you reasons why. By the way, Robert Mueller died, last I checked, of a heart attack, okay? He wasn't committing a felony. Now, what she did was she was trying to get through a glass window, okay? 10 to 15 feet away, there were politicians there, and there was a lot of people behind her. That officer put out his weapon. There was about a 5 to 10 seconds when someone said, got a gun. It did not deter her. It's a very sad situation, and I think this is a woman that was brainwashed, unfortunately. And here's the real sad
Well,
part
Renee
about
Good
it.
had about 5 minutes.
Let me tell you something. If Donald Trump was never elected president of the United States, Ashley Babbitt would be alive. Renee Good would be alive. Alex Preddy would be alive. These soldiers,
how do you know that?
These soldiers that are because if a Democrat had won, these soldiers wouldn't be coming home in caskets.
13 died in Afghanistan falling
They
off
did.
the planes.
They did. Do you know how
so
many?
Biden wasn't elected
They did.
president. That wouldn't have
They
happened.
did.
Do
Well,
you agree?
No, because Bolton.
Okay, so
I'll
you're a
give
hypocrite.
No, I'm not a hypocrite,
Yes, you
and I'll give
are.
you the reason why I
Yes,
say.
you are.
I'll give you the reason why I say that.
Okay.
Bolton, who worked in Donald Trump's administration. Do you know who Mr. Bolton is? Are you aware?
Yes.
Okay, good. So
I'm not 15
okay,
IQ.
Okay, I don't know why you keep saying that. I never said you had a 15 IQ.
Because you said Trump supporters. Hey, I'm
Ill-informed.
cosplaying as a Trump supporter that
No,
has
I think
15 IQ at a Waffle House.
First of all, I never said that about you. And second of all,
I'm not saying you did. Trump
and
supporters.
second of all, I asked you why you know who Bolton is, because Mr. Bolton
He has a
is the
mustache.
guy who said
Something you don't have.
Okay, dude, you're
Just a goatee.
Dude,
Just a
are you
goatee.
not a serious person? Would
I
you-
am.
Okay, then let me
I'm
finish.
not wearing the beret.
Then
and
let
the
me
getup.
finish. Okay, so I'm not a serious person because of what I'm wearing, but you're the serious person attacking me on my physical appearance. Are you
You
going to
think
let me
MAGA
finish?
hats convey?
Are you going to let me?
superiority?
You're not asking me serious things. Can we continue the serious? Try to have a serious
Sure.
conversation. Thank
Sure.
you, because these are not serious questions that you're asking me.
A lot of
So-
people
so-
would want to know the answer. Truthfully, they don't want to care about the stuff you're asking. If I'm going to be honest,
Is that what you think?
I'm an average, everyday American.
you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about average, everyday Americans, everybody, because I don't think this guy has seen the polls. Donald Trump is polling 26% among independents from a Fox News poll, CNN, right-wing entities. That's independents. He's in the 30s. So when you say most Americans, you are incorrect, sir. That's why you guys are going to get destroyed in the midterms. Destroyed. You can laugh and you could nod your head and make fun of my hat, and you can be cocky, and you could think nobody cares what Brian has to say, because I'm sure you have a larger following than I do.
So he's trying to ego
I'm
me.
sure-
Why are you trying to ego me
because
while
you're
saying
trying,
that?
Because you're trying to diminish me, and nobody cares what Brian has
Because
to
you
say.
did it first.
And you speak for all Americans. Do you know what the polls are right now?
Most Americans don't actually look at the polls, Brian.
Okay,
It's a reality
so
check.
the
I know
polls
that
don't mean
you need.
anything. The polls don't mean anything.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
Is that what I said?
Most Americans don't
No.
look at the polls. Is that what you said?
Yeah, most
Clearly
of-
you don't, because you're not aware that most people in this country
Because
do
Brian,
not support the war.
Brian, I'm more of an average, everyday American than you are.
I don't think you are.
Because I just got
I don't
out of
think you are.
college. I'm younger than you. I'm sorry to say that. I know
Well,
that it
you
comes off as
definitely
rude.
are inexperienced, younger. I agree. You are.
I mean, if you want to take a shot at every turn, you can.
Well,
but I would just say
I match energy.
I would just
And
say I'm more of an everyday American than you are because I'm from a smaller town. I have
Where
a
am I
single
from?
father.
Where am I from?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I'd like to get to
You
know
don't
you
know.
more, Brian.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you. But you're.
That's very nice.
No, thank you. But
Okay.
because I don't think we have a lot in common. But I'll end in
Yeah, I think we have more in common.
no,
than
I don't
you
think we do. I don't think we do.
You're very divisive.
No, I just get very.
You seem to be.
I get very.
You get very worked up. I know.
No, it's not about getting worked up. The point that I was trying to make at the beginning of this conversation, and the first question one of the first questions that I asked you was very simple. At least I thought it was. Which was, will you denounce Donald Trump's statements about Robert Mueller? And you didn't. And it took 8 or 9 different times of me asking you to finally say, I don't agree with it.
And Brian, I pivoted. I will admit that. But then later on, when I
Mm-hmm.
talked about Ashley Babbitt, you said she did it to herself.
Unfortunately, yes, I
conveying
agree.
in her
Yeah,
death.
yes.
So you think if
Because
someone
she didn't
commits
die
a
of natural
So you think
causes.
if someone commits a felony before that their death is deserved, like George Floyd, he committed many felonies before. So why would you say that was the justification that she did it to herself?
Because George Floyd was in handcuffs and he was on his stomach with his hands behind his back. And if Ashley Babbitt was arrested and her hands were behind her back and somebody murdered her, I would say the exact same thing.
She got shot.
The reason
hopelessly.
no. So,
Shot in cold blood. The blood's still in the Capitol. I've been
So-
there.
so-
It's etched into the
so-
Capitol, Brian. Have you
so-
ever been there? I'll take you
I
on
have.
a tour.
No, thank you. I've been there. So Ashley Babbitt,
Sick.
the investigation showed, and there was a full investigation, that that officer was in the right to do what he did. It's a very sad situation. The George Floyd situation is very, very different. Okay? He was already in handcuffs. He was on his stomach. There were 2. You agree with me, though, that George Floyd was murdered? Can we agree on that?
No. Autopsy doesn't show it.
2 autopsies. What did they show? Because I know the answer to
They
that.
showed there was lethal fentanyl in his system.
What was the cause of death in the two autopsies?
Have you ever had friends
No, no, no,
die
no.
of fentanyl?
Hold on,
Brian?
hold on.
Do you know the personal
My sister
ramifications?
died of a drug overdose, so don't play that game with me. I'm going to ask you this question one more time.
We both know
I'm going to ask
suicide,
you this
Brian.
question one more time.
It hurts.
What was the cause of death in both of those autopsies? Please answer the question. And if you don't know, that's okay. I'll tell you.
Fentanyl overdose.
Wrong. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. In those 2 autopsies, they both ruled it a homicide, which means somebody else was responsible for George Floyd's death. So the only reason how he could have died of drugs is if somebody force-fed them to him, which didn't happen.
Or sold it to him.
Do you know who Dr. Michael Baden is?
So fentanyl at a lethal dose is a very small amount. If it's sold to him, it can be considered
What
a homicide.
was the cause of death?
That's why drug dealers.
So you know more
Brian,
than Dr. Michael Baden.
No, that's why drug dealers, Brian, get convicted of homicide when they sell lethal drugs like
I think
that.
that's horrible. But let's go back to George Floyd for a moment. Will you now listen and understand that there were 2 autopsies and they both found that he died of homicide? That's not a drug overdose. Can you at least admit that? I'm trying to...
How do drug dealers get prosecuted for homicide,
You're
Brian?
talking about drug dealers. He didn't die. He died from asphyxiation. He died from homicide. 2 autopsies.
Asphyxiation caused by fentanyl overdosing.
That is not... They
Yes.
ruled it a... If that
Yes.
was the case, because I'm sure you know more than Dr. Michael Baden, who did one of the
I
autopsies.
don't know who Dr. Mike is.
Of course you don't. You didn't even know that both autopsies found that he died of
I don't need
homicide.
to know, Brian. I
That's
know
the
common
problem.
sense.
That's the problem.
Like most Americans,
That's the
they
problem.
don't need to be lectured by people like
okay.
you.
Well, first of all, I'm not lecturing you. I'm educating you.
I think most
You
people
don't
would
know
agree.
you don't know what you're talking about. Just like most people support Donald Trump. I know, but
Because he won free and fairly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we at least admit on that. So here's what I'll say, I guess, in closing. Right. I enjoy having good debates and discussions. I'm sure you're a really nice guy. I'd like to think I am too. Maybe not.
I would have to say so. I
But-
wanted to get to know
but-
you, and I absolutely do want
Things
to.
get a little heated, but here's what I'm really disappointed in this conversation. And I'm sure you're
No,
probably,
let me tell you what I'm disappointed with. Is
Can I
you were
just
going to
finish my
straw
sentence?
man me
Can I
from the
just-
start
can I
and
just finish?
pinpoint.
Can I just finish?
You
my
didn't let
sentence?
me finish, Brian.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So you can tell
I'm
me
sorry.
what you can tell me.
You
We have
didn't
like
give
1
me
minute
grace.
here, so
you didn't give me
20
grace,
seconds. 20 seconds, and
Brian.
then
And then I'll
take
do
the floor.
20 seconds.
What? Sure,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Thank you.
The
Absolutely.
thing that I was disappointed in was when I say, listen, the president said, he's happy that somebody died. Just like if you had said, Brian, are you happy that Charlie Kirk died? Immediately I would have said no. Brian, what would you say about prominent Democrats? By the way, there's not one prominent politician that said they were happy. But if somebody did, hypothetically, I would say that's disgusting. That's awful. And you pivoted. And you weren't able to just look me in the eye and say, you know what, Donald Trump was wrong. There's a lot of Democrats I criticize all the time. I think there's a lot of Democrats that are wrong. Just admit it next time and just say it.
Brian, that's a hypothetical because you said you would denounce anyone that would like flip off Charlie Kirk, for example, because of the way that he died. Denounce the person that you surround yourself
I already
with that did that.
Watch the
do
video.
it on public, please, Brian, right now in front of a live audience. Please denounce that.
Sure. I think
Denounce that act.
Sure. So I did that today, actually, when I was talking to Jack Posobiec.
Let's do it again. They asked Donald Trump to denounce things multiple times. You can do it if you stand on it.
I don't think flipping off a picture of Charlie Kirk gets anybody anywhere.
That says 1993 to 2025 on it.
Yeah, I just answered you.
Yeah.
Unlike you, who will not denounce, by the way, different standards from different people.
I was just giving
Hold on,
context to the
and
audience.
Now I'm going to give some context. Different standards for different people. You're taking someone in an organization because you don't like they flipped off a poster, but yet you weren't willing to immediately denounce the President of the United States who said he was happy somebody died.
Because, Brian, I'm
It is
human,
pathetic.
and I knew Charlie Kirk
It is
personally.
pathetic. Okay.
That's why.
Doesn't change
that is
what
why.
I just said.
Absolutely.
There's people that knew Robert Mueller personally, too. You should have immediately denounced it. You didn't do that. You got caught.
There's
and now you
people
wanna
that
do
knew
it.
Ashley Babbitt personally.
Sure.
And you said she did it to herself. How
Yeah.
would her parents feel about that?
They would agree with me, and they would
Absolutely
yeah,
not.
Yeah, they would agree with me.
No, they wouldn't.
You don't know my parents. They would
No,
agree
her
with me.
parents. I'm not talking
What about her
your
parents? The ones that
Brian.
received
How
$5
would
million?
they feel that you said that she
The
deserved
ones,
it?
the ones that got $5 million. Are those the parents you're talking about?
Oh, so then it's okay?
No, it's not
For
okay.
her to die? $5 million
She did it to
is all
herself.
it takes?
She did it
Then
to
death's
herself.
okay?
She did it to herself. It's very sad. She was
Sad.
brainwashed, and she did it to herself.
You're
I hope
s-
you never
you're,
do.
You're crazy and you're sick.
I'm crazy and I'm sick?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Because you said that someone should deserve that.
Nope.
That's
When did I
cruel.
say that?
That's cruel.
Not once in this
She
conversation.
did it to herself.
Not once.
What does that mean,
Okay.
Brian? You didn't answer
Here's
it.
what it means. When somebody goes into a bank, for example, and is committing a felony.
Let's get back to
okay?
the topic.
No. Here's what
Let's
I
not
mean.
use hypotheticals.
I'm giving it to you.
Never
I
mind.
tried to explain to you what she was doing, okay? She was committing a felony. She shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have been there to begin with. Guy pulls out a gun who is an officer. You hear someone in the video that say, he's got a gun. He's screaming through the window, get down, step down, back up. She doesn't do it. It's a very sad situation. I wish it didn't happen. There was a full investigation, okay? I would never sit here and say and gleefully laugh about it or say I'm happy about it. That's the fundamental difference between you. You can't denounce the President of the United States for saying I'm happy that Robert Mueller is dead. That is what is sick. That is what is
You
pathetic.
said the same parents that
And I
got
don't
$5
think-
million
and I don't, yeah, because
for their daughter's death.
Because I don't think they deserved $1. Okay, I don't think
Wow.
they deserved $1.
Wow.
Okay? If,
I love that compassion,
I don't.
Brian.
It's not about compassion. It has to do with the law. She was breaking the law. The officer was justified because there was an investigation. If every officer involved shooting, the person who dies
What is
got
wrong
$5
with
million.
you?
What's wrong with you? You
What is
support a
wrong with
rapist.
you?
You support a pedophile, don't you?
No,
Yes, you do.
I absolutely don't.
You don't?
I want the Epstein files released,
Why won't
fully
he
unredacted.
Why won't he release them then? Give me a reason.
I don't know.
Why is
I'm
just-
not President
You don't
Trump.
know. Why is Maxwell? Tell me why Maxwell is in a Club Med facility. Give me a reason.
You know, I
You're a
don't
smart
know
guy.
Ghislaine Maxwell, so I don't know.
Why do you think the Trump administration put her in a Club Med facility?
All I know is I want these files to be released.
Why don't you
Brian.
answer my question?
I'm an
Why
average.
won't he do it?
Because I'm not the president,
won't he do it?
Brian. Every average.
I don't think you are.
average-
I don't think you're a
average
pedophile.
everyday Americans want these files released as well, just like me.
Why won't
Do
Donald
I have
Trump?
to give you a full blueprint on it?
I'm asking you a question about the guy who you support.
Okay.
Why is Donald Trump and why has the administration cheated Ghislaine Maxwell and put her in a Club Med facility with a dog and preferential treatment?
Why has every president done that since the whole Epstein scandal? Biden did it as well.
Wh-
He
who-
protected Epstein.
Who did Joe Biden put in a Club Med facility?
They didn't release any of the files under
Do you know
Biden.
why? Do you know why? Or
How
you,
come?
Okay, I'll inform you. So first of all, it was
There's
under.
a lot more people
I'm
watching
trying
than
to
just
answer.
me.
I'm trying to answer.
You have to understand
Okay,
that.
so I'm just talking to you right now. I don't care how many people are watching. I'm
He
trying
doesn't care about you.
No, I didn't say that. Right now in this answer, I'm talking to you. You don't know why, and I'm going to tell you. Because Maxwell was under investigation and there was a trial, which means it was under seal. And then after the trial, after she was convicted, there was an appeal. It was under seal. So we could end this conversation. I'm not surprised you didn't know that, okay? But you don't. I'm sorry you don't like my hat, but let me tell
I
you
like
something.
giving the audience
But-
context so they know what you're talking about, Brian.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
So
I
you
want
knew that.
everybody here
So did you know
to
that?
know what you're talking
What
about.
I just said, were you aware of that?
Yes, absolutely.
So why did you say then, why didn't Joe Biden release the Epstein files?
Well, a lot of people say, why didn't Trump release it in his first term? So wouldn't that be the same reason? Because the
No.
legal process
No.
wasn't carried out?
No, because Maxwell
No,
was...
no. Okay.
I'm giving you an answer. Maxwell wasn't charged with a crime under the Trump administration. She was charged under the Trump administration. Or I'm sorry, Biden administration. Does that not make sense to you?
No, it does.
Was
Absolutely.
did Jeffrey Epstein take his own life? Or was he murdered? What do you think?
I think there was some foul play. I'd have to say there was some foul play, for
Okay.
sure.
So I agree with you. Let's end on something we agree on.
Absolutely,
We want
I'd love
the
to.
entire files unredacted, except for victims, obviously, right? We don't want victims' names, right?
Underage people, yeah. That,
course, of
Absolutely.
course.
No. Co-conspirators need
So
to
you would
happen immediately.
Right. So
Need
I
to
said
happen
this to
immediately.
Jack Posobiec earlier today. You would agree with me that Pam Bondi has done a poor job.
I
right?
think she should be fired, absolutely.
We agree. Did you agree with the Kristi Noem firing?
I did.
Good. Are you happy with Kash Patel?
No.
So you're not happy with a lot of this administration.
Just because you're happy with certain secretaries doesn't mean you can support the overall agenda. Would you say that's fair?
Depending. Like
These are
what's
cabinet positions.
what's the
These
overall
aren't
agenda of-
necessarily determining every site of policy in the
What's-
country.
what's-
because a lot of people argue that Trump's a tyrant and a dictator and overarching
Yes.
his powers.
I do that,
So
yeah.
how would he listen to these people?
what's his agenda? What do you think? Like, what has he accomplished in a year and a half? What's his agenda? What has he
I mean,
done?
look at the stock market. It's at an all-time high.
There's less than 1% of people in this country that are involved in the stock market. What would you say to the 99% of the other people?
Well, Biden, the whole 4 years straw man, that entire point of the stock market
Didn't ask you
is
about
at its
Biden.
highest. Is at its
Didn't
highest.
ask
At
you.
its highest.
Didn't ask you about Biden. I said, what has Trump accomplished policy-wise that you're happy with? And you said the stock market. The economy is in shambles right now. You are aware of that,
I
right?
would disagree with that.
You think okay? So in what aspect do you think right now, especially on
Are we in a declared recession?
a lot of economists say we're headed in that direction?
So you're just doing this off
But
of thought.
no, I'm doing this.
Because economists
No.
say we're not in a
I'm not-
recession.
What's the unemployment rate now compared to when Joe Biden left office? Do you are
Probably
you
hovering around 5% right now. You know, we'd rather have that a lot
okay?
lower.
What was the unemployment rate when Joe Biden left office?
It was probably way lower because
Yeah, it
he was
was.
leaving office.
It was,
At
yeah.
the end of every turn, it goes down, Brian.
That's not factually
That's a
accurate.
historical
Yeah,
trend.
not every presidency it goes down.
I'm
That's
sure
not true.
every,
especially
but if we're
coming
doing
especially coming
generalizations.
out of a global pandemic. So the point that I was trying to make is that unemployment right now is higher than it was when Biden left office. Inflation is headed in the wrong direction. Private sector job growth is abysmal. Gas prices, which I'm sure you blame Joe Biden for when he was president, are through the roof. Well, you're laughing. I'm sure you did.
Because you're telling me what I believe. You don't
Did
know
you
what I
blame-
believe.
did
You
you
don't
blame-
even know me,
did
man.
you blame Joe Biden for gas prices?
For right now?
No.
Like when I went to
No.
the pump today
No.
and filled up?
No, when he was president.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Because
so I was
it
right.
was. Because
Okay.
it was.
So why were gas
He
prices?
drained our strategic reserve, Brian.
Why were gas prices higher?
He drained our strategic
So it
reserve.
wasn't because
Do you know
of,
what that means?
Yes, I do. So
What
you're
does it
saying
mean?
you're
What does it
saying
mean?
hold on a second. So you're saying it wasn't the war in Ukraine. It wasn't coming out of a global pandemic. Those weren't factors. So we didn't do cause and effect when Biden was president.
So
But-
how about the war in Iran?
Of
How about
course.
Middle Eastern
Absolutely.
interference? Yeah,
But
there's
here's the
cause and
difference.
effect, Brian.
Sure.
There's always a
I
cause and
agree.
effect, right?
So listen, we agree, but here's the fundamental difference. Donald Trump made a choice to go to war in Iran.
Oh, Joe
Hold on,
Biden
hold
didn't
on,
make a
hold
lot
on,
of
hold on,
choices.
hold
I
on, hold on,
understand.
hold on. It wasn't Joe Biden's choice for Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine, and it certainly wasn't Joe Biden's choice to take over when we were in a global pandemic that happened under Trump. By the way, I don't blame Donald Trump for the global pandemic we were in. I blame him for the response, which I thought was an F minus. But it was Donald Trump's choice. We didn't have to be in Iran right now. We didn't have to kill 175 school children. We didn't have to be spending $2 billion a day for this war, which I assume you also are in agreement with me. You're not for this war in Iran.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah.
We agree on there. You agree it was a choice. He didn't have to do this, right?
So was it Netanyahu's choice or was it Trump's choice? Because you said Biden had no effect on the Ukraine war about leading it.
I believe that Benjamin Netanyahu was a part of the reason why Donald Trump did.
They did a joint exercise.
I believe
It's his country.
I understand that, but you're asking me
Okay.
Benjamin Netanyahu and his place in this war. Listen, I'm Jewish, okay? I love the Israeli people. I am pro-Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I am anti-Israeli government for a lot of different reasons because I believe Benjamin Netanyahu is just as corrupt as Donald Trump. I also believe one of the reasons why George W. Bush got us into the war in Iraq, partly faulty intelligence, weapons of mass destruction, was because of Israeli faulty intelligence. Why? Because it benefited Israel if we took out Saddam Hussein. Listen, I'm not shedding any tears for the Ayatollah, okay? Horrible people, horrendous people. Here's the problem. Now they have new people in there that you could argue are more capable, younger, and hate America now more than ever. So what the hell have we accomplished out there?
Do you think that the Kurds should come in and take over that country
No.
as well and lead their government?
No.
Who do you think should be the replacement party? Because we can talk about whether this should happen or it shouldn't. We know the end result of where it's going to go. Where does this go for the Iranian people?
It's a good question. It's the best question you've asked me. I'm glad you didn't ask me about my outfit again. I'm glad. No, it's a good question. So I think it's a very difficult question to answer. I think what most Americans would say, and I don't speak for most Americans, but most Americans like you and me didn't want this war to happen, right? Of course, in a perfect world, we'd want a new regime, right? In a perfect world, we want a regime that is good to their own people, good to America, leave Israel alone. That would be in a perfect world. But we all know that's not going to happen. It's certainly not happening now, and this is what's sad to me, right? There's, as you know, thousands of innocent people in Iran that have lost their lives, innocent people in Israel that have lost their lives. We're losing American soldiers. Why? And I would have thought Republicans would have learned their lesson after the George W. Bush days. But at least George W. Bush went to Congress first. Donald Trump hasn't even done that. And then he lies about the 175 children that we massacred. And he said it was Iran and Tomahawk missiles. Iran doesn't even have Tomahawk missiles.
That's what Israeli state TV said, by the way. That wasn't what Trump initially reported. He was reporting from Israeli state TV.
So Donald Trump gets his intelligence from Israeli TV. Boy, that speaks volumes about the guy.
I mean,
who
the
you support.
Mossad. I mean, the Mossad has a lot more intelligence than the CIA.
So you
Do
think
you agree with that?
So you think anything that our president sees on Israeli TV, he should say in a press conference the next day?
That's not what I said, Brian.
Okay, but that's what he did. That's what he did. That's what he did, dude. It's about personal responsibility. War is really horrible. Innocent people lose their lives, and sadly, mistakes are made. This was a terrible mistake. You get in front of the American people the next day, because Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump knew it was us. We're the only people that are involved in this war that have Tomahawk missiles, and you say, you know what? This was a terrible mistake. yes, we were responsible. Instead, he lies.
I have to
He lies.
disagree with you, Brian. I think Israel was the one that spearheaded this war.
Well, then guess what? Who do we blame for getting into the war with? Then you're saying if you, and by the way, partially I agree with you. I am anti-Israeli government. Partially I agree. But guess what? You cannot convince me that we would have gotten into this war if we had somebody else in there on the left. I'm sorry, I don't think so.
And that's an okay position to have, but it would simply not be true because any leader, Democrat or Republican, would be swayed into this war because it was a slow buildup, right? We heard it before. It's a slow buildup. The culmination of 4 years before is going to affect what's happening now, right, Brian? And that situation in the Middle East with the bombing of innocent civilians in Gaza and that whole mismanagement of that entire Gaza Strip has led us to this point because that is what Iran is mad about because they were funding Hezbollah into southern Lebanon, into the Gaza Strip, into the West Bank.
I disagree with you.
That was their apparatus.
I respectfully disagree with you. I think one of the main reasons why why Trump decided to do this, he had multiple conversations with Vladimir Putin the week before the war. If there's anybody that's had more financial gain in this war thus far, it's Vladimir Putin, who, by the way, Donald Trump has coddled to, rolled out the red carpet for him in Alaska.
Allegedly.
What do you mean? He was in Alaska.
Well, no, sorry. You're just talking too fast. I was saying coddled to President Putin.
You think he's
right?
been tough on Russia?
I think he's a lot tougher than people think.
What? Name
Absolutely.
me one sanction.
I mean, I'm not going to name off the sanctions
there's not any,
for you,
'cause there's
Brian.
not any, 'cause
We have
there's
to
not
keep
any.
some entertainment value here,
Well,
right?
Because there's not any.
No, they actually are weighing sanctions on Russia.
Okay,
actually,
name me one
with
sanction.
Iranian oil.
Okay, well, name me one.
You have to
Iranian oil. Do you realize the sanctions that were lifted recently? Are you aware of the sanctions that Donald Trump just lifted last week?
Absolutely. I know you're not in the know about it, but it's okay.
Okay, what do you mean?
You can be wowed about it.
How am I not in the know? I just
Does
told
Russia
you.
not buy any Iranian oil?
What do you mean? Wait, hold on a second. You said I'm not.
Because you
in the
acted
know.
confused when
I'm
I
not
said that Russia and Iran
I'm not confused at all.
trade
in fact,
oil
in
between
fact,
each
you know what
other.
else they trade? Intelligence. What do you think about that?
Russian intelligence, KGB?
Yeah. What do you think
Okay.
about Vladimir Putin trading intelligence with Iran and putting our soldiers in harm's way?
We trade intelligence with our allies, okay? That's
So you're
not
okay with that?
necessarily a hill to die on. It happens all the time, Brian. That's not a new warfare
It's not
technique.
a hill. It's not a hill for us to die on, but it is a hill,
Absolutely.
sadly, for some of our soldiers to die on. And Donald Trump's
Because
response,
Israel dragged us into this war.
and who dragged us into it? Who was the one who made the ultimate decision to do so?
I would have to say Israeli intelligence pointing
Who's
to
the-
our intelligence agencies
Who is
that
the
Iran.
person? Who is the person in America?
Brian, it's not just one person.
Okay,
We're talking
hold on,
about
hold on.
countries.
Who is the person in the United States of America that made the final decision on whether we go to war with Iran? Who did that?
Okay, so you're narrowing down the question.
Yes, I am.
So Biden would have made any of those
The
military decisions.
question wasn't about Joe Biden. I'll ask it again. Who is the person who made the ultimate decision that the United States go to war with Iran, regardless of what you think about pressure from Israel or any other country, which is, by the way, not an excuse to go to war, okay? They said they posed an imminent threat to the United States, and they posed. Let me ask it again. Who is the person who made the ultimate decision that we would go to war with Iran? Can you please answer that?
I think Donald Trump would like me to say this. President Trump did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad. Why do I have to ask you 5 times? I don't understand. So if the
You're
argument,
very hard to understand,
if the
Brian.
argument that you're making, which I
You're
partially,
a little kooky, you know? You know what I'm saying?
okay. If the argument you're saying is that Israel pushed our hand or forced our hand, then wouldn't the response say, well, geez, that's weakness on our part, and we should have a president that doesn't get us in an ill-advised war pressured by another country like Israel? Wouldn't that be a fair criticism of the guy that you voted for if the argument is Israel forced our hand? First of all, Israel should never force our hand on anything. If this is truly America first, that's not an America first agenda that you voted for.
Yeah, I would say the true America First agenda would be to eliminate AIPAC's essentially foreign lobbying protection when it comes to funneling money to candidates. $45 million to Kamala Harris, $250 million.
What does that have to do with what I just said?
Because
You're talking about Kamala Harris again.
Because you're asking why Donald Trump went to war with Iran
and it's
for
Kamala
Benjamin
Harris's
Netanyahu.
fault?
For
It's
Benjamin
Kamala's fault.
Netanyahu.
So you're blaming Democrats.
You can't understand
No,
this
I do
concept.
understand.
You just can't
You're
understand.
pivoting to
It's
Kamala
okay.
Harris, money, and Joe Biden when I just asked you the guy who you voted for.
Well,
who
you
you
said
still
corruption
support.
earlier leads politicians to do things. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm making that point
so
for
it's
you.
Kamala's fault
I'm giving
that we
you an
went to war.
alley-oop, Brian. Just take
It's
it.
Kamala. It's Kamala. It's first of all, don't do basketball analogies. It's
Are you a baller?
I played a few sports in college. Yeah,
Okay.
I did okay for myself. So you're blaming Kamala partially for this war, then? Is that what I'm getting from you?
No. I
You're
was
not,
I was
okay.
going to make a broader point about President Trump and
Okay.
why he was influenced by other countries. Right?
Okay.
It's more of a personal vendetta done through Israel and their lobbying groups within the United States.
Can I ask you a moral question, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that. I find it hard to understand how somebody could vote for a guy who on tape bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms without I know you don't think this is a big deal. Do you have a sister?
No.
Okay, you don't. You have a mom? I don't know. I'm
Yes,
trying.
yes.
Female friends, a girlfriend,
I have
whatever.
an amazing mom.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. So if your mom, I know
Love you, Mom.
this is a little graphic, but I'm sorry, I got to pose it this way. A woman in your life, okay, girlfriend, ex, whatever. If she was 13 or 14 years old and she was in a beauty pageant and some creepy old man went in there without permission, bragged sexually about it on radio on the Howard Stern show. Multiple women have corroborated this. Do you think that's someone and that behavior is becoming of someone that should be the leader of the free world? How could you support that?
I mean, over 80 million people did, Brian.
Yeah, so I'm asking you, though. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm not talking to them. I'm talking
Yeah.
to you.
I'm with 80 million people.
Okay, so you don't have a problem with that behavior. You're okay with it.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
That's not what they're voting on, Brian. They're voting on a lot of things for
think-
president
I think-
because Joe Biden raised a son who is a total degenerate and did a lot of things within his family compass that he knew about and didn't denounce any of it.
So you're saying that you're blaming Joe Biden because his son had a drug addiction and comparing that to somebody willfully going into a teenage girl's locker room without their permission, looking at a bunch of 15-year-old girls naked. Do you realize how ridiculous your defense is? Let me tell you something. Drugs are an addiction. I know a little bit about that because my sister suffered through it her whole life. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent and I heard this same argument. I was at AmFest, and it pisses me off.
I didn't say Joe Biden was a bad
Okay.
parent.
Then why are you bringing that up as bad behavior to Joe Biden? When I asked
Because they
you,
found cocaine in the White House. Does that not
was
have any
never-
ramifications
sure,
for his office?
Let's talk about that. Never has that been proven that Joe Biden
the
or-
pictures.
Excuse me.
I didn't say
Excuse
Joe
me, there's
Biden.
a lot of people in the White House.
Yeah, I know.
You just
I've been there.
I asked you about Donald Trump's behavior when it comes to young girls and teenage girls' locker rooms.
Because you pivoted away from the Israeli argument that we were talking about with no context. Like,
I
why did you
gave
bring
you a
this
lot
up?
of-
Do you
because-
like pedophilia? Why are
Okay.
you talking about this so
You're
much?
is that a
It's
serious?
so weird.
No, it's not weird.
As a younger person,
The
this is
reason
really
why-
weird.
The reason why I brought up pedophilia
Out of
is
nowhere, by the
because-
way.
no, it's not out of nowhere because you support Donald Trump and his name is in the Epstein files like 30,000 times.
And we weren't even talking
okay,
about that.
I understand you don't want to talk about the indefensible.
I can talk
okay.
about it, Brian. Let's just
Instead
get
of-
in the same
at
mode
the
about
beginning
it.
of the conversation, I asked you about his Robert Mueller comments, and you didn't immediately call that out. In this situation, I asked you about Donald Trump going into teenage girls' locker rooms without their permission, and what do you do? Instead of you saying, yeah, that was wrong, he shouldn't have done that, what does he do? He says, what about Joe Biden and Joe Biden's son? That is what we call dodging the question.
I'm actually, when I walked up here and I analyzed you and analyzed.
Analyzed? Is that a word?
Analyzed
Oh, okay,
you.
okay.
Okay.
You analyzed my physical appearance.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, like I said, when I wake up in the
sorry.
morning, I just hope you're attracted to me, sir. I really do.
Well, you're the one that likes talking about pedophilia and little boys,
I don't
so
like
let's not go that
No,
far.
I don't like talking
Let's
about
not go
it.
that far.
Wait, hold on. Let me just be clear on this. Not only do I not like talking about it, I think it's despicable, and I think everybody deserves justice that is a victim in any situation, especially the Epstein files. And
Do you
the guy,
think Epstein was a Mossad agent?
hold on a second. That's here nor there right now. I'm talking about people that deserve justice.
It was as random as your pedophilia comments.
It's not
asking
random.
Me.
It's not random because the
is.
guy who you support is defending pedophiles right now. You are aware of that. Forget about what I think whether Donald Trump did or didn't do. Let's put that aside. Let's assume he didn't do anything like that, okay? Even though he's named in there 30,000 times. Would you agree with me that Pam Bondi and Donald Trump and Kash Patel, and when Dan Bongino was there, they are literally protecting pedophiles? Can we agree on that?
So do you understand how federal agencies work, Brian? A lot of these
Yes.
people are talking heads. They don't do a lot of the dirty
They
work
don't.
and actually uncover the files. Pam Bondi's not flipping there on her
So who
desk,
makes the
unlike what
decision?
she said.
Okay, so help me
flipping
understand.
redact.
So help me
She wasn't
understand.
doing that.
So help me understand. Who is the
I'll
person-
explain the government
Okay, hold
to
on.
you.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
There's three
Hold on.
branches.
No, I understand
They're
that.
all equal.
Hold on.
Okay.
Listen. Who is responsible right now, who makes the final determination on all these Epstein files and whether they're released or not? Can you tell me?
They sign off on it, but a lot of other employees look through all this stuff. A lot of
But who makes the
other
decision?
people.
Who makes the decision?
So, do you think it's fair to say if they don't have informed decision-making capabilities,
Who makes the
that's
decision?
fair enough?
Who makes the decision?
I'm asking a real question,
You
Brian.
haven't answered mine yet.
So what if I put something on the desk and I said, Brian, you are the president of the United States. I say, you know what? As a close trusted advisor,
So
this is what you
I
would
see where
think,
we're going
President
here.
Trump.
You're defending the Trump administration again.
No,
You're curling yourself into your MAGA pretzel. So
No,
let
no,
me
no.
help you out. Pam Bondi.
You look
and
like
Kash
you would sit
Patel.
in a pretzel
Pam
or
Bondi,
crisscross
you can try to
applesauce.
insult me again. Pam Bondi.
I mean,
and
you love
Kash
to do it
Patel.
with me. I'm mushroom-headed,
Pam
right?
Bondi. I never said that. I don't know what you're talking about.
We'll roll it back.
I called you a Trump mushroom gobbler. I didn't say you look like a mushroom.
Oh, I should have known.
What that
Sorry.
means, I'll tell you what that means. I'll explain that to you. And you're doing it right now, by the way. You are constantly defending this administration. So let me help you out. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and obviously Donald Trump are making decisions on what they release and what they don't release. They have been breaking the law. So that is the point that I have been trying to make.
There's about 5 points I counteracted the Trump administration, yet you try to paint me as a Trump glazer.
Incorrectly.
Incorrectly?
Incorrectly, yes.
Going against Trump,
Yes.
that's incorrect?
So listen, you have the right to believe
Okay.
what you want to believe. You have the right
That's a change of tune,
to
Brian.
vote for Donald Trump if you would like to and continue to support Donald Trump if you would like. But
Well, he's not running for another turn, so I can't
are you
vote
sure
for
about
him
that?
again.
I hope not. I hope not.
Well, no, he's not.
I hope not.
I hope we believe in a constitution, Brian, still.
Well, let's leave on a good note. Thank you for doing
Absolutely.
this. I
No,
hope it was as
absolutely.
entertaining for you as it was for me.
Absolutely. I
And-
loved it, man.
And nothing personal.
No,
All right.
nothing personal.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we need people to shake hands like this after heated debates.
I
Like that.
shaked Jack Pasot. You know, me and Jack have called each other so many names, but anyway, but we shook hands today too. So,
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Really quickly, if you are watching the stream, you might see a QR code on your screen. If you like these debates, if you like open dialogue, if you want to support the Unfuck on F America tour, please scan that QR code and just pitch in if you can. Thank you. Next debate is coming. Who? Oh, yeah, thanks, bye. It's fine.
Nice to meet you. Grab this 4 rules off. Hello, still good?
Good to go?
Yep, you good? Okay. So the topic that I'd like to bring up is the difference in political opinion across standard society in America. We've obviously, and at Off the Record, I should actually do an introduction. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm AJ Raber. I'm 21 years old, and I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Off the Record.
Okay.
So we've done a bunch of college tours. We've gone around. We're all college age, so it makes sense to go talk to people our age, obviously.
Sure.
The biggest thing that we found is we get absolutely just I'm trying to think of a good phrase for this, but just rude responses to everything. That's us being there. We're setting up. We're getting harassed. That's
Wait,
what-
I'm sorry, real quick. Are you guys right-leaning or left-leaning?
Right.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
I'm
cool.
not Republican, but I am conservative. That's
Okay.
my thing. I don't technically lock into any specific ideology. I have varying points. I try to give everybody a fair shot.
Okay.
So
Supported Trump in all 3 of the last elections, I'm imagining?
I only voted in one of them, and the only reason I voted for Trump is I thought he could bring in good people that can
Okay.
bolster. Obviously, he has connections. He can make deals. That was the whole reason I voted for him. Is rather than just being given people, he had been through one presidency. He could see what's going on and say, all right, let's try to bolster my efforts here. And I think that obviously people have come and gone from that, but that was at the time that was a good emphasis that we could vote for. So the big thing that we've seen on college campuses is this emphasis on harassment to us when we're setting up, when we're going through even just common debate, like beginning like this. We had people flipping us off, blocking cameras. We did a thing at UCLA, and we had a group of communists blocking our cameras. So that's only coming from the left, though, obviously because we're right. But I'm saying in general, they have no clue what we're setting up. Immediately, it's people on the left that are harassing us, harassing people. So you're getting more of that violent rhetoric also from news companies. Would you disagree?
Maybe not necessarily. I think it would depend on the context where I saw it, like who's protesting you.
Mm-hmm.
But even if that was the case, like if I granted it, that wouldn't really be surprising to me.
Okay.
And I don't know why you would expect anything different when the leader of the Republican Party right now is the most aggressive, the most piece of like shit asshole, like towards all of his political opponents. Like I don't think I've ever seen anybody in politics as aggressive as Donald Trump.
I agree with you. I think that's why there's so much of a populist opinion of him. People, the society at the moment has gotten so split where we actually go for populism at this point. We like the clips, we like the heated debates, like what we just saw. And that's more than just a common conversation. That's more than just a sit-down conversation that develops a discussion. And so why is it that the left, though, it's everybody in common society. It's not even high up. Because Trump, I'm not going to agree on his morals, obviously. I think he's a businessman, and he's a staunch businessman. I don't think that he is the best moral compass for anybody. Like, I wouldn't take religious advice from him, but I'm not looking at him for religious advice.
What are we looking at him for?
Just general business running. I think that's the one thing that, especially in his first.
But he's an atrocious businessman.
Yeah, but I guess the difference between the first presidency and now is there's obviously, in his first presidency, it was a big, experiment of what's going on. It's an experiment of what is Donald Trump, and that what is that as a non-politician entering a presidency at such a rapid rate. Didn't even have a single term in like a Senate position prior.
And it was rampant spending, rampant deficit spending. It was a failed response to COVID. It was
loved spending. America loves spending.
Well,
that's a huge
Republicans love spending. Democrats spend in times of crises, but Republicans always spend.
I mean, Democrats do spend quite a bit. I think we see that with they're giving millions of dollars to like companies and things out of like Africa that's not where the money needs to be going at that time.
So millions is inconsequential. This is part of USAID, so you can argue that it's part of an overarching mission. But Democrats have to spend in times of crises to bring the country back to normal, but Republicans will just spend for no reason whatsoever. We saw this in the Trump term 1, even before COVID, and then obviously we're seeing it now with the Trump term 2. But I mean, like the last balanced budget we had was a Democrat. It was Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah, well, that was how many years ago?
30-ish years ago?
Yeah, so I think that's a systematic thing. That's where I come across as, I think that's a bipartisan, where that's just how government works at this point.
Obama comes in after the global financial crisis, and then and Bush spent a lot because we had Afghanistan and Iraq.
Of course.
Right?
War,
one is a choice,
more,
one is a response, right? And then after Obama, we had Trump come in and do a huge tax cut without pairing it with any spending cuts.
Yeah.
We have Biden come in, who's now on the back of COVID and October 7th and the Ukraine-Russia war.
Yep.
And then Trump comes in, and it's just we're at war again. Like the Republicans seem to do these things unprompted. Like they're getting us into these things, and then Democrats are having to spend our way out of it to bring things back to normal. So I feel like both sides are not the same here. Like it would be nice to see a Democrat come in without being on the back of a crisis that a Republican got to preside over in the last couple of years of their administration, sometimes self-inflicted, and then
Well, that's the issue that you come into with modern day politics. It goes back even to like the social issue I brought up at the beginning, which is you have these massive swings. It's a big pendulum, right? It's going back and forth. I don't think that's good for America, because again, I don't know. I obviously don't know what your personal opinion is on like unifying America. Feel free to elaborate on that if you choose to.
I think we should be unified around certain things. I think that there's like we should have very good, healthy, passionate debate about some topics, but I think some things should be. I don't want to say unquestioned, but like one common piece of advice I always give, especially when you're talking about large groups of people, is you fundamentally lost something when you're assuming that a huge group of people are coming from a bad place.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you should generally assume that people working in government, lawmakers, the population, are all trying to do what they feel is right, and they're not coming from this place of I want to destroy the country. But that message of wanting to destroy the country is a thing that the Republican conservative media have sold to the American public about the left for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, well, I think that's the issue with legacy media.
But Fox News is so much more aggressive than CNN or Washington Post or New York Times.
I think they're both aggressive in different factions. I think Fox News is very aggressive on their specific stances of the storyline of the day. I do think you look at like some of the roundtables that CNN has held, and you have people talking about just average American citizens as dumb. They're obviously lacking moral emphasis, which I find a little bit interesting that's a debate that's brought up sometimes. But when you look at that, they're attacking individuals in the country. That's the CNN side of things, is they're attacking the group of people rather than the system. They are obviously attacking Donald Trump. That's been in the news for however many years now. So that's obviously the commonality. And then now they've started diving into individuals. And I think that's a bad point to take, because
we can argue. I think we can argue that maybe to some extent it's politics. So of course you're attacking the other group to some extent.
Of course.
But like there is no story on the left that's comparable to the Dominion Smartmatic stuff with Fox News. The lying, the coordination between the actual Trump campaign and Fox News, the deliberate attempt to lie, to sell a lie to the American people that the majority of Republicans still believe in today. The fact that we have undermined our healthcare system so much that we have people that look to RFK as a paragon of health advice while we're having measles outbreaks in the country.
Of course.
These are ways that, like you can argue there might be some fault on the left, but the Republicans have undermined and attacked these systems such that if they would have been behaving similar to how Democrats behave, we wouldn't be having a lot of these problems today. Like, you can argue the left is not perfect, but I'm arguing the right has like severely messed a lot of stuff up.
I think both sides have messed up. I think it's nitpicking which things matter to you most. But
Well, what is the-
in your rebuttal to in my rebuttal to your thing about Fox News, CNN does the same thing.
How?
You went
Not
from
even close.
Yeah, no, they do the same thing. They do a big campaign against you should be looking at your neighbors who disagree with you politically like they're your opponents. They're not. They're your neighbors. Is that not like
Donald Trump has literally said multiple times that the entire Democratic Party is like the biggest threat, that all of them are radical leftists, that when leftists engage in violence, it's bad and evil, but when the people on the right do it, it's in response to people on the left.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that when Donald Trump comes out and attacks like the left over and over and over again, and the entire party over and over and over again, starts talking about like how we need to have 6 congressmen executed for treason and stuff, there's just nothing comparable on the left to this. You can look at the response to the deaths of figures. Brian just brought up the Mueller thing.
It's so sad. I mean, I
Well,
don't like to see presidents.
Yeah, but there's
publicly saying
nothing
things
comparable
about
on the
that.
left to that, right?
Yeah, no, but obviously you have Trump saying a statement on Truth Social. You go back to the Biden presidency, he wasn't posting half his stuff. It's the auto pen. I mean, it's like
Do
look
you
at
think Biden was
signing
using an
things.
auto pen?
He was. Look at it.
Trump dropped the investigation for that, right?
That's great. That doesn't mean
You know that there's more evidence for Trump being senile than Biden, right?
They're both old men. They're both old men.
Yeah, but one of
US
these guys
presidency has turned
stumbles
into a
around and he
geriatric
has
center
no
at this
idea.
point.
That's fine, but Trump has
Yeah.
demonstrated over and over again that he's like incompetent as a
Yeah.
leader to lead the country. He's like mixing up the names of states. He doesn't know the leaders he's talked to sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
Biden had a bad debate performance, I agree, but Trump has consistently shown time and time again that he's incapable of even having the mind for office. Also, you know, I remember, I don't know how old you are, but I remember in 2016. Okay, so maybe I don't know.
Middle
probably
school at
not-
that
yeah,
time. Yeah,
probably not as much. How many times I heard about Hillary Clinton? I think she had. I think she passed out once outside because of a heat thing or whatever. We heard about this for so long.
Yeah.
What's up with all the weird rashes on Donald Trump's neck? The stuff going on his hand. Like, these are healthcare issues that I've been told time and time again that Biden's senility was supposedly being hidden from the entire American public. Which I don't know why they would agree to let him do a debate if they were trying to intentionally hide it. Why is it that the current Republican administration is allowed to lie about Trump's health over and over and over again? And we have no answer to what. Didn't he have like an MRI that he bragged he did well on? Why are you getting MRIs? He brags that he passed 3 cognitive tests in a month. Why are you taking 3 cognitive tests in a month?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the U.S. presidency has become a geriatric
wait.
center. That's why I'm a
Hold
fan.
on.
I'm a fan
going
of,
to push
like,
on this
younger.
because he was
Yeah, of
mean,
course.
and now I'm going to be a little mean.
You can be.
You
It's
keep
fine.
broadening it to the U.S. presidency.
That's just what we're talking about. We're talking
No,
about Trump. That's
I'm
why
talking about
my-
Trump, but there's
yeah.
nothing comparable on the other side.
Well, I'm seeing it at a local level. That's what I'm referring
I'm talking about
to.
the presidential level.
Yeah, okay, so now you want it back to the presidential level. That's fine.
I want to focus.
Fine.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about the president. I'm saying
Yeah.
that there's nothing in the.
Or flipping back and forth.
in the
I'm like,
na-
let's pick one and then go with it.
Sure,
Yeah.
let's pick Fox News.
Okay, yeah.
Fox News.
I think
teaming up-
legacy media is bad. That's why
I
and
understand,
we're
but
trying- that's
Fox
why
News is
off-the-record
worse.
Media exists. Is we're
Fo-
trying to get what like grassroots missions. I think you can agree with this because I mean
I don't, because I think alternative media is even worse.
alternative media has hyper bias, but that's the point of journalism.
they're false.
Journalism
They lie
is-
about things.
Well, journalism is supposed to be unbiased. It's supposed to be giving
No, it's
facts.
not. It's just supposed to
The
be
heart of journalism is supposed to be unbiased. It's supposed to be giving news. News isn't biased. News is facts as they happen. So that's when you go to a legacy media. It's like I don't watch Fox News. I don't choose to. I'd prefer to go look. My entire life up until, because I got into politics, like type debating, things like this, and filming, because I'm a film major. That's like what my thing is. I got back up in that in October. So I'm more recent to this. But what I was doing prior to that, when I was just a film student, I was just, going out filming short films and commercials, was I would try to find both sides in U.S. news, and I try to find 2 sources outside the U.S. before I got an opinion on like a global issue. So, a lot of times there's good news stations out of Australia, there's some in the UK, where I'm like, okay, these are some third-party opinions. Let's average out. The average information is only what I take. I feel like if you're looking at one news source, you're just kind of like brain rotting, essentially, and whatever that is.
Sure,
You're being
we can
it's
say-
propaganda at a point, isn't it?
We can say that, but the reality is that the conservative media has engaged in so much equivocation, has engaged in so much abandonment of any truthful statements whatsoever, that you just can't find equivalent like brain rotted topics on the left that have captured the entire Democratic Party the same way that MAGA has. For instance, the majority, like 80% of Republicans don't believe in the results of the 2020 election. You can't find that on the left. And that was a lie that was driven by Donald Trump himself.
So what do you think about like 2016 Hillary then? It was going up on the little podium thing afterwards and is like immediately hinting at suspicion. Then there's the whole Russiagate thing.
Sure, so
and
we
it's
can
like
talk about...
that was the same thing.
But
we're looking at the same thing on both sides.
So we're
a
not,
decade
though,
apart.
but we're not even close to the same thing,
It
right?
actually is,
So
though, 'cause it's
Donald
true.
Trump started
It
his
is.
huge lie about the election before any result. A year before, he was saying that mail-in ballots were going to be rigged because he knew that Democrats were going to be more likely to use mail-in ballots than
Yeah, of
Republicans.
course, yeah.
That was a lie from the very beginning. On the Russia-related stuff, regardless of your position on it, there was a lot of horrible connections between Trump and Russian-affiliated things. Manafort was the head of his election campaign. That was a crazy connection to Russian-backed, Putin-backed Ukrainian president that Manafort was illegally working for, that he got arrested, convicted for, that Donald Trump pardoned. We have Roger Stone working directly with Guccifer, the guy who literally hacked, who literally was the one who got into the leaked the Podesta emails and everything else to hurt Hillary Clinton. You had the meeting in the Trump Tower that they originally lied about, and eventually it came out to where we just want to see if we get information. Like you have Trump literally on news talking about getting whoever hacks from Russia, the emails from Hillary Clinton will be rewarded. To say that that's the same lie or whatever that Democrats believed or whatever, which there were a lot of connections there, to say that that's the same thing as Republicans who wholesale fabricated not only the election fraud claims, but then went on to do their own type of through the weird ECA loop. I don't want to say loophole. They were trying to fabricate their own elector certificates to win that election. It's not even remotely comparable.
Yeah, well, I think the big issue that at least I, as an American, prioritize is I think the government is a failed system at the moment. Like, not that we need to replace the entire system itself. There needs to be a higher point of checks and balances. But where I see it more, I care more about whenever you and I are having a nice conversation right now. But if I go to any campus right now and try to sit down and have the same conversation, I'm getting like insults hurled at me immediately. Well, because
what has Trump done to campuses?
So that's
he's trying to deport people that are critical of Israel, right? He was engaged in deportations to try to curb down protests at Columbia and everything else. He's attacked our Ivy Leagues, which why would you do that? These are some of the few things that everybody around the world views favorably as Americans.
Even somebody like the great Shabbos Kestenbaum, he's going up there and he's saying, we're going to combat anti-Semitism. It's not good. It's not
sure, but
good,
I'm just saying
Destiny.
that Trump he's attacked school children. He's attacked like all of these things related to young people. He abolished the Department of Education. Why would it be surprising then that young people would have on college campuses would have a completely negative view of Donald Trump? Like he's done this himself.
I've never said that I support Trump. That's the catch.
I'm not saying that
That's
you
what
said
I'm
you
saying.
supported Trump.
Well,
I'm just saying that if you're part of the conservative movement and you're ostensibly supporting him as the
but
candidate,
they're
at
doing
least.
it before we, you know what I mean? We're doing it before we sit down. So that's where I'm like, there is this divisiveness that's happening. I would say it's because politics are swinging. So my
because
point
of Trump.
Well, my line of thinking with that is that you see CNN. CNN has led to communities. People who watch CNN immediately think Republicans, people on the right, are like the devil. You know what I mean? That is a thing that has happened because people are watching.
It's happening because people on the right are acting like devils.
No.
I'm sorry, but like
if you're in small town America, that's not true.
Let me try to like. There has never
bad
been.
actors on both sides.
There has
We have to
never
admit that, but
been.
it's-
No, not the same way.
there
There
are
has
bad
never been
actors
a
on both
shooter
sides.
that has cited Jake Tapper as their inspiration for a mass shooting. There has never been a terrorist attack where the guy was like, I watched Anderson Cooper every single day and now I'm out here killing conservatives, right? It just doesn't happen.
So I do have a
But on the
question- I do have a
Republican side,
question.
you've got people who are not vaccinating their kids because of
Yeah.
stuff that RFK has said. You've got people
I'm not
who
taking
are,
medical advice from RFK. That's the catch there, as I do agree. That's maybe not the best man in the world to take
who is
advice
the head
from.
of our
exactly. I don't.
NIH or CDC, or FDA, CDC for
I don't
RFK.
He's got a
whatever
funny
health things.
voice, and that's what killed his campaign.
Okay,
yeah,
but this is the
that's-
guy who's literally out here giving us health advice, who's
Yeah.
now they've revised the
I didn't
vaccine
say I
schedule for
agree with
children.
everybody added in.
I'm not
That's-
saying
yeah.
everybody. I'm just saying that it's like if I do a drop of water in here versus I flood the room, it would be silly to say, well, in both cases you made the room wet.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but we're talking about things that are of a completely and totally different
Well,
scale.
I do have a question though, because this is something I've been like contemplating.
Wait.
Recently.
You can ask this question, but I just want to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You lock two people, okay, two separate rooms, and you have to bet your entire life savings and the life savings of all of your family
I don't
members.
gamble, but yeah,
okay,
go
doesn't
ahead.
matter. You're forced to. You're
Oh.
forced to in this case.
Can I gamble
One
your money?
guy, what?
Can I gamble your money?
If I was your family member, you could. So find a
Stephen, will you
relationship.
be my family member? Please. Can
If
you adopt
only,
me?
yes, because I know you'll pick the right answer here.
Okay, good.
Let's say that one person has to watch 100 hours of CNN,
Yeah.
okay? And then the other person has to watch 100 hours of Fox News.
Yeah.
Which person is coming out more radicalized at the end of those 100 hours?
I would actually argue, socially speaking, CNN. If you're talking politically speaking, Fox. That's the difference.
What does
there.
socially speaking mean? What is
So that means whenever you and I sit down to have a conversation, we know nothing about each other, and then we begin the conversation with discourse. That's what I'm saying. The person on the left is going to be sharper. They want to control. The big thing is like the whole pronoun thing. That's obviously old news at this point. But there was that emphasis. Like Canada is a great example of this. There was an emphasis at one point to codify in law that if you don't say the right pronoun, that you should be. I forget if it was a misdemeanor or whatever their equivalent of it was. But that's what I'm saying. They want to control speech on the left. The right. In the majority of America, you're going to have bad actors on both sides. But what I'm saying is in the majority of America, people on the right are religious, small town people. They don't automatically, like, I don't hate you for different political
So then I'm just trying to find out for the I'm just trying to find out for the equivalent. What was the equivalent policy on the left for on the right states that are implementing like bounties for abortion doctors?
Yeah, see, I think that whole thing is it's a result of this populism. It gets clicks
on
and
the right.
That's what I'm saying. No,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That's what.
But that's
politics
like a
has
pretty
delved
radical,
into.
crazy thing.
I don't
right?
agree with it. I don't think.
I'm not asking you to agree with it. I'm just saying that it's so like I don't know any laws about pronouns in the United States. I don't think they ever made those.
No, but that was an open discussion in places like California and in some of the more
open
liberal
discussion in some of our bluest states. But do you see but there's a difference.
That's a concern though in America.
That can be a
right?
concern. But on the right, they've already made these laws. On the left, what's the equivalent to now? You have to show an ID online for it to scan your face or whatever while you're jerking off to porn. You got to show like an ID.
I don't watch porn, so it's not a concern of mine.
That's great that it's not a concern of yours, but I'm saying on the left, it's always these hypothetical issues that conservatives are trying to spotlight and say, look, this might be a problem 30 years from now. Meanwhile, conservatives, like you talk about free speech. What's the equivalent on the left of suing media companies for polls that you don't like? Or the FCC attacking like Jimmy Kimmel late night shows that you say you want deplatformed over and over again on Truth Social?
I don't think, well, that's a part of where I'm like, you need some human decency with the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing. He shouldn't have said what he said publicly. Like,
the statement was true, but...
Yes, that's where I'm like, I come from a perspective of we should try to be cordial with each other. I think we both want what's best for America, but where, it cuts down to is you have people, a majority is now, the loud majority is on the far left, and then you have the far right, and then obviously you have, I don't even know what candidate on the left anymore, but then on the right you have, it's huge, it's Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump.
My thing is on the far left, the only reason why we know about the far left is because the right likes to talk about them all the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd be
you
absent.
You can see it online because
but online in these
if
niche
you post something
spaces.
like, "Hey, I just had this opinion on like we debated about it at UCLA or USC or one of these places." Why is half the comment section just like berating that?
Sure, but like when I look at the far left,
that's left. That's
when
not
I look
right.
at the far left in Congress, they don't exist. Maybe Rashid Tlaib or whatever. Maybe
I feel like Ilhan Omar. That's
maybe.
definitely an
so
argument.
maybe if you want, maybe you're 3 or 4 justice.
I would argue
Dems.
Bernie Sanders, but like obviously,
Senator,
like what's he
sure.
doing at any
3 or 4,
time?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
the far right is the
yeah.
entire Republican Party. It's all of MAGA.
I
And they're
don't think,
all
I don't
of
think
Congress.
MAGA's far right. I honestly don't think MAGA's far right because they do sell out to like Israel and some of those. I think that's that systematic. You have it on the left and you have it on the right, and that's where that issue is. I like seeing. It was referenced earlier about the whole rhino thing. I much prefer politicians who aren't over the age of 70. I think they're out of touch because, again, retirement funds, they should have retired. I don't know who wants to keep, I mean, it's all about power, right? But
sure, I'm just
I
saying
think they
that
don't
like
represent you
when
and
I bring up
right?
when I bring up issues that the like right has done, there is no equivalent on the left. So I don't think this is a both sides thing. I think that the Republicans have been driving us towards this point. I can't see any equivalent behavior on the left.
No, I see. So the thing I mentioned earlier is they have two different aspects of that push, if you will. So again, the Republicans are more of your wholesale ideology push, and then you have a social pressure that comes in from the left.
Yeah, but you can say that, but there's no.
They
but it's
both
not
have
true.
the same. I think
for social pressure on the right, we've banned abortion effectively in like 24 states. There are
Okay.
people offering this is a social issue, it's abortion, kind of,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You've got porn ID laws in however many states now, and now you've got this like these are social things that they've
Yeah.
actually legislated
the porn
on.
the porn ID thing isn't that to like try to protect kids?
Sure, they can say that,
So
but it's a social
isn't
thing.
that a net good? That's what I'm saying. Where like I don't think that's the same. That's not some radical thing of saying, hey, we don't want kids watching.
Sure, but what
this.
is the equivalent like social legislation on the left?
Well, so there's this whole push for you see these extreme. Again, it's the language.
But there's
laws.
not, though.
Yeah, there actually
Where
was.
there's not. You say what? There's not though. Not really, right?
Yeah, you have people in positions of power.
No.
Actually discussing publicly.
Discussing
doing it.
publicly pronouns.
So
Meanwhile,
how
on the
is
right,
that
they've
not-
got bills in all these states that have already passed.
Yeah,
their
they're
law.
two different things. The right's not doing the inverse of that, saying they're not codifying a law that says this can never happen. That's the catch.
Well,
is-
Donald Trump did an executive order to try to arrest people that were burning flags.
I
That's
do think
speech.
that's not very patriotic. It's not American.
That's fine, but that's freedom of speech,
If you-
right? That's a
there's-
cultural thing that they try
yeah,
to
but
codify.
there's flag laws. There's flag laws. That
No
have
law
always
against
existed.
burning a flag. And I don't know if there are flag laws. I think they're like got rules or guidelines or whatever. But they're not like
rules,
you can't
guidelines.
be arrested for these. But Donald Trump said he wanted to take away the citizenship or whatever of people.
So is that not like a sort of treasonous act? You know what I mean? If
you want to argue that
burn
it is,
my flag. Also, it's coming from people who are like, I remember in some of the protests that were happening in LA, if you're an immigrant coming here from Mexico, why are you burning an American flag, the place you're trying to end up? That's my question.
I think that's crazy. I also think it's crazy to be a white person with history in the United States who's trying to overturn the results of the last election.
I think I think all the previous elections have been fair and honest because of the.
That's fine. Donald Trump and 80% of conservatives don't because of a lie that Donald Trump says.
Conservative.
That's fine, but I'm not talking about just you in particular. I'm saying there's a difference between these two sides. You don't have these same wholesale lies. You don't have the same legislative pushes that Republicans are doing that they do. It's just happening on the left. The most you can say is like some people in positions of power are having conversations about it. That's a lot different than we're looking at the SAVE Act right now, where the federal government is trying to usurp even more authority from the states for election stuff because Trump probably wants to try to rig the election.
I don't think he wants to rig the election because just logically speaking, that's a bad look when everyone's looking at the fact that the election.
You know what else is a bad look? Is $5.80 a gallon, but it's not stopping Trump from the.
Gas is ridiculous. It's been ridiculous in both presidencies.
No, come on.
It was under Biden. Are you
Why?
kidding me? I don't know the specifics to that. That's what I'm
we
saying.
We had a
gas
global supply shock with COVID.
Great, they're both higher.
And then we had, but one was like a response to global events
that
were.
That's my
but
opinion,
ones were large responses to the global events. The guy that was up here earlier arguing with Brian mentioned like, oh, what did Biden do? He was emptying the strategic reserve. Yeah, because he was trying to keep gas prices down, which is funny. He said that because Trump is emptying the strategic reserve right now. But the Trump thing is self-inflicted. Biden didn't control Russia invading Ukraine, and he didn't control the supply shock after COVID, where the gas producers were starting to catch up on things.
I don't support the whole war mission.
I'm not asking if you listen.
No, that's what I'm saying is I don't have an opinion on the.
I know, but you're saying that both sides are doing the same thing, and I'm saying they're absolutely not. That the right is so much more aggressive on all these things than the right.
Is the same because there's social and there's the governmental level and then there's social level. If I go outside right now with an American flag on my car, there's a pretty high chance my car gets vandalized in certain parts of it. Yes.
In certain areas. Okay, depending on how many qualifiers you throw on that, maybe. But
no, it's not. There's not about a qualifier thing. If I'm in any left-leaning town, odds are my windows are getting blown out. I know people personally that they've gone to just street debates recently and they've had their tires slashed.
Okay, so if that's happening, that's bad.
Yeah.
But I've seen on video. They're not. They're out there murdering U.S. citizens, and after they sign up for ICE, they're out there killing people in Minnesota because they went after Nick Shirley, made a bullshit video that had nothing of fact in it, that caused ICE to go out there with a $90 billion budget.
So elaborate on that for me, because I'm not completely knowledgeable on what that specifically is. So please elaborate.
On what in particular?
The murdering.
On the Renee Good and the Alex Preddy shootings.
So are those American citizens that aren't?
They're white
ICE
American
officers?
citizens that were killed by ICE enforcing some kind of.
I don't
something.
think murder murder is good no matter who you are.
I'm just saying. I'm trying to compare the two situations.
Yeah.
We have a Supreme Court that said that you can racially profile people depending on the job they're working at. If you want to question them over citizenship, we've got ICE is apparently being able to be deployed to literally fucking everything. If I need tech support for my stream, apparently I can call ICE now because they're out at the airport doing DHS's job, and you've got videos of them arresting citizens at airports supposedly.
If you're here illegally, I mean that is against the law. You agreed to that earlier, and so it's like that makes sense that they're doing that. It makes sense to be at an airport. You know what I mean? At least have some. You have TSA for security reasons.
I mean, does it make sense that ICE needs to be enforcing this type of stuff at every single sector of American society?
When you choose to travel on an aircraft, I feel like that's pretty reasonable. If I have to scan my ID as somebody who's never committed a crime, I've never done anything. I feel like they should
have to scan an ID to get onto a plane. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, so why is that so crazy that they happen to have ICE there? It doesn't need to be like
because I think the way that ICE is operating kind of lawlessly and without warrants, and they have their own judges, I think it's kind of weird. I don't think people are okay with that.
That's a systematic thing where it's like with the whole immigration thing. I have a whole separate thing about systematic elements of that.
All I'm saying is, broadly speaking, big, bad, crazy things on the right that are enforced from the top down. Sometimes I'll let people say bad things, or maybe some people are vandalizing a car. I guess is not good.
No.
But not comparable.
I feel like they are as an output as an average American, though. As an average American who's not invested in politics, I'm pretty sure that they are pretty.
I think as an average American who's not invested in politics, I think that you can measure the ways that the right has ruined your life. I don't think a guy in California having a conversation about pronouns is affecting you if you're a rural person in Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri.
It can if you make.
If you watch Fox News, and they tell you it's going to ruin your life.
Sure, but that's not my main point in bringing up about the social impact of this. I do think we have a massive issue in America right now with. People can't the whole coexist thing with each other. You have different political opinions. It shouldn't matter. I don't care if my neighbor at my apartment next to me is a straight up communist and wants to kill me. I feel like that we should look at each other as Americans and be like, okay, how can we find a way and work a little bit? That's just the whole reason I'm bringing that up.
And I agree with you.
On the left, they're very verbally assaultive with that.
Maybe some younger people are.
It's a good chunk of the younger people. Like,
It might be a good
shockingly.
chunk of younger people, but on the right, the president is.
Well, yeah, that's great. The president is really old. You have the next generation coming up. So that's more like
The president is deporting people. The president is
deporting people,
but he's
who
not
are
like
here
the-
illegally. You know what
well,
I mean? Like,
not all the time.
so what examples? Go ahead and elaborate on that for me. Like what's?
Well, I mean, like there are tons of court orders where they're saying, "Hey, you took this person and you weren't allowed to, and now you need to release this person," and the government either
have they
doesn't
left
do
the
it.
country though?
Some of them have, yes.
How many?
I don't have that number.
That's why I'm like, I just don't know enough about that to be able to debate that. What I'm saying is, if
Okay,
they
but
already-
I feel like
sometimes
if
if your
the left
fingerprints
had
on a
been
crime scene,
forcing-
you're going to end up in jail. You know
Sure,
what
but
I mean?
if the
Like,
left had forced some state to adopt pronoun laws, I think you would know about that. But the fact that you don't even know about
that's a scary possibility that I'm saying the actual lawmakers, it's on their mind. And when they start filling these bills, but I do want to actually ask your opinion about that separately. We can finish this first if you'd rather. But the whole filling the bill thing, where it's they're trying to pass something, they have 9,000 pages in there. My opinion is let's boil this down. One main category of vote. It's got to be in that category.
because
otherwise
maybe
they
you
could
can make
see
that
something like
argument,
that,
but like
yeah.
Trump literally found a way to brand that as a positive with the one big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, who
I don't
would
agree with that. I don't agree with stuffing bills like that. I just
Sure, that's
yeah.
fine, but Trump did it.
He did it, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I just don't know. I feel like Trump has failed on all of these things. I think if we had a president under the Republicans that was more similar to Biden than under Trump, I think we'd be doing much better as a country.
Like similar how?
In terms of rhetoric, it would be a lot friendlier. We agree that Biden was a lot nicer to
But
conservatives.
wasn't Biden's like entire team like pretty offensively calling out everybody on the right just for breathing?
No.
That's people that he surrounds himself with.
No.
Yes, they
What are we
are.
talking about?
You can go back and look. There's so many viral clips that I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, they're having.
That you've seen that's been fed to you by your algorithm that are either.
You can just go look it up. Like if you go look up any
I've
like
watched-
press conference.
So
like,
you
that's
think
not a
on
biased
net,
thing.
On net, you think there were as many aggressive comments from Biden and his cabinet level officials towards the right?
To the average American, yeah.
I just this
To
is
the average American, yeah.
not
Trump's
even
up there,
remotely
like,
close.
Trump's up there with the whole clickbait thing, which is like Hillary's a dog, you know, that type of comment. And so it's like
What is the equivalent comment on the left where Trump was saying that we need to execute 6 American people in Congress because they made that video saying you don't have to follow unlawful orders?
I don't agree with him. I don't agree
I didn't
with
ask
him,
you to
but
agree with that. I'm saying
moral.
there's no equivalent on the left
Well,
for
that's
that.
what I'm saying. I don't morally. It might take.
It's
my
not about
moral
no,
advice
it's
from
not.
Trump.
I'm not
yeah.
asking you to agree with that. I'm saying there's no equivalent on the left for that.
Yeah, because Trump's a very special man. It's just
Not special.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, he's
mean
special,
and
yeah.
divisive.
That's what I'm saying by special.
But he gets
yeah.
supported by the Republicans when they say that. Look at the
Yeah.
response to the death to Charlie.
I don't think the average Republican actually supports that though.
They voted for him a second time, and he says this stuff over and over and over and
Yeah,
over and
but
over and
the-
over
but
and
the
over
thing-
again.
The thing about the congressman,
When
senators,
Rob
whoever it was,
Schneider
most
died,
people don't agree with that.
That
you know?
you can't, but Republicans can't get away with this excuse over and over again, saying, "Well, we don't agree with that." When they all retweet it, they all think it's epic. Trump is the most
So,
aggressive
do you
person.
Agree, do you agree with every single thing Joe Biden did? Because you're not voting on somebody
Every
based on
single
their
thing-
moral thing. You're voting on it
Partially,
based
you
on their
should be.
output to the
no,
country.
partially it is. This is the leader
That is
of
a
your
part
country.
of it. That is a part of it, which
Trump
is why
has monumentally failed on
So,
the moral front.
Back in the original primary, me and my family were very big on like Ben Carson, Kasich at the time when they were coming up through the primaries, and then Donald Trump emerges, and it's like, wow, there's this guy who's not afraid to say no, you know what I mean? And that's just, he's able to like yell at people and say, I'm going to run on my own as independent, that he gains this populist run. That's how he gets
He's also
elected.
incredibly mean and rude
Yeah.
and nasty towards veterans, towards McCain.
Yeah.
He says, like, obviously.
As a
there's-
person, I don't necessarily need to agree with him being nice to everybody when you're the president of the United States. Like, if you're going to be
Why
up there
you-
like Kamala and say, like, we told them no, like, okay, what is that going to do? So it's like, we need somebody who is going to be annoying, kind of rude.
No, we
I
don't.
don't.
Why has that never been the case before Trump? Nobody was like, remember when Reagan
When you're in-
went to the
when
Soviets? He
you're
was
in
like, fuck
negotiating-
you, Soviets, I hate you.
When you're in
right?
ne-
Or remember when
they're not
George
playing
Bush was
nice.
like, we hate Muslims, right? Nobody else ever did this stuff. Trump is the first one to come out and be this insanely aggressive.
You do know that in negotiations, like, they did not play. Clear back to like World War II. No one ever plays nice in a negotiating room when it comes to that type of
That's
stuff.
fine, but I can go back to World War
So
II
who
or
cares
World
how
War
nice
One
they are?
because I need results. Trump doesn't negotiate anything.
Nice doesn't equal results all
Trump's
the time.
meanness doesn't equal results. He hasn't negotiated anything for us.
So there- so-
wait. In all of the, he
So
has a skill.
pendulum
No,
here.
no.
So
There's
both
no
sides are
pendulum.
bad.
It's hitting a wall. What has Trump negotiated for the American people for all of his meanness and all of his greatness? What has he negotiated?
So I actually think
Has he negotiated anything?
negotiating tariffs, I think, was pretty good.
He
Now,
didn't negotiate those. Those are unilateral. It was just from his side.
No, he did actually have discussions to
No,
discuss tariffs.
he
with
didn't.
Yes, because he walked down the stuff in Europe. Yes.
No, he put these all on unilaterally. Freedom Day or whatever, Liberation Day was all unilateral tariffs in the United States.
There's another set that he slowly weaned off the percentage
Because
from.
he got scared because of
So
the
when you
bond
just said he didn't
interest rate.
negotiate, he did negotiate for
That's not a
those.
negotiation. If I say,
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you, and somebody's like, oh shit, well, if you kill
That's
him,
not
I'm
what
going
he
to kill
said.
you. And I'm
The
like,
tariffs
okay,
aren't-
well, I'm not going to do this. That's not a negotiation.
Tariffs aren't, I'm going to nuke your ports. It's like, hey, we're going to put a higher percentage. I don't think it's murdering and not murdering is not the equivalent there. You
I
know what
didn't say they were
mean?
the equivalent. I'm saying when you do
Well,
an
it's not
action
it's not a good
unilaterally,
analogy.
they're-
It's not a good analogy.
it's a great analogy.
It really isn't because they're two different things. So they're not
What do you
comparable.
think a comparison is? It's always two different things. That's why it's a
No,
comparison.
No, a comparison has to have some level of
Yes, the
connection
commonality
point.
was
The
that it's a
commonality, yeah.
unilateral action that you're back off from when the other side also threatens an action against you. So when you
No.
tariff somebody without making any negotiation and they threaten to tariff you back, that's not negotiations. That's you doing a bad thing and then responding to a threat.
Yeah. Well,
Like
so
you threatening to murder somebody and then them threatening to murder you if you do it. That's a threat and a threat response. These are
that's so-
negotiations.
but again, we're talking about percentages versus finite. You're killing somebody. That's where I don't connect with that.
Okay,
at
I'm
all.
going to steal
So-
$100 from you for no reason. They're like, well, if you steal 100 from us, we're going to steal 100 from you. It's like, okay, I'll only steal 20
That's
from
not
you. That's not a
stealing whenever
negotiation.
it's based on goods. It's purchase
Oh
of
my,
goods.
what could you compare tariffs to?
So what I'm saying is,
What could you
with
compare
that-
tariffs to?
So you compare it to, I'm going to take X amount of your time here right now to discuss this debate. I understand that I might not get anything out of this debate because you might not play the game. But whenever I play the game, I think we can come to a commonality and like achieve somewhat of growth out of this discussion.
But we
So
both
I sat
agreed
down
to
at the
come
table.
here.
Yeah, I agreed to come here.
They
and
didn't
then-
agree to our tariffs. This isn't unilateral. This is bilateral. I could have skipped this if I wanted to, right?
But
You
there's
could have
no-
skipped this if
there's
you
no
wanted to.
purchase transaction. That's what I'm saying is like whenever we come here, the transaction right now is us both growing as people discussing whatever your personal motive is.
That's
so their
fine.
motive is to sell stuff to us. Our motive is we as Americans, we want to try to get things back here, more jobs, more
Sure, and if
industry,
you want to negotiate
whatever.
a trade deal, you can do that.
But
Unilateral tariffs are not a negotiation.
So unilateral tariffs are hard because again, that's a unilateral thing. It doesn't affect the personal. I'm talking about the ones where he like individually walked down
we're
certain
not talking.
countries.
The tariffs on Liberation Day were unilateral tariffs that were not a negotiation.
I'm not referencing. That's a date that you brought up, not me.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I'm not referencing
But
that.
so would you agree that those were unilateral?
If they're all the same percentage and everything like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then
that's-
other
that's what the definition
countries
of that is.
then tariffing us, and then us bringing our tariffs down in response to them tariffing us, that's not a negotiation.
It is in a way because you're trying to net.
When
good
you
the
say it is in a
country.
way, it's kind of like you're saying it's not.
Well, no, because
Because it's like, because if it was,
is
it
a
would be.
negotiation because you did take and give. A negotiation, you give and take a little bit.
Not
that-
like this.
Okay, so
Nobody does this.
that
Who,
is
like
still
what
negotiation.
negotiations? You said you work for a company. Have you ever just talked to a supplier and you're like, by the way, we're not paying this much anymore, and then wait to see how they respond? No, you go to a negotiating room and then you have a back and forth conversation. You hammer out a fucking contract and then you come back and this is what you do.
Yeah.
You don't start unilaterally threatening people. You're like, I'm not buying anything from you anymore. Like, wait, why not? It's like, I don't know, figure it out. Like,
I didn't say he was the best at that deal. What I'm saying is he did
Any
offer to
deals.
negotiate. There are some deals I think. In
what's the
past,
best deal Trump has negotiated for America?
What's I'm referencing? There's something in the past. Obviously, I wasn't paying attention to politics at the time. There were some wins back in 2016, 2020
Which
at that
ones?
time where it did grow the economy. We had some big industry come back here.
No, there have been no deals that Trump has. The biggest one
did,
you can
we did,
point
but-
to was the ascension from NAFTA into the USMCA or whatever, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade. But he blew that up now in this term with his tariffs.
Well, again, that's two different terms, two different like styles of things.
What? One style was negotiations and one style was not. He didn't negotiate a second term.
No,
but I'm saying that
he
even
is-
the one thing you could have given him credit for in the first term, he blew up in a second term. So how could you even give him credit for it anymore?
People complain about Biden, the fact that people had never heard of him during his, not heard of him, but like heard from him during his time.
I
right?
know. I
like, that's a
appreciated
big
that.
issue.
You know, they called him Sleepy Joe Biden because he could sleep at night. I miss
Yeah.
that kind of presidency
Yeah.
where I didn't have to worry about my Trump making death
Well,
threats
we're
to
at a
sitting
point- we're at a
legislators
point
or
with
trying to conduct
such-
war over Truth Social.
Where there's such a divisive thing, shouldn't we be trying to find a commonality that benefits like a
Yes, but we can't
bipartisan
do that
thing?
when Trump is trying to attack everybody all the time for every reason.
So that's what I'm saying. It comes from a grassroots level of, you know. If
No, it doesn't. It comes from the top down.
So the actual output comes top down. What I'm saying is the motivation to get it to the top. It needs to come from like discussions like these where we sit down two opposing companies. You know
Okay,
what I mean?
agree with
like,
you. So you would agree we should tell Trump you need to calm the fuck down.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's been the whole issue is that it's this big. That's why I'm.
No, but it's not a swing. Biden didn't do anything like this.
No, on a political average across the country, yes.
Okay, forget political averages. If we were talking to leaders right now,
I only care about what affects the American people. So that's why I'm like, it is actually a bigger push.
sure, but
socially
I think that
speaking, than it is
the
governmental.
young kids on the left that are reacting negatively are probably reacting to Trump, and the people on the right who are being evil are taking orders from Trump. I don't think anybody's getting radicalized by Biden. Antifa were not marching for Biden and Obama, right?
No,
They're not-
because again, that's a social thing, not a governmental. That's where we're splitting that. Is that I count those as two different things. I see.
Okay, from a
everything-
governmental level, Trump needs to calm everybody
Yeah,
down.
everyone needs to calm
He's
down.
No, Trump.
There are people who are
Trump needs to tell
There's
everybody
a
to
State
calm
of
down.
the
You can't
Union
even say
address.
it.
There's a State of the Union address, and we have people that are out here like, look at me not going. Like that's not helping anything.
Okay, and you've got
That's
peop-
not helping anything.
Mike
That's from
Johnson
the
is
left.
threatening to kick people out if they make noise.
I don't think you should be yelling like a bunch of animals. In the
You
middle
mean
of a
like
State
they
of
did
the
when
Union.
Biden did the State
Dude,
of the Union?
Both sides are doing it.
Not
It's
both
not
sides.
good.
It's not. What is the equivalent to? Was it Boebert who stood up and was shouting at Biden during the
What
State
about
of the
Ilhan
Union?
Omar yelling and that forget what her Talib whatever her name is.
No, this was a lie. I know. I don't even.
I
remember
watched
exactly
it.
what
I
they were
watched
saying.
the State of
no,
the
no, where
Union.
they said something about Oh God, I don't. Remember
I
what
watched
to
them
say.
yell like this. How is that not?
No,
the
because there was a
same? They
yell,
were
something
yelling,
like saying he was a Nazi or something, which was not true. But they tried to report it, whatever. But
they
like,
did yell, is what I'm saying. That
they
should,
might
it should be
have.
dead silent. We should have some decorum.
decorum. They didn't have it
Exactly.
under Biden.
No, that's what I'm saying is that at a government level, we are seeing a split from what the American people want. And that's where I'm like, we need as American people to be able to unify behind something. Because if you and I can't unify behind a commonality when it comes to topics
That's
A
great.
through Z.
I agree with you, but it will never happen when you allow the Conservative Party to operate the way they do.
I think, yes, actually it will. Because as soon as you get...
We didn't get
there's-
it under Biden.
Again,
Biden
these
was
are
the most unifying, nice, not cherry picking. He was the president
No,
of the United States for 4
I'm
years.
saying geriatric is what I was saying. But yeah,
You can call him geriatric. So was Trump.
That's
Biden
what
was
I'm saying,
way
both
more
sides.
chill than
So
Trump, though.
both
So it's not just being
sides-
geriatric.
Both sides of the government, the massive issue at the moment is they're both pretty outdated compared to the American people. They've been in office for 20-something years. That's great.
That's
When
fine,
we
but-
took office before wars, and then now you're in, you had X number
That's
of years
fine,
without
but when
a
we're saying
war,
both sides,
and
we should be able to point to things on both sides. We cannot point to anything for Biden that's even remotely equivalent to Trump.
You can see it specifically in the Biden era. You can see it a lot of times with people that he endorsed and then got in. Is you see this especially in vote electorates. Whenever you see their output, it tends to be much more abrasive and harsh.
But by
than,
output,
like,
you mean stuff that you're shown on your social media algorithms from right-wing
you
news
can go
sources.
I was again at that time. I was just looking up things from both sides. I just got into politics in October. That's whenever I'm like, hey, I want to get into the media side of this.
But then,
let's
what is the
film
worst
that.
output you can think of besides the some politicians talking about making pronoun laws that never happened?
On a social level is where I'm concerned.
What is the
with
social
left.
output that you're looking at that's so horrible?
So again, people like hurling insults at
hurling
each other.
insult. I would pray for the day where hurling insults is the
And then
worst
they're
thing that the
attacking
Americans.
cars that protesters have. You see people like swarming the streets, attacking anyone who's even having a different ideology. Like I understand that, short. Maybe you don't want to like completely go down that rabbit hole of like
We can go down
who's
that rabbit
doing-
hole.
No, no,
I'm just-
of who's doing what specifically where in the country. You can say whenever the right didn't have control, they did not freak out on a global national level.
They
as
had Jan
much as
6.
the
We had the Charlottesville rally that Donald Trump came out
That's
in
a
both
very
sides,
small
and
portion of people.
That's
not the whole country. You have
the whole
almost-
country's not out here destroying cars.
There's actually a huge percentage of people that are violent on the left when it comes to protests.
it's like less than
My
1%.
friends go to protests all the time. We edit their videos. I'm seeing people whack microphones. There's lawsuits left and right for assault.
Who was the
Like,
last person that got attacked at a protest on the right?
Literally, anyone that we have at our company that goes around, they all get. I mean, you could talk to whenever they come back up. You can talk to them
Okay.
more about that because it's their thing, not mine. But it's like that's the catch. I'm witnessing this with my own eyes. I can say objectively, from somebody who just came into politics in October about this. I was a fairly libertarian person back in high school. I was willing to listen to both sides. I was not very big on taxes, that whole thing. So when I look at it from a fairly objective standpoint, what I believe is the left is more violent when it comes to social issues than the right is. And I just think that's where like we need to come together as Americans.
Well,
and
because I
say,
think because-
hey, let's count.
Okay.
Let's make our fellow American accountable.
I understand what you're saying. I wish you guys had this energy for Donald Trump, but I don't think you ever will. So I will see what the next
I
election
hope there's
looks
another
like.
candidate. I really do. I really hope there's another candidate.
Yeah, but if it was Trump, you'd vote for him again
I wouldn't probably.
for a third term. You don't think you
No.
would?
Well, I wonder. Let's say he wasn't his third term. Let's say it was a second term. You know what I mean? Like a normal. Like let's say he didn't run before the first time.
Did you support Nikki Haley or DeSantis over Trump?
No.
Then why would you think you'd vote for anybody else?
I would vote for somebody. Again, I was a big fan of.
Wait, real quick. Do you think
yeah.
that Kamala would be a better president if we would have had her for a year and a half than Trump?
I
right
think
now?
we would have like different issues that were bigger. I actually do.
It would have been worse. Do you think that Nikki Haley would have been worse than Donald Trump?
I think Nikki Haley would have been war.
Do you think DeSantis would have been worse than Donald Trump?
DeSantis would have been a more annoying Donald Trump. I think they actually would have about the same output.
Okay, so then you
'Cause
support
he's pretty-
Donald
he's pretty
Trump. So
annoying.
nothing is even worse than
No,
Donald Trump. It's not,
I'm
all
a
these
very
historically
big-
crazy
I'm a
Trump things
very-
don't even matter.
I'm a very big. I would entertain. Personally, I would entertain somebody like Ben Carson. I would entertain. I don't have a full opinion of Vivek Ramaswamy yet. He's a billionaire, so like obviously there's gonna be some influence there.
Sure, people
But
that
I
weren't
like the way he
running.
talks. I like the way that he has ideas about business, about how to run a country. I think some of from that campaign, I very much as an American connected to what his like end goal was. Obviously,
Okay.
we never saw how that played out. So
All right.
that's where I'm like, I
Well-
actually would support one of those more.
Okay. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate the conversation.
Dude, I love it.
They're
It's great. Thank you so
calling it out.
much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. What do you want? Just
Your
kidding.
money. That's what I
Christ.
want. Hi guys, if you're seeing this again, there's probably a QR code down on your screen. If you like what you see here, you like the debates, you like the open dialogue, you support the Unfuck America tour, you want to keep seeing us go on college campuses, you want to see us continue this tour, please scan that QR code, and if you can, pitch in to donate, because that's essentially what keeps us going, so that we can keep bringing these conversations to these college campuses. Thank you. My name is Mercedes Chandler. Give Unfuck America Tour a follow, or you won't see our faces again. Goodbye.
And
What? Oh, I love you guys. I will be back either tomorrow night or probably the
love
next
you.
day. So, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Be careful. Stay safe. Hi. Goodbye.